Привіт. Напевно. Таймеський, ноти, ракеати так погано працює. Це який? Який з них ракеата? Ракеата. Так це ж там перед Вайвор, так він офігенно працює, що значить він погано працює? What? Ну, то що, чого він погано працює? Офігенно працює. Ну, да. Ну, тобто для Даріані це тобі треба 400 резистів збирати, да. А в інших ситуаціях тобі треба фаєр тільки. Ну, так, тобі треба 400 резистів для Даріані, щоб, ну, до капа добити, якщо хочеш. А в інших ситуаціях це пофіг. Не знаю. Ні, лес це лес. Лес це менша циферка. 50 лес від 200 це буде 300. Логічно. Ну, тобто, твоя логіка теж має право на життя. Ну, зробили так і так теж логічно. А, я думав пограти чуть-чуть. What the fuck. Ми програли. Через 2 хвилини виключається сервер і твоє закривається. Що робить? Я був не готовий до такого. Я думав піти там щось потикати кнопочки, десь кудись там, може челендж якийсь зробити чи що. Ну, може через 20 хвилин вернемося, не знаю, що 20 хвилин робити. Twitch дропси, логін.
Hi,
Hi.
I'm Mark Roberts, game director on Path of Exile.
Ай, Марк
By
Робертс.
watching tomorrow's Curse of the Allflame livestream for 45 minutes,
Якась
we're
какашка
able to
виросла,
earn the
ладно.
Abyssal Soul Shadow rare finisher effect.
Ме.
The Lich's
Чесно
loyal
кажучи,
to
мех.
Kurmak
Ну, тип,
resurrect
фінішер,
monsters
фінішер
of Red
черговий.
Blast by encapsulating their body and soul in crystal.
Ме. How to participate. І скільки воно буде йти, це щастя. Боже, чого тут так багато цифр? From July until... А, коротше, цілу добу буде воно, окей. Дропси. Ну ладно, а що робить? Я був не готовий. Релікваріна ми вже дивились. Я програв. Можна буде спати? Да. Ну, я планую подивитися анонс і, мабуть, піти спати. Q&A все одно, а може й буду, побачу, як буду сидіти. Ну, почнути точно завтра будуть. Почноти точно завтра будуть, я не буду всю ніч сидіти читати почноти. Але анонс хочеться, да. Так, блін, я реально програв. Завтра, коли підруб, коли настрій буде, коли проснусь. По 2 сервера теж стартують, я навіть по 2 не можу зайти. Просто не закривай сторінку стрімом і не пропустиш. Відос про конкерер дується якраз 20 хвилин, да. Найс. Я ще не настільки просвітився, щоб свої відео на стрімі дивитися. Конвекторів, може їх. Wait, Cock Arc. Я грав Cock Arc в Series? А, це той, що, да, з луком і пригав я. Угу, було діло. А якщо я двома клоками грав в цій лізі, виходить? Прикольно. Презу Федора оглянуть, я дивився вдень. Якраз не стрімив, час був добре. Там прям нормальна людина. На відміну від альтернатив, скажімо так. На диво. Це вже спадки, ну і воли. Ага. Надо порозважатися 20 хвилин чимось. Потім можна буде зайти в поїв, не знаю, подивитися щось. Таке все одно робити нема що. Таке фери. Вейте, я асасіном грав? Я думаю, я з Сьонкою був. А, я асасіном грав, бо вкрав цю хрень. Я думаю, що за фери? Це фери, фер. Окей. Вейт. Тілізі флікер був? З Вайтфоржем. Я цього взагалі не пам'ятаю. А. А чо демеджа так мало? Тілізі білдмен? Ну, так, але білдів багато було і давно, я вже забув. Поганий білд, та щось прям. Яку поплаву я тут вигадав, що демеджу відносно так не так багато, як могло б бути. Нормальний рінг такий, what the fuck. Найс рінг. Ні, ну, тобто демедж окей, але не. Ну, ладно. Ну, це без тінкчури. Да, тінкчура трошки демеджа додає, але все одно. Якщо не так багато. Вейта пенетрейт не було б краще тінкчури, мені стало рандомно цікаво. Ну-ка. Тінкчури. 16 кк це мало? Ні, ну я просто на Whiteforge і Плюсебісу дивлюсь, і 16 кк вже якось хотілося б більше. Очікували більше. Скажем, хай буде тут теж 18 інкрез ефекту. І пенетрейтір один, якщо взяти. І тепер. Я дає 42, да. Не оптимальненький білд був. Я ж думаю. Все видаляю відос не оптимальненько. Угу. Very interesting, ладно. Що тут ще було? Шлеєри. Wait, свіп? Свіп? А, де фінальна версія свіпа? Це якась дуже стартова версія. О. Нема фінальної версії свіпа. Ладно. Я свіпом граю і нормально дограв, Влад. Я не пам'ятаю, десь нема. Статік стріки. Тож це спліт персоналіті. Ой, та чого я не зробив атак? Тут взяти за один лайф, а десь там щось там десь там дропнуть. І отут взяти 2 сили, і тут дропнуть 2 сили. І буде більше дистанції, плюс ці нодики в радіусі Little Pride, вони ще більше сили дають, не 10, а 12. Не оптимальненько. Знову ж таки. Ай-яй-яй. Привіт. Мін-макшу білди, які були 3 місяці тому. У мене навіть і досі не виносить. А що сталося? What the fuck? Hold the fun. Wait a minute. Тихо. Так, вам поки цензуру включіть, щоб ви там не бачили нічого. Я дещо хочу глянути, мені там простіше. Я confused. У мене реально нема відоси про свіпа, what the fuck? Я грав ж свіпом. Накидав кокі, добре. Може він на хардкорі? Ні, ну якби він був на хардкорі, то він би був в папочці з хардкором, навірно. Якась рандомна фігня. Те, що я пам'ятаю, свіп, він був кльовий, і я жахав ним. Не, ну блін, секунду. Добре. Я реально confused. У мене реально немає відео про свіп. Осталось там. Ладно. Накидав керіт коку клони асцендант. Що за скіл лайтінг? А чого не орбіт? Я б орбітом грав. Ні? Ну, він клірить трохи гірше, але снел таргет в рази краще. Орбіт гот нерф. Ну, я грав орбітом. В першій фресі івенті я грав орбіт кастинг від Lighting, і це було офігенно, якщо що. Мільйон сустейна, і, в принципі, все добре було. Ну, клір, звісно, не прям вау, але нормальний. Гарно грапло з Дайнсаном, ну, да. Тільки який у тебе аптайм Дайнсана? У мене питання, ну да ладно. Щоб розраховувати, що він тебе буде там щось оверлапити. Ну так, да. Тобто, ну, я не знаю, що ти там плануєш клікати. Типу в цього, як його? В релікваріана. Але, як його? Доріані, щити, та фігня, і Lightning Spell, і поїхав. Там бейскріт, вірно. Домбрікер, бейскріт і останній нодик. Я не пам'ятаю, що там робиться. Конфі прописано. Ну ладно, давай. Ну боже, що тут прописано? Я не знаю, я не вірю цьому, чесно. Чи це Dawnbreaker? Ні, це не Dawnbreaker, да, це ця хрінь, про яку я подумав. Та пояс, да. Не можна подивитися. Антистан чули, сідає лайф. Я не хотів би, напевно, це. А я не пам'ятаю, що там ще є. Я реально забув, що там робиться. Ну, я пам'ятаю, що останнє було таке, ну, типу. Щось можна знайти, але не вау. Перший нодик був вау, і спили був нодики були вау. Чаржиків. Підозрюю всі, які на дереві є. А там далі по ситуації, як піде. Амулет теж за мінус резисту можна мати, якщо що. Ну, просто в людей купиш. Так само, як рінг, цей ти написав, так само амулет можна втикнути. Я не знаю, я думаю, Даряні, ну, тобто я теж думаю, щось Даряні зробити, тому що це виглядає як прикольно, весело, цікаво. Я думаю, Шокнову, оту, що в цій лізі додавали в міражі, яку я хотів потестити, якось руки не дошли. А та нова Шокнова трансфігурит, яка кудись їде. Пограти, попробувати. Даряні якраз. Мінус 30 десь, ну да. Добре ж. Ще мінус 30 десь. І там, не знаю, цей тредофоп кудись засунуть. І сюди тредохоп якийсь масивний. Тут, по-моєму, хороший радіус масивний тредохоп, чи сюди, чи ще щось. Мелдінг мінус 4 максраця боляче, а чого в тебе? 84. Це типу стартовий варіант такий, да? Типу, шапка на плюс 2, думаєш, буде дорого? Ну да, я бачиш, тут такий, типу, стартовий, але ну, для початку окей. Ні, ну на чарж то краще, да, але для початку. В ендгеймі ботинки можна на AOE геми корупчені мати і туди пюріті вставити. Підозрюйте стампідами до кінця. Наверно, тредохопи дивився на твоєму місці. Тут тредохоп сюди вставляєш, в радіусі тикаєш, там оцей може нодик, чи оці нодики ось. А, КДР, Паша, я забув, що це ж КДР. Ну тоді так. Сюди тредохоп і сюди тредохоп я б тикав, наверно. І там якось розважався б. Наверно, той, що сюди достає нодик, і оце дропнуть. Взять цей нодик з радіусом. Чи оці дропнуть нодики. Сюди і зайти. Вкрасти оцю хрень, да. 15 КДР. Стампід? То що з ними циклон не словить тебе. Тебе завжди просто 70 МС чи 50, чи скільки там я вже забув. По-моєму, 50-70 це з валом було смішним, а його не факт, що буде. Да, щось тип такого. Рейс. Цікаво. Тебе ж армора, виходить, достатньо багато, ти не думав? В армор піти, ти евейшн хочеш? Я б детермінейшн брав. Типу, чест дає армор, шапка дає армор, щит дає кучу армора. Павереду. Ну, в плані, ну як мінімум один поверчарж ти аноїнтиш, ні? Я б думав би. Ендюранси. Ну, було б добре, але. Генерить їх якось. Я б думав би, що ти оцей поверчарж аноїнтиш. Наверно. По моїй логіці це було б. Мало тізерів було. Наверно, може, не знаю. Ну, або якщо ти сюди виходиш, то можна це аноїнтить тоді. По ситуації. Ну, але якщо ти плануєш блок мать, то. Цей блок було б кльово взяти, наверно. Ну і тут оцей колись до Найтмара дожить. Ред Найтмар. То що щит ж дає блока багато, але тебе коли хитають, він менший робиться, да? По-моєму. Мінус один блока за кожних тейкіна. Коротше, за кожен хіт, який тебе хитає, тебе мінус один блока робиться. То трошки на це теж враховувати треба, що в тебе не завжди буде стільки блока. Скоріше за все, треба буде ці нодики взяти. То якраз, напевно, атак. Буде, скоріш за все, я думаю. Ну або з тредо хопа взяти якісь ці нодики, там, якщо можна, подивитися. Без поняття. Ні, до нуля там recently. Ну, не, ладно, напевно, можна до нуля опустити, я не знаю. Я без поняття. Тут recently написано, якщо. Може, якщо ти там в деліріумі всередині мільярда мовів стоїш крутися, то може з'їсть ось цей блок, я не знаю. Якщо він не пробував. І чи це тільки локальний блок з'їдає, але все одно до хрена буде. Я про це ніколи не думав, чесно. Так що да, трохи є якась з блоком ситуація неприємна. Ну, але як мінімум спелблок залишиться. Ну, у будь-якому випадку, якщо ти блок якийсь там робиш, то Evasion уже якось не так прикольно звучить. А, тебе Evasion нема. Ладно. Streamsua. Найс. На дереві немає інкріса блока, це інша гра. Це інша гра. Ех, так, це ж що тут? Коротше, білд і білд. Я не знаю, наскільки це буде нормально, добре чи ні, але да. Балайтінг. До речі, балайтінг же я хочу, то це. Ці нодики будуть кльові. Ну, а потім сюди натурила ця вся фігня. Балайтінг є прикольно. Тобі хотілося б, мабуть, ці нодики ще взяти АЕ. Щоб там більше оверлапів було, балайтінгів. Ну, не оверлапів, а довше шарик пролітав по мобу, довше хитав. Я зробив таке дерево, чи це так і було? Я confused. І чого тут квадрат? Ну, як мінімум, не тратить на квадрати посівки. Чи це я зробив? Ну-ка тихо. Де це воно? Ні, не я. Окей. Тут, да. Чуть-чуть можна оптимізувати. А буває, да. Ну, я не знаю, це неефективно. Замість цього кластер потім буде. Ну, спочатку тоді, клікнеш, поки кластера немає, але потім це кластер буде замість цього, я думаю. Таке 300к ДПС з Деріані, то там гір дуже, дуже бейсік. І, по-моєму, не прописано, що це. Що у мобу мінус 100 резіста чи скільки там. Тут щось написано, що 36 резіста у мобу. Чого? Мінус 100. Вона рахує? Я думав, ні. Якщо і рахує, диви, нічого сі. Технології. Але да, тут це таке. Обумний гамині. Ну і це ще вам. То це колись буде заанончений. Нормальний такий. Casual. 24 море демеджа. Поверчарж. Ну і він, типу він заанончений буде. Таке чи таке. Я б стартувати цим не стартував, понятно. Коком стартувати це спеціальна історія, але перейти в це, думаю, можна буде. Такого типу білд. Доброго вечора й тобі. Ну, але я б переходив в цей білд з кращим гіром, ніж у тебе, давай так скажу. Моя думка. Ніж оцей тут. З Межладом було б чуть краще, да, тож так думаю. Наверно. Максимум ефект шока. Цікаво. Ти думаєш, ти будеш вибивати максимум шока? Баллайтингом? Ти ж не кастуєш спел, що це за фігня? Це так, аби було, окей. Аргумент. Ну, коротше, ідея, я думаю, буде робоча, але хочу трошки гіро, щоб було весело. Не думаю, що без гіро це буде весело, чесно. З таким гіром, як оце тут, не думаю, що це буде весело виглядати. Тобто, щоб хоча б, не знаю. Щось. Хоча б не знаю щось. Як мінімум, хоч щось з КДРом має бути, мені здається, пояс рарний з КДРом взять. Хоча б, щоб вибити перший трешхолд і під нього підсетапити атак спід і кріт. Щоб 6 проків було, і це вже буде якийсь мільйон ДПС. Типу, ну хоч грати можна. Унік Жео, КДГР мода. Ну. Тут гір не дуже гір. Це бюджетненько. Так нема атак спіда, так зроби атак спіда, я не знаю. От. Тебе 7 атак в секунду, тебе більше атак спіда, ніж надо. От. Ти про що? З таким уже сетапом навіть, я не знаю, що тут є. Але тут більше атак спіда, ніж надо для 14 КДР. Просто якщо взяти і на пояс приліпить. Я не знаю, що сталося, але да. Я ж нічого, по-моєму, не міняв сильно. Ну, я тільки забирав нодики, я нічого не додавав. По-моєму. Кулдаун. Цього не хватить. Там 14 треба, по-моєму, чи 12. Ні, 14, факт, це надо саме Veiled мод. Cooldown. Будь на трейді якийсь заанвейлений пояс. Casual 60 море демеджа. Там. Не то, що стало срочно багато, але покраще стало. Ну і там кріта більше, і бла-бла-бла, і всього більше, бла-бла-бла. А, і тут ще ас-ін марки нема. Щоб кріта побільше стало. Ну от і мільйон ДПС вже. Вже звучить якось покраще. Фракчерний КДР можна мати? Можна туди пару есенцій нажати, а можна просто на трейді купити за 10 хаосів, там Life Resist КДР, да й поїхав. Окей, не знаю. Я не знаю, якісь шмотки на старті стоять, але... Що за Watchers? А, ну Watchers, я не знаю, Watchers може стоїть, якщо трохи. Непонятно, скільки буде. Та я знаю, щоб Fracture можна Betrayal мати, але... Я тобі кажу, що пояс рарний з КДРом, одним резистом і лайфом буде стоїть дешевше, ніж тобі купити 3 есенції, щоб скрафтити такий самий пояс. Доріані? Я не знаю, наскільки Доріані мета буде, чесно. Я не думаю, що на старті воно буде, але... Білди, я думаю, з Доріані будуть сильні. Це не точно, да. Це геть не точно, чи я правий, чи ні, але, коротше... Whatever. Суть в тому, що... Я не думаю, що такий набір буде сильно складно зібрати, і це вже playable буде. В такому сетапі мільйон ДПС, і там чуть підсетапить, там десь підібрати трохи, і нормально має бути. Ну, як, лайфа, звісно, Омегалул трошки, але... Що поробиш? Не знаю. Тут лайфа. Боже. Трошки дерево дерев'яне. Я не знаю, мене оце напрягає, чесно. Ну, по-перше, чого ти туди клікнулася, не сюди. Вже раз таке робить, але я цьому не довіряю. А так спіда багато робиться. Суть в тому, що да. Тобто тут не така погана тонковість, як могло б здатися на перший погляд, коли дивишся на цю кількість лайфу, але все одно не вау, звісно. З Даріані ся і не вийде. Що, законом заборонено, чи що? Ну, тобто, я то вже не робив би цього, але... Хто тобі не дає? Ну, буде на пару тисяч шилда менше, да? Чи тут щось не дає, я не знаю. Ну да, ну тобто, буде в результаті на пару тисяч шилда менше, да? Тобто замість там умовних 12 тисяч буде 10 в ендгеймі. А, ну ще щит теж щит не дає шилда, ну якщо достатньо багато шилда втрачається. Це теж є таке. Шавронь не хочеться. Ну, коротше, ідея робоча, я б орбітом грав, by the way. Ну, якщо ти будеш з цим грати, то по тесту орбіт. Мені здається, він просто краще буде. І орбіт демеджа більше просто має, ніж звичайний. А він тут рахує оверлапу кількість чи ні? Мені цікаво. All bolts in range. Що демеджа менше стало? А, то що 2 скіла. Каже більше, але да. Ні, Slower Pro ж дуже багато дає ДПС, це да, але з ним грається специфічно трохи. Я кажу, це... Яка це ліга була? Ресінь, щось я прям попав. Гарбінджером я грав Кок. Я грав Кок Орбітом. У мене навіть відео там є десь. Ну, це, звісно, достатньо специфічна хрень була. Оце було. Там було достатньо специфічна хрень, але да. Тредохоп такий є прикольний бейзовий. І тобі мінус регісти ще зробить, виявляється, тут є тредохоп. Ну, я не знаю, наскільки він прикольний, але да. Тут кріт дає. Це шейд офігенний нодик, люблю його. І ці нодики 2 взять. Нормально. Вейт, я що з Даряні теж грав? Чи що? А, я теж з Даряні грав, вейт. Я такий дивлюсь. Ще я з Даряні теж грав. О, Лентал Вов є. Прикольний амулет, точно. Я й забув за нього. Мінус регіста робить, by the way. By the way. Мінус регіста робить. Ну і просто 2 рінга на мінус регісти. І по мінус сотні, дай поїхав. Я пам'ятаю, це був офігенний білий, я від нього дуже кайфанув. І теж даунбрікер, да. А як я доконвертив? Даунбрікер, Little Pride, Watcher's Eye. А, я не пам'ятаю, як я доконвертив тоді. Чесно. Але, ну от, в мене білд був в Фресі, Лізі. Це яка, не знаю, років 2 тому було, по-моєму. В калькулейшені. Можна і калькулейшн. Якщо тут. У мене все ще тейк в демеджі з лайтінг тут показує. Походу, воно не оновило цей як його. Коротше, там щось не оновилось. Точніше, якийсь там пасов білдинг оновився з новим патчем, і воно тепер поламалось. Що тепер щось не так працює. Я ще лов лайф був. Why not? Ну, але, там, кажу. Достатньо приємно танковий був, підозрюється, всі цифри мали бути просто атак, де все. Але щось тепер не доконверчує. Якщо ли всього 83, я думав, більше має бути. А. Як нова ліга, ще ніяк. Ми тут щось заліпаємо фігню, чекаємо. Я з Кловом грав. А, це Battlemage був. Ну, це да. Це окрема історія. Це рунекрафти були. Було діло. Ресетлерси. Да. Ресетлерси ще ті були. Класний біл був. Мінус 160 в мене резіста вийшло в результаті. У мене фай резіста мало вийшло якось. Прям сумно виглядає, не знаю. Я думав би, більше має бути. У мене десь плюс левел лайтінг. Ой, плюс левел гема відпав, походу, да? Походу. А де в мене могло бути плюс левел? І чого? То що, чого в мене тут не плюс 2? А ніде не могло бути. А. Чого я плюс 2 не зробив шапку тоді? Це ж просто плюс 1 резиста максимального до лоб. Поганий білд. Awakened Hawk був. Щось хотів, якщо подивитися, і забув, що. Ну ладно. А в мене нема аура нодика на плюс 1 максизісту. Лель. Лайв-захід нормальний, звісно. У баллайтінга з Віталіті Отчерсом. І Циклоном, і Кловом, який теж дає лайв-захід. ЄС теж був. А, тут аж цей Харбінджер дав, що ЄС пробиває. Лайф пробиває, демедж пробиває ЄС і в лайфі. Угу. Стейн. Рейсі. Торнадо, щит. Да. Та там сервера вже мають бути, але тут уже 20 хвилин залишилося, я не знаю, чи я хочу туди заходити. Торнадо, щит. Омні Сайенса дуже багато. А це тоді. А. Іншури на луки не працюють. Окей. Ні, Ліга стартує наступної п'ятниці через тиждень. Сьогодні анонс і почноти будуть. Але почноти я завтра зранку буду читати, тому що стара людина піде спати через пару годинок. Аліандра тач. Аліандра. О, яку середу? А, вимкнуть, боже. Окей, я читати не вмію. Nevermind. Да, десь або вівторок, або середу. Ну, по-моєму, з вівторка на середу ніч, чи з понеділка на вівторок. Ліга закінчується завжди стара. Це я приблизно. Нормально все. Мелі Elemental Hit, я ще в 3.25 про нього думав. Я ще в 3.25 про нього думав, holy shit. В ресетлерсах. Це, мабуть, мій стартер? Ні, це, по-моєму, мабуть, стартер будь пізніше. Це в 3.27 мій стартер, мабуть, по-моєму. В 3.25 мене нема ніякого Мелі Еліхіта. Не надо. Це було пізніше, по-моєму. Да. І на пенсію пішли. Не знаю, Дрім інколи тут обзивається Рейвен, Ланселотік, але не прям перманентно сидять уже. З тих, хто древніх, я пам'ятаю. Може ще хтось є. А чи тут джевела нема? Два джевела нема. Тут взагалі слотив нема, what the fuck. А що сталося? З цим чарактером? Це фінальна версія, окей. Старенькі не можуть, да. Когось забанили, хтось спить, ну приблизно так і є. Ліга, коли Свалін був дешевий. О, забанили? Не знаю. Когось точно забанили з старих людей. Цього, як його? Махіндера забанили. Бо він дурак. Так, кого пам'ятаю? Тих, кого ти пам'ятати маєш? Махіндера за що? Ну, то що він дурак. Облизувався росіянським і захищав своє право жрати гівно. Я сказав, іди жри не тут. І все. Ти прокинувся? Вчасно, вчасно. Що ми робимо? Та перевіряємося в моїх древніх білдах просто. Убиваємо час ще. От стільки. What the fuck, що за реклама? Не очікувано. А? Мені рекламу на Твічі видало за фак. Я прям конфюзит сильно щось. Добре, хоч звука не було. Ага. Да. Знов не Дота. Ну, Дота. Стартери. Вау. Вау. Це ви скільки назбирали, вейт? Половину. 5 днів залишилось. Ну, good luck. Good luck and have fun, як то кажеться. Завтра почнути розберемо. Ну, так приблизно і буде. Так, чат, що? О. Будуть голосувати. Або не будуть. У минулій лізі була, я вже забув. Коль Токсик Берст. Краще б не згадував. Да. Ми з білдом, ну. Якщо не назбираєте, то прилітаєте. Ну, скільки вам треба? 120 тисяч назбирати за 5 днів. Good luck. Сики. Та не так і багато, 15 людей кожен день має робити це приблизно. А тут прогульщики. Не сплачують податки. Збільшити внески не можна. Це до Твіча йдіть. Не знаю, як його. Протестуйте. П'янон з Бранса того левела. У мене був. Це теоретичний, це стартер, по-моєму, чи що, я не знаю. Чи просто білд. Ні, це не стартер. What the fuck? Чи в мене є пособіли на 100 левел? Це реально був стартер, я загубився, я не знаю. Наверно, це був стартер. Ні, я не. Ну, я можу суму поставити від 0 до 2000. А загальну суму я ставлю. Да, скільки ви маєте назбирати. Ну, я порахував, поставив. Мало кожен день по 9 людей. Кидать по 2000, щоб назбиралось. Ну, 9 людей не захотіло кидати. Дабл клікать, колесико на мишці почалось. Теж. Я вже пару років не клікаю колесико на мишці, бо вони ламаються моментально, як тільки я починаю це робити, я вже забув. Energy Blade Spark. Смішний біл був. Трошки демеджа мав. Poison Spectral Troll. Якщо я не проти Spectral Troll, пограти був би. Не Poison, але так, в цілому. Якийсь кок теж тут був. Кок Discharge було діло, да. Я пам'ятаю, теж класний білд був. Подобалось. У нього фізмакс хіт мільярд. Наверно, то, що Endurance шаржує мільярд. Але вони не завжди. Це я згадав, все нормально. Алборін Гаров був класний. Да. Нормально шмякало. Я дивлюсь, що там було в минулих лігах. Згадуємо, може щось захочеться. Якийсь скіл потрогать знов. Щось демеджа? Майже, да. 0,6. Надо було ще чуть-чуть. Ой, це 666 на одному арові, а аров у мене було багато. І вони оверлапились. Та 7 аров. Це було 7 на 6 з одного залпу, і таких залпа 3 або 4 робили інколи, а інколи 5. Я уберив інколи, коли крити нормально витирав з тих 3-4 залпів. Смішний біл був. Відоси лорні прикольні. Мені теж подобається, але трошки попрацювати над ними треба, приходиться. Але подобається, да. Мелі, Елі, Хіт. XDD. XDD? А, це Discharge, це XDD, да. Це XDD було діло, а це Endgame Discharge. Це теж був класний білд. 27 average hit. Мекало. Ось смішна фігня була. О, а тут один бранд зомбі і все. Найс. Зомбі. Тільки то був не бранд в результаті, то було трап зомбі в кінці. Ліки. Вейт, я грав Double Strike of Impaling? Я цього взагалі не пам'ятаю. Я пам'ятаю, що я постійно хотів пограти Double Strike of Impaling. І походу я колись таки пограв, але я це забув, походу було не дуже похчемп. Що я б запам'ятав, навірно. Ну він всього левел 93, то, навірно, було не дуже похчемп, але я цього взагалі не пам'ятаю, чесно. Прям 0 в голові. Ладно. Буду знати, що Double Strike не похчемп. А то в мене постійно на голові крутиться, що може він все-таки прикольний, може бути. Походу ні. Коли це було? Це було 2 ліги тому. В якомусь стані я був. Ей, сирий глад. ББ. Я на хардкорі би виграв. Це просто в мене була ідея, але вона далеко не зайшла. Dual Strike 100-го левела був на хардкорі. Ambidexterity. А це страйк, звісно, да. Страйкл. Ага, 8. Так, це говно треба закрити, щоб воно там не руйнуло мені життя. Mercenary of Stratus. Наверно. Я пам'ятаю. Татік теж 99-го левелу був. Я пам'ятаю, я його ріпнув, бо мені було вже лінь грати ним. Я пішов Uber убить всіх підряд, на цьому на ітері здох. Ну да, ось у мене цей конфіг про стратусів. Гарний білд був. Подобався. Помню, теж якась там дивна хрень. А, це за Enmity був, да. Теж хотів сказати не Даріані, але щось схоже. Що не працює? Wait a minute. Що тінкчура не працює? Та що там, ну, що? 7 хвилин. Тінкчура не працює. Ну, ладно. What? А, це просто посадили, я думаю, я ж не дограв з круштрапами до 100-го левела. Торнберс, тотеми теж класні були. Пам'ятаю, з форсфовом, да. На хардкорі 98-го левелу. Яких козел ваншотнув, було діло. От козел. Драпси включив? Та, навірно. Ну як, я не виключав, але ну давай чекну. В'ювер реварти, дропси, enabled. Ну все, живем. Тим стартувати будеш з тобою. Так от, до речі, що там останній цей робить? А. А реально останній нодик нічого не робить, ну то я б цей Bloodline якийсь брав на місці Юкі, навірно. Останні нодики реально не виглядають похчамп. Це мені не впевнений, що це сильно подобається. Це Сіонка, да. Сіонка. Я Bloodline, навірно, якийсь брав. Так, цю музяку виключить, цю музяку можна включити вже, навірно. Воно не 25 зріже. Воно зріже 25 від того, що залишилось. А в тебе буде трошки конверта і так уже. Ну, це все одно, ну, тобто там якихось 20 зріже, але да. Це непогано, але тільки в мілі ренджі там радіус достатньо маленький у цієї фігні був, по-моєму. Ну, ти часто будеш мілі ренджі на циклоні, але все одно, не знаю. Я йому не довіряю, просто не знаю. Може це моя проблема, як завжди, але да. Мені в голову щось стукнуло, я скептично відношусь і все. Але я тому каумбандінгу не довіряю, чесно. У тебе ж і щит конвертить. А, ще щит конвертить, і нодик щит конвертить. У тебе 45 по дефолту конверти. 25 від 55. Тобто цей каумбандінг нодик дасть тобі десь 15 конверта, що дасть тобі десь 10 фіздіара. Це не адітивно стакається каумбандінг. Комбайнінг не адітивно стакається з іншими конвертами, тому що інші конверти конвертять демедж, який ти отримуєш, а цей конвертить демедж, який моб наносить. Тобто воно спочатку мобу зробить цього. А різниці нема. Що, яка різниця, що спочатку у моба зріжеться? Ну, коротше, порядок не змінюється, тут не змінює результат. Ідея в тому, що вони не додаються. Тобто спочатку в тебе спрацює хай 25, що мобу сконвертило хп, в нього залишилось 75 демеджа. І на цих 75 демеджа працює твоїх 45 конверту вже. Але якщо буде навпаки, це нічого не змінить. Тому що спочатку там моб сконвертить 45, які ти тейкнув, ну, умовно. І після цього буде 25. Ну да, ну то... Я не кажу, що це юзлес, але це дає не 25 цього конверту. Це дає десь 15 конверту, якщо в тебе 45 в іншому місці є. То... Ну і це не 15 конверту, це не 15 лез damage taken, це десь які 12, 11 лез damage taken, там ж резісти не 100 резіст у тебе. Що нормально і окей, але за цілий нодик брати 10 фіздіара, я не знаю. Ну я тобі кажу, це 10 фіз damage reduction тобі дасть. Ну там може 12, я точно вже не буду так казати. Дивись, чи тобі за Ascendance нодик 12 фіз damage reduction хочеться. Мені б не хотілося, я б якийсь Bloodline шукав. Я не знаю, який там Bloodline є, але да. Чи тобі щось прям цікаве є? Може, ну хоч щось цікавіше, мені здається, буде. Не знаю, що, чесно. Думать надо. Ну, навіть оцей крит я б краще взяв би, щоб просто дураки бігали і давали тобі крита атак спіда. Окей. Так, блін, мені, мабуть, наушники взуть треба, щоб вам випадково якась фігня не залетіла. Секунду, блін. То я вже останній час без наушників сижу. Фак. Ну, то я тут зараз нароблю фігні. Я тут. А, блін, знайшов, де вони валяються. Ну, я кажу, я б на цьому коку не стартив, але мені здається, кок до Ріані буде хорошим білдом на стіонці з гіром. Але стартувати чимсь начим. Я хочу шокнову з Доріані зробити, чесно кажучи, в ендгеймі потім. Стартер кок. Да, ох уж цей стартер кок. Там, як почнуть говорити, скажете, чи голосно, чи тихо зразу, щоб я підкрутив. Пропади, алло, фігня.
Hi,
Hi.
I'm Jonathan Rogers, Game Director on Path of Exile, and welcome to GGG Live. We have massive changes to show you today with Path of Exile,
changes.
Curse of the Oriflame, which is coming
Massive.
out next week on July 25th. Twitch drops are enabled on today's live stream, so you'll be able to claim your Abyssal Soul Shatter Rare Finisher effect by following the instructions below. Let's not keep you waiting though.
Да,
Roll the trailer
давай.
for Path of Exile, Curse of the Oriflame.
The Oriflame calls us to the sea,
Гуд по звуку, ну і гуд.
to a lost wreck that still draws ghostly breath.
Ого, під
A
воду.
curse
Лель.
down below.
Яку годину? Це тільки початок. Це все стартануло хвилину тому.
With my lanterns, we can explore the
Ну,
sea floor.
виглядає як дирка з мобами.
We must
Ага.
find the source of the Oriflame
Ага.
before
Ого.
I
О, моби споє 2. Прикольно. Чи ні? Не впевнений. А, годину стріма нічого не було.
in the blackest depths. bounty.
Вейт, там це камні, яким босів сумонять в плей 2. Цікаво. О боже, яка хрень. Окей. Найс. Якісь крафтинги. Щось робиться. І щось вибирати можна. Нічого сі. Тобто кучку тобі варіантів дає, що ти скрафтуєш, і ти вибереш, який тобі подобається. Прикол. А буст, реворк, ебіс, босфайт. Тож знайомий. Вейт, легіон? А, що? Якісь нові уніки. О, в стратуси вернулись, фак. Нові спали. Багато фаєршторму. А, що? Куди? Нові уніки, нові приколи, Асцендесі клас новий? Це було дуже неочікувано, Асцендесі клас новий, wait, what the fuck? Цього я не очікував. Ратуси, ну, мерсенарія в Тартус. Новий Аскендесі. Це ще одна стінка буде вже, типа, і всі будуть по 3 нарешті.
In today's stream, we'll be walking you through all the details of Path of Exile, Curse of the
Нові
Orphan.
спелкастер
We will
скіли.
comb the ocean floor, discovering
Покажіть
sunken
мені.
artifacts of forgotten origins. Fight the horrors of the deep, and do your best to keep from being crushed by the waters above you. We're revisiting some familiar mechanics to bring new life to systems that have begun, perhaps, to show their age. Abyss and Legion will both be receiving
Ну,
significant
Абіс по
upgrades,
2 витягнули, цікаво,
including
що
a
з
new
Легіоном
pinnacle boss for
зроблять.
Abyss and a new chase crafting system for unique items in Legion. In addition to
Нові
revamps
chase
of the
crafting
existing leagues,
уніки.
though, we're also bringing back some old friends. The mercenaries of Trathus are
Не,
making their way
невеликий
back
фанат
to
мерсенарій,
Redfall.
чесно кажучи, ну побачимо.
Then we'll explain our new endgame system. We will join Kirak in investigating anomalies appearing on the Atlas. After
Аномалії.
that, we'll discuss the character and skill balance coming in Curse of the Orflame. Finally, we'll cover our new set of supporter packs. After which we'll
Я
have a
не
live
думаю, що
Q&A
ти зможеш
session
Доріані
where
зробити
CDD will interview
на
Path of
мірку.
Exile's game director Mark,
Це, я думаю,
as well
це
as
погана
game designers
механіка, і
Octavian and
наїбуть
Andrew,
немає, і я думаю,
answering
що
your
Ге теж так
questions from
думає,
Twitch
це моя
chat.
думка.
After the live stream, we'll drop the full patch notes at 11 AM NZT. So let's get started. I'll hand things over to Mark to introduce the new league.
Yep.
Hi,
Hi.
I'm Mark Roberts, Game Director on Path of Exile. In Path of Exile, Curse of the Orflame, a long-forgotten mystery has begun to stir beneath Ray-class seas. Hidden in the icy depths lie strange and immensely powerful treasures, waiting for those bold enough to claim them. Meet Valerie, a
Valerie.
dangerous Corsair captain who needs boots on the ground and on the sea floor to help her retrieve these treasures and unlock their potential. This is where you come in, to help her find the charts scattered across Rayclast. Then, use those
Boots on
to
the
guide her
ground.
ship
Може
to the
їх,
patch
я
of
теж так
brine
почув,
that
чесно
holds
кажучи.
loot for the taking. In return, you'll get a cut of the profits. These lost charts are guarded by the
Ну,
undead,
коротше,
rival
пачка мобів на
Corsairs,
карті,
or
ти вбиваєш,
horrible
отримуєш
creatures
фігню,
of the
приносиш
deep.
тому. Все. Стій,
Each of
точніше.
these monster encounters will also have a custom bonus for defeating the enemies. For example, successfully defeating the accursed undead that guard this treasure chest will cause the grateful trapped soul inside to grant you its power,
Юзінг.
possessing you and granting you ghastly power for the rest of the area.
Окей. Рів.
Once a chart is in hand, you'll board the good ship, the Sovereign, Valerie, or Val's reappropriated Oriathan naval vessel. Here, Val introduces you to the heart and soul of her ship, quite literally.
What the
Vesper,
fuck?
another Pondium native like Val, is bound to this ship. His soul burns with the Orflame's curse, and were his comatose body to be removed from the ship, he would surely die.
Окей.
The silvery apparatus that lines the bows and eaves of the vessel allow him to steer the Sovereign anywhere in Rayclast's waters. Using the chart you've brought, Vesper can navigate to a location so you can scout it for Val, and while doing so, claim whatever treasures there might be.
Коли
How,
фігня
though, will you
ролиться, є
avoid a
карта,
watery grave once sunk
і
below?
ми падаємо вниз, і
Vesper
там
controls
локація.
a spark of the Orflame,
Да, зелененький
powerful
нагадує
and
метаморф.
mysterious magic, which has been imbued into a number of devices aboard the ship. Chief among them, the bathysphere. This entirely safe and well-tested contraption of rivets, bolts, and metal will be your ticket beneath the waves to explore and plunder. While scouting the depths, in order to not need an ample supply of air, we're instead going to place all-flame lanterns. These are conduits of the power that keeps Vesper
А чого в них
alive
якісь
and
іконки
bound to
всіх
the
шмоток
ship.
всіх?
and give you the temporary safety you need to do that exploring. Without them, you will drown. The first of these is strapped to the bathysphere and activates on landing, rushing the water away to reveal horrifying monstrosities, lost treasures, and a strange luminous coral growing from the corrupted dead in the oceans of Rayclast. These strange growths are the real reason Val has asked you to plumb these waters, as the coral can be broken down into dead man sulfur, the fuel that keeps Vesper's light burning. As you get to the perimeter of the safety provided by an all-flame lantern, Val will drop more down at your request. There's also an option available to have new lanterns fired automatically for you as soon as you need them, if you prefer speed over fine control. Explore and claim what you can while you can. Lost
Короче, є
fortunes
якийсь
of
ресурс,
gold,
ти його трогаєш, і
chests
він
of
тратиться і ревілить тобі
lurking
фігню.
threats all lie in wait for you
Там
beneath the
моби, і там
waves.
лут, і там все.
You might even find the odd lost
Message in
missive,
bottle.
way late on its travel to its intended
What?
recipient.
Окей.
But hey, finders
А, ну
keepers,
просто
right?
кучка з лутом.
Beware though, as Vesper can only power so many lanterns at once, and that power is finite. On placing the last of your lanterns, they will begin, one by one, to flicker and fade, and the creatures of the deep will rush in as they sense the vanishing of the light. You'll have to rush back to the safety of the bathysphere, escaping the cold clutches of creatures that despise the light you bring. You'll want to place every lantern though, as exploring to collect enough dead man sulfur is the only way to successfully chart the area for the next step, planning a voyage.
Бектрек?
Val will keep a
Не
record of
здивуюсь,
the
якщо це
areas
буде
you've
погано,
charted,
але
storing details in her
прозвучало, як
journals.
будто там моби будуть на
Once you've
зворотнім
charted
шляху,
enough
то
areas,
ще раз просто
just
моби
talk to
б'єш.
Val, place your charts on Val's board, connect them together, and create one giant seafloor excursion. Each area you chart will reveal a special modifier that applies when it is used as part of a voyage.
О, Боже,
Applied
багато
to either
букв.
the charts adjacent to it
Логбук,
or
ну,
the whole
більше
voyage.
хейс нагадує.
Here are a few examples. This modifier causes all equipment dropped by monsters in adjacent charts to be converted to gold. This modifier will spawn friendly jellyfish alongside every pack of monsters in your voyage, which you will promptly slaughter for extra loot and experience,
Я не
we're
знаю, що
sure.
таке КХ.
This modifier causes all monsters in adjacent charts to be empowered by wildwood wisps. With 9 positions on your board for charts,
Я не
when
знаю, що
constructing
таке
your
Ocean Run,
voyage,
я нічого не
these
знаю.
can stack up fast. There are also charts which can take you to specially rewarding areas of the ocean floor. Fields of anchors strewn with treasure chests full of loot. Calguran shipments lost at sea. And sunken
Calguran
abyssal
shipment,
pits teeming
nice.
with monsters. To name just a few. There are even some ancient artifacts you might find and resurface. Additionally, the edges of the voyage board track the currents of corruption flowing through the waters of Rayclast, with randomized effects being rolled with each new voyage to affect the charts placed adjacent to them. These add even further rewards to your voyages, and can shake up the way you choose to place your charts.
Це треба попробувати, щоб понять.
Stack all of that
Все
together,
нормально.
and a well-planned
Let
voyage,
Vortex.
with a bit of luck, can be a very profitable endeavor. But with so
Зрінг
much loot to
Бейсін.
claim,
Прикол.
how are you going to get it all to the surface? Val has a solution for just that problem. In each of the charts that comprise your voyage, there will be a capsule waiting for you, sent down by Val, which can store about an inventory worth of loot. Stuff these full, send Val a signal, and she will pull it back up to the surface,
Забавно.
safe and sound.
Ну ладно.
Since voyages are built of 9 charts, that's a lot of opportunities to send back plenty of valuables. Once you're satisfied with the plunder from your
Кучку лута
well-planned
можна
voyage,
винести додаткову.
find any of these capsule locations and call the bathysphere to it as your ticket out.
Ну, ти з локації
Val will
просто
send
2
it down to
інвентаря
your
луту замість
rescue.
одного можеш винести.
As fast as she can. You just need to survive until it gets there. Good luck. Once you do, don't forget
Loot.
to empty all those capsules full of loot.
А, там навіть не 2, там більше.
Now, back to all
Багато
that
капсул
dead man
виявляється
sulfur that
є.
you've been hard at work gathering. Is that just to keep the sovereign afloat and Vesper alight? No, it's
No.
not.
Блін.
Once you've got a bunch of it, head below decks, and you'll find the heart of the ship at work. Whilst Vesper's body remains above deck,
Етери
burning
погано,
away
єп.
in a contraption of tarnished pipes and corpse-stained glass resides Vesper's soul, and you'll find him to be a pretty crafty fellow, if a bit melancholic.
Крафтінг.
That's where this league's item crafting system comes into play. Give Vesper an item, alongside a currency that you could normally use on that item, and an ample supply of Dead Man's sulfur. That item is then split into a multitude of ghostly forms, each of which will be the result of having applied that currency to the original
Тобто
item.
замість одного куренцинки ти
You
кучку
can then
нажимаєш
pick
зразу
which of the
одночасно,
ghostly
ну і
outcomes you
вибираєш
like
те, що ти
best
хочеш.
to keep for yourself.
Яке найкраще
The
прокнуло.
others will go up in smoke,
Забавно.
as Vesper can only reify a single outcome. This can be done with almost any crafting step you'd like.
Almost any crafting step.
Want to see a few outcomes for that influenced exalted orb?
Ну, сумніваюся, що Influenced Exalted Orb це буде.
Perhaps you've got a particularly
Ага.
expensive fossil
Фосіл теж
combination you want to
прикольно
get
робить.
maximum value out of.
Фосіл це кльово. Там плюс 2 левела, да.
Do be wary though, as the more potent the craft,
Fracture.
the more sulfur Vesper will require to see
Ага.
it done.
Fracture, да. Shield. І що ти
That's
в...
not
А,
all,
ну,
however,
Shield, да,
as
на
the
єс, на
C4
Shield,
hides
вся
some
фігня.
yet
Можна.
undiscovered potential
Нормально.
in the form of rare and valuable ducats.
Що за хрень?
These can be consumed
Там
by
іконка
Vesper
Темплара
to
була.
warp and twist items in ways not seen in centuries,
Ага.
such as Kishara's Ducat, which creates 4 ghostly copies of an item, each of which will keep one mod from the original, perfect for creating powerful crafting bases.
Там Мерседес пропав. Воно 2 рази так спід дало.
The Gentile's Ducat, which can solve item or gem requirement problems by changing one attribute to another.
Атрибут слаб.
And Brine Hook's Ducat, with which you can become an emissary of the gods of Rayclast. Who knows what these aspects might do?
Who knows, справді.
These Ducats come from special
Мені.
types of charts, so keep an eye out for them on your travels throughout Rayclast. You may even find some that lead you to notably unwelcoming waters.
Монка.
So that covers the new league, and for the first time in Path of Exile, we're finally going under the sea.
Wow,
Some might
under
even
the
say
sea.
this is the first real boat league. But that's not all. Not even close. Next up, we've got an old favorite making a return. The mercenaries of Trathus are once again roaming Rayclast.
Я не
looking
сильно
for
впевнений,
hapless
що я
fools to
мерценарії
duel.
буду грати сильно, чесно.
Mercenaries will start appearing from Act 3 in San. Before beginning a duel, you'll be offered an overview of the mercenary you've encountered. Here, you can see the gear they have equipped and the skills they employ. As per the Trathan code, you have the right to wager for an item the mercenary is carrying. You'll stake some of your gold, and the duel commences.
Голду тирить твою.
If you lose,
Ow.
you forfeit the levied gold, and the mercenary will teleport out, repulsed at such a poor display. Win, however, and to the victor will go the spoils.
Вау, вінерет.
In addition, if you win the duel, the mercenary will aid you as an ally for a number of areas.
Number of
Trathan
errors.
mercenaries are powerful allies to have in Rayclast, assisting in a number of ways.
Не
Some
знаю.
mercenaries can
Whatever,
provide you
чесно
with
кажучи.
powerful auras and buffs, while other mercenaries can do all the killing for you. While in map areas, if you don't like anything the mercenary offers, you have the ability to request their warrant. A warrant is a promise to return and duel again at a later date. A call to action that calls that specific mercenary to a future map, with the same set of skills, but a
А, ну,
new
типу,
set of
можна одного і
items.
того самого далі
A
брати?
mercenary will only grant their warrant once, however,
А, тільки не
preventing you
можна.
from fighting that mercenary in every single area. Warrants also allow you to trade specific mercenaries to other players. It is important to note that unlike in Mercenaries of Trathus League, having a mercenary does not count as a player party member. So having a mercenary does not increase monster life or the quantity and rarity of items dropped from monsters.
Ну, тобто
Given
ти
that,
знайдеш його, ти
you
його
may
вб'єш,
be
хай бігає,
wondering,
щось робить,
but what if
але...
I really like a mercenary I found? They have a great personality and powerful skills. Is there really no way I can keep them as an ally permanently? Well, you can,
Да.
but only if you are a scion. For the second time in 6 months,
Тільки Сіонка може
Scion is
мати
getting
мерка.
a new
Для
ascendancy
мало.
class, the Luminary. The Luminary is a natural leader, lighting the way for others to follow. Becoming a Luminary immediately lets them allocate the Noble Blood passive, allowing them to permanently hire any mercenary they find in Rayclast. Luminaries can have up to 3 permanently hired mercenaries, 2 in reserve in towns and hideouts,
Так, а ти їх одягати не
and 1
можеш
as
все
an
одно ж, по
active ally
ідеї.
in combat. Unlike with regular mercenaries, you can change the items
ні, це
permanently
може,
hired
окей.
mercenaries have equipped,
Це може.
opening up innumerate
Nice.
potential build possibilities. By default, permanently hired mercenaries cannot be equipped with unique items, but these passives enable them to equip specific types of uniques. While the legendary arms passive empowers mercenaries that have many different unique items equipped.
О боже.
Luminaries have the flexibility of becoming a support character to their mercenary, or having their mercenary support them. The Oath of Fealty and Golden Glory passives empower your mercenary by using your link skills on them. The Loyal Bodyguard and Bestowed Knighthood passives enable your mercenary to protect you in combat, as well as enhancing their aura skills. As with any old league that we add to the core game, we have added
Ну да,
full
типу,
Atlas Tree
full
and Scarab support.
Ascendancy, яке
Here
там
are
щось,
just a few
як його?
examples.
Ascendancy на мірка
These
міняєш,
passives
що
allow you to
не
much more
впевнений, що
easily
це
target
так
the
прикольно.
specific types of mercenaries you want showing up in your maps. The Loot and Pillage passive gives mercenaries a
Ні,
chance
ну
to drop
якісь
all
люди
their
будуть
items when defeated.
сміятися і грати, і
instead
бігають
of
просто,
just the one
мерки
you
будуть все
selected.
чистити, і вони
The
работати їм будуть,
Trothan Scarab of
але... Не,
Renown makes it so the spawned mercenary is covered head to tail in unique items.
обмазався уніками.
And the Trothan Scarab of Infamy forces a more powerful, infamous mercenary to spawn, accompanied by 2 other mercenaries for a truly unfair duel. Unfair for them.
Ні, ну баланс там, я не
There's
знаю, буде
even a
баланс
few
чи не
entirely
баланс.
new mercenary types,
Просто
one of which is found
сама
exclusively
ідея,
on
що
the
все
C4
Ascendancy це
and
мерк,
rare
мене
curse
якось
of
не
the
сильно
Allflame
прикалує,
encounters.
чесно. Дайвери
Sellswords
якісь.
of Trathus won't be the whole of your problems in 329, however. As the
Підводний мерк, да.
denizens of the Lightless are getting some much-needed updates
Wow.
with the modernization
Babies.
and rework of Abyss. When we brought Abyss over to Path of Exile 2
Da.
and Rise of the Abyssal,
Да.
some functional changes to the mechanic were made to improve the gameplay significantly. In Curse of the Allflame, the majority of those changes will be making their way back to Path of Exile 1.
Найс.
The existing Abyss content had some notable problems.
Да.
Aside from being very dated, it also required the player to follow a crack as it opens, often backtracking throughout already cleared areas. Now, as you approach an abyssal pit, and the cracks leading up to it, you will find that it is already open and spilling forth abyssal energy into the surrounding area, subjugating the souls of enemies unlucky enough to be
Зараз
within
би
its influence.
поскріншейкать.
Slaying these enemies will send those souls spiraling down into the pit, drawing the attention and ire of the minions of Kulamark that dwell beneath. Slay enough of them, and the Abyssal Legion will spill forth from their domain to tear you apart. The upshot of this rework is twofold. Firstly, there is now much more visceral feedback in the moment-to-moment gameplay of Abyss, with audio and visual cues drawing the player along. And most importantly, you'll never need to chase a meandering abyssal crack around a map ever again.
Ну, можна купити,
No
можна
more
знайти
backtracking.
мерка. Ну і потім ти його тримати завжди можеш при
Be
собі.
on your guard. The abyssal minions of Kulamark have some different tricks up their sleeves in
Ну, в
PoE 1.
стінки мерк буде
And many
перманентний.
employ entirely different skills to
Да,
those
а
of
що не
their
так
PoE 2
зможна знайти?
counterparts.
От.
To be clear, there are
Чи
still
купить,
some aspects of the
навіть
existing
якщо
abyssal
так.
system that we will be keeping. Abyssal jewels and items with abyssal
Ага,
sockets will
Abyssal
remain.
Jewel все ще будуть, найс.
In fact, we have given Abyss a similar treatment to what we did with Dell fossils in our last release, moving abyssal rewards out of other areas of the game
Найс.
to make Abyss the exclusive source of abyssal jewels and Stygian vices.
Найс, це мені
This
подобається.
will also come with a complete refresh of abyssal
пасівки,
scarabs and
скараби.
Atlas passive tree investment, with some truly dangerous and wild new ways to take on the
Окей,
lightless
там,
hordes.
коротше, Ебіс по-новому можна обмазувати якось.
Lastly for Abyss, but definitely not least, Abyss is bringing an entirely new endgame pinnacle
New
boss
endgame
with
boss.
its own set of brand new unique
О, нові
items.
уніки, прикол.
This boss has a very unique way of accessing it.
А?
What does this eyeball do? Good luck figuring this one out.
Окей.
Let's move on to our next league being reworked. Legion. Every league should have distinct
Біну.
and
Я
interesting
не побачив
rewards that
Біну,
are
чесно.
exclusively available for
Я
that
не
mechanic.
дивився. Уважно. Я
This
дивився
allows
чат.
players to specialize in certain
Так,
corners of the game,
Легіон.
rewarding those who engage with a given mechanic. Legion is next on our list to receive this treatment. Despite having a unique combat mechanic, we felt Legion didn't have interesting exclusive rewards outside of timeless duels. While incubators were technically exclusive to Legion, they effectively granted the same rewards that you could get elsewhere. So,
О,
what are we
музяка
doing
прям
about it?
легіоновська офігенна.
Firstly, incubators are being removed.
Є.
No longer will you have to remember to apply incubators
Nice.
to all your equipment every few
Інкубатори
minutes.
ремовнули.
Instead, we will be adding a new type of reward exclusive
Cannot
to
be
Legion,
frozen.
vestigial unique items.
Spell damage.
Legion generals and maps will have a chance to drop a new type of currency item, enshrouding crystals.
Ага.
These can be used on your unique armors. You can then
куди?
take the enshrouded item to the domain
Я
of
прям
timeless
злякався,
conflict,
що стало.
which might look a little bit different to what you remember.
Ага.
A giant crystal emerges from the center of the domain, and there appears to be some sort of entity trapped inside.
Ага.
Potentially the reason that these armies are engaged in eternal conflict.
Нічого сі. Продовження регіону.
At the base of the crystal are a number of smaller crystals. Clicking on one allows us to place our enshrouded item inside. As we then kill monsters in the domain of timeless conflict, our gloves within the crystal begin to transform. And once you have killed enough, the crystal becomes volatile and looks ready to fracture. I wonder what will come out. Our
Вау.
Shaper's touch transformed into a Malagaro's
Ой, ще й
virtuosity.
перетачі в Малігару
But now,
перетворились.
the
Якого хрена?
Malagaro's virtuosity has a trace of the
Evasion.
original enshrouded item bestowed upon it,
Holy
in the
shit.
form of a vestigial implicit
Це які
modifier.
там варіанти буде
As you
уніків?
can see, enshrouding crystals allow you to transfer powerful modifiers from one unique item onto another. Here are some more examples of vestigial unique items.
Койл, Аєгіс, Abyssal Socket, Вальфахоблі.
Gloves.
Що? А, Explode.
Shields
Фігня,
and
Караптецо.
body armors.
Більше в конверту на
In
Lightning
addition to
Coil.
vestigial items, we are also making a number of small improvements to Legion.
Ага.
You no longer need to kill every last monster to begin the Legion encounter. Breaking out all the key monsters, chests, and the majority of monsters will be enough to
Прикольно.
start
Не
the
всіх мобів
combat
надо вбити, це
automatically.
офігенно. То що інколи десь
No
один
more
там сидить
cheeky
куточку і
single
рофлить.
monster hiding in the corner,
Lightning Coil
preventing your
70 робить,
encounter
да?
from starting. Legion monsters drop fewer splinters, but in larger stack sizes,
Найс.
resulting in fewer clicks
Okay.
in each encounter.
Приємніш. Мамбологін.
Unrelenting
Да.
timeless emblems have been removed,
Мам.
with regular timeless emblems absorbing many of their effects, causing the
емблеми
domain
тільки
of timeless
дефолтні,
conflict to become harder,
і він
but
складніший.
more rewarding as you kill monsters. Your
Ну, в
reward
принципі,
progress in the
окей.
domain is now tracked by charging up these small purple crystals, rather than flooding your screen with hundreds of reward icons. The rewards are still the same,
Хантер?
just not obscuring your screen
Завжди
with
Хедхантер
symbols.
Ліга, ні? Ну майже, ладно.
Talismans were introduced back in 2015.
Талісмани вони згадали?
But
What the
over the
fuck?
years, they've been long neglected
Да.
and lack a meaningful place or purpose.
Ага.
We are making a number of changes to bring talismans back to relevance. Firstly,
Really?
talismans are now
Талісмани.
exclusive rewards from
Я прям
bestiary.
це в мене 0
Every
в голові
red
було
beast has a
талісмани.
chance to drop a talisman specific to that beast.
Ага. Бісти дропають талісмани.
For example, the Krashik Croaker
Aha.
can drop the Croaker talisman.
Ага.
What makes these talismans special? Well, you'll notice a couple of changes compared to old talismans. Firstly,
Окей.
talismans no longer drop corrupted, making
What-
them far
what
easier to
the
craft once you
fuck?
find one. Secondly, the special modifiers on talismans are now enchantments, rather than implicits. This means they compete with blight anointments, allowing their effects to be
Цікаво.
significantly more powerful than before.
Ну, тобто Аноїн
Here are a
забирається,
few more
але...
examples of new
Да,
talismans.
але да.
Talisman
Max
unique items
charge.
have all been improved, and now have a chance to drop from all bestiary bosses. Check out the new Eyes of the Great Wolf
Double.
talisman, which has some crazy possibilities.
Цікаво.
So that is everything
Ну, тобто,
covering the new and reworked
Це
leg
прикольно.
mechanics
Стало
in
набагато
3.29.
краще. Вони, я не думаю, що в епі прям будуть, але будуть прикольні. Деякі. Не, може якісь і будуть варіанти епі, але да.
Legion's new reward mechanic, and of course, everything the curse of the Oriflame League has to offer. But even with all of that, we're not done. Because what
Not
about
done.
the Atlas itself? Given Zana's actions to try and destroy it in the last two expansions,
А навіть виглядає
Zana's
сильніше
actions are
поверчавши
causing
для
the
чарж
Atlas to
стакера
become
якогось.
ever
О,
more
вейт,
destabilized.
телефон.
Strange locations have begun to manifest on the Atlas, many of which seem to be bleeding over from familiar places in Rayclast. Kerak has labeled these as anomalies.
Аномалії.
When you complete maps affected by a Voidstone, there is a chance that when you next open your Atlas, an anomaly may manifest. Like this one, the Mana Foyer. Like regular maps on the Atlas, you can select them at your map device. But unlike regular maps, these don't require an item to enter. It looks like this area is the abode of Kadero Perandus.
О, бро.
Kadero is
Kadebro.
willing to offer valuable items in exchange for our gold.
Вау,
If
valuable.
you don't like what is on offer,
7 разів
you can
клікнути
reject
можна.
it, and he will immediately offer another item.
Це просто
The
як
next offer
цей,
will cost more
як у
gold,
Джун приблизно.
but hopefully is much more valuable to you. If you don't have enough gold for the offered item, don't worry. Kadero is happy to wait for you to replenish your coffers. You can return to the area at any
Ну,
time.
якщо
The
що,
anomaly
Міраж
will
зробив,
not
що
disappear
Сімплекс
from the
раз 5
Atlas
подешевшив.
until you either purchase
Приблизно.
an item or reject all his offers.
Ми дивились всередині ліги,
Anomalies
порівнювали.
are unique in this regard. Unlike other locations on the Atlas, these areas can often be revisited. Let's quickly run through a few of the anomalies that can manifest.
Ну, Каляндра.
Reflecting Mists and the Nameless Seer no longer randomly spawn within
Hey.
maps,
Ну
but
ладно,
instead
це
now
аномалії
appear in
тепер.
their own anomaly areas. Scrying is no longer the domain of the Nameless Seer, but instead can be done
тепер
through
просто
the new,
мапиться.
tradable
ладно.
Scrying Orb.
Трейдабл з
Some
Крайнгорб.
anomalies
Цікаво.
grant a taste of League mechanics you might not normally run, without having to be fully invested into them.
Окей.
For example, this anomaly creates a random, fully revealed heist blueprint
Рандомний
with
блюпринт
random rogue
ревільнутий.
companions.
Ладно.
This anomaly has a version
Oh,
of the
боже.
Sacred Grove
What the
where the
fuck?
plants have fully taken over. This strongbox seems to have
Oh,
a strange
Якась
mechanism.
знайома хрень.
Atlas anomalies are unaffected by your Atlas skill tree, and you can't augment them using any fragments. Therefore, they can be run at any time without feeling like they have to be saved for later
Щось
to
обіцяли Санктум
maximize the
зробити. Так,
potential
вони
rewards.
щось зробили Санктуму
many
чуть-чуть і
more
сказали,
Atlas
що потім ще
anomalies to
щось
discover
зробимо.
for
І
yourselves.
потім не настало поки
Each of
ще.
them tied
Вже
to a specific
років
Atlas
півтора,
quadrant.
по-моєму, це тому було.
It is therefore worth discovering which ones can spawn in each part of the Atlas, as it may influence what Atlas strategy you wish to pursue.
Ага.
So that is a heap of new challenges to
Ну,
encounter
коротше, аномалії,
from
які
the
там щось
League
роблять.
and the
Добре.
endgame. But you may be asking what new tools do we have to face these challenges?
Да. Я
In
бачив там нові
3.29,
скіли,
we are giving a
спалив.
bit of love to spellcasters.
Yeah.
Specifically, those that cast spells themselves.
Да?
But first, let's address the elephant in the room that astute players may have noticed.
Що?
Yes, I'm talking about those socket colors.
Я не замітив,
So,
чесно.
after the better part of 2 decades, in 3.29, we're making a fairly radical change.
Сокет.
Sockets, at a basic level, don't have colors anymore.
What?
You can now put any colored gem into any socket.
What?
We're doing this to address a long-running issue for both new and experienced players.
Не знаю.
I'm sure almost everyone who has played
Так,
before has run into the issue of finding
А
a
на що в них
notable
кольори
upgrade
тепер є?
and have struggled to find a way to equip it.
Ботва я теж не
you
сильно
find an
розумію,
amazing
чесно.
body armor, one that
Мені
would
це
give
було
you a
прикольно.
substantial boost to your defenses. But you just can't move
Ну,
your
щас
skill or
побачимо, що
support
вони
gems
далі будуть
over
говорити.
because the colors of the sockets just don't match, and you didn't luck out with your chromatic orbs. It's
Unlucky.
not fun when you have to unequip a bunch of skills or supports just to use a better item.
Decision надо make було
This
робити.
can still happen with the socket numbers and socket links, so it's not like it's just purely trivial, but the colors were just unnecessary. And not only prevented upgrading gear, it limited build experimentation. So, given that, what do the colors on gems with regards to sockets even now mean? Well, the colors on gems for sockets are still relevant,
Да?
just as an upgrade system.
І
You
що
can
вони
still
роблять?
find items with colored sockets, and you can craft them onto items. They are just rarer and more powerful. Most importantly, they don't restrict what can be socketed into them. So how are they more powerful?
Я
Well,
confused.
if you were to find an item with, say, a green socket, you can put a green gem inside of it to get an additional quality bonus to that gem.
Це прикольно.
This allows socket colors to be a purely positive outcome on an item.
Але
while
мені
not
не
just
подобається
simplifying the system away.
втрата оцих
You can also still change
ферікшена
the
в
color of
актах.
sockets on your items
Тобі
using
треба
a
думати
chromatical,
сокети,
which
кольори,
now
мені це
guarantees at
подобалось.
least one red,
Тобто,
blue,
це в
or
ендгеймі
green
прикольно.
socket. This change will make it easier for everyone to upgrade items and
Але
maintain their
мені в
build,
актах
especially while
не
progressing.
подобається ця зміна.
Speaking of builds and gems, we wanted to make sure we improve some of those, specifically for spellcasters.
Да, давай.
Let's get into that.
Спелкастери.
Spellcasters have a large
Поясніть,
number of
потім.
different
Я
skills
спели
to
хочу
choose from,
подивитися. Та й
but
чат
often
пояснює,
many
якщо
skills
хоче.
play and scale in similar ways. We have done a pass through existing spells, differentiating spell damage types from each other. For example, Shadow's physical spells, like
Yeah,
Ethereal
old.
Knives
Yeah,
and
very
Bladefall,
old.
now have a much higher critical strike chance than other spells at the expense of damage. Pure lightning spells now all have generally higher cast speeds, but they cost more mana per second than other spells.
Полішит, мана.
We noticed that some of the Ascendancy classes for Shadow, Witch, and Templar were lacking options for general spellcasting. So we've added a new notable to the Assassin,
Bifurcate, wait.
the Occultist,
Spirit Infusion, oh my god.
and the Inquisitor.
Inquisitor, що? Це
We are also
асасінівський нолик
introducing a
перетащили.
new skill,
Окей.
Mana Infused Staff. It
Інфюжени,
infuses your staff
похчамп.
with arcane energy, raising your block chance and reducing the mana cost of your spells.
Reduce mana cost, що
In
я
addition,
прослухав.
when you are hit by an enemy,
О боже,
you
прикольно.
retaliate with a wave of arcane lightning,
Прикольно.
dealing damage based on your maximum mana.
Еу.
One of the struggles we noticed with certain self-cast archetypes was that they lacked a scaling option in the endgame. In 329, we're adding a special new set of exceptional skill gems called Pacts. Each pact is themed around a specific Beyond demon and
What the
Lycia.
fuck is this?
You can make a bargain with these demons to empower your spells. But
А?
at what cost, you may ask? Well, these spells don't have a typical cost, but instead cause the player to gain a special affliction debuff. Don't worry too much though. The rewards will be worth it.
Да, ну давай,
For
покажи, що там
example,
буде.
Pact of Baydat causes many of your different spells to just cause a ruckus.
What the heck? Там
While
багато
Pact of
букв.
Gore is for dot builds. Using this pact will plague your enemies. Just cast it and watch
40 more
everything around
damage,
you melt.
щось там ще робиться.
I wonder
і
what Pact of Lycia
Damage,
and Pact of
damage,
Katash do.
damage. Там additional
We
chainів
won't
було
go into
мільйон
the
на першому.
specifics of all the balance changes we are making here, but there are many more
Цікаво.
caster improvements, including buffs to specific spells and supports, buffs to caster unique items,
Да,
as
бафи з
well
пилами,
as more
супортом і
and better
кастером.
ways to solve mana. Check out the patch notes later for all the details.
Мене,
Next up,
actually,
we're
шокново
going to be
цікавить.
talking about the new supporter
Nice.
packs for Curse of the Allflame. Today, we're launching two new series of supporter packs. The
Я
Plague
думаю,
and
ну не знаю,
Remedies
чи стартувати,
packs.
але шокновий хочу пограти.
Each tier contains the pack's full face value in points, alongside several exclusive microtransactions. As always, the microtransactions in these packs are purely cosmetic and do not affect your character's power or progression in any way.
Рицарів
The
робили.
Plague series of supporter packs contains 7 exclusive microtransactions.
Не знаю, цьому чогось не
Equipping
хватає.
the Plague weapon skin
Цьому сетіку,
replaces the
чесно кажучи,
default appearance of your
якогось
staff, sword,
цікавості.
mace, or shield with
Якийсь
a
він
weapon that
просто
has
є.
been submerged in corrosive
тряпках.
toxins. The Plague Rat Pet is the result of a nefarious experiment. When a unique enemy is nearby,
Ew.
it faints as a defensive mechanism to protect its fragile body
Dead
so
low.
it can continue to spread disease. The metal of the Plague Bearer armor set has corroded, and the cloth has begun to disintegrate from being exposed to such toxic elements. It includes the Plague Bearer back attachment, which spreads disease across the ground in town areas,
Яка гадость.
maximizing the chance of infection. A diseased swarm infects your weapon when using the Plague Bearer weapon effect. Use it alongside the Erupting Pustule's rare finisher effect to spread vile and devastating disease to monsters you kill. Activating the Plague Wraith map
The fuck is
device
this?
causes the plagued energy to flow from the chained being. Given the goal of spreading such illness is to end the lives of as many as possible, the map device tracks kills in kind,
Мало гівна на екрані
showing you
треба
the
ще,
number of
так в
enemies
цьому вся
killed in
суть
each
бою.
map, sorted by
Більше
rarity.
гівна на екрані, щоб
Feel
було.
free to even pin the count of enemies slain in a map to the leaderboard at your leisure. Pair it with the putrefying portal to fully immerse yourself in the Plague Propagator experience. Both the map device and the portal emit such a potent putrefaction that even the birds flying overhead cannot survive, as they plummet to the ground around it. The Remedis Pack series also contains 7 exclusive microtransactions. The Remedis weapon skin changes the appearance of your staff, wand, scepter, or shield, with relics once used by the Order of the Remedis Knights against the Plague. The Medi Roa pet is kitted out with all the supplies necessary
Навіть не
for
знаю, що
healing
було у
and remote
кульгурпаті такого,
locations.
чесно.
Strangely, these Roas seem to have a particular fondness for goblin meat.
Окей.
The Remedis Knight armor set is bestowed upon those tasked with traveling through Rayclast to purge the sick of their diseases. The matching back attachment cleanses the disease left behind on the ground in town areas by the Plague Bearer back attachment. It's an important job of a Remedis Knight to not let disease take over. Help by doing your part.
Wow.
The Remedis Knight weapon effect funnels the divine power of purification into your weapon. Return to the Saints' End Monastery hideout to recuperate from your purifying duties. Once a thriving center for curing ailments, this monastery has slowly wasted away while lying unused. If you're feeling
тут
brave
ще немає
enough,
цього?
there's even a platform to dive into the
Ладно.
purifying waters below before washing back
Да,
up
от
at the base of
прикольний.
the hideout.
Ні.
Last, but not
Навіть не
least,
дивився.
use the Reservoir of Benediction Affinity Stash to
Думав
store
піти
all
подивитися
of your
сторінку
elixirs.
анонсу.
This stash opens to your stash tab with the
Заплатять
Flask
тільки, хто
Affinity
хоче
set.
донатити, як скажеш.
Additionally, all
У
microtransactions from the
всіх
supporter
точно така
packs
думка, як у
are
тебе.
available for
Нікому
use
не
in
може
Path of
нравитися щось
Exile
інше,
2.
ніж тобі.
We're looking forward to seeing which of you choose to become the plague and spread disease across Rayclast, or those who wish to fight against it by becoming a Remedis Knight. Thank you so much for your ongoing support. We're just about to start the Q&A with Ziggy D.
Вау. Ну, а
Afterwards,
комусь буде
we'll post
вау,
the
да.
full
А
patch
другий,
notes for Path
комусь
of
буде
Exile,
вау, прикольний, там
Curse of
якась
the
гадость
Orphan at
розповзається.
11 a.m. New Zealand
Вау.
time, 4 p.m. Pacific.
Ну, якихось
With
купа.
release at the end
Хтось
of next week,
не має
our
ніякого,
community
це
team
буде
will
його
be
перший,
posting
може.
crucial
І це йому
information you
перший
need for the
рецепти,
release.
прикольно, чому
Keep
ні?
an eye on the news.
Тобто я від нього не похчамплю, але я прям чесно з твоїх тейків цих про MTX повіримо. Ну, да. Як скажеш. Я не знаю, чесно, кек. Я з Юкі постійно спорю, але ти мене тригериш набагато більше останнім часом, ніж він. Своїми тейками. З Юкі я постійно просто по механікам спорю, що там бла-бла-бла. А твої тейки я прям, чесно. Ліга імба? Ну, непонятно. Ну, виглядає прикольно, як і більшість ліг. Побачимо, як буде. Ну, нові спелкастерські приколи, мені цікаво. Потрогать буде. Дебіс притягнули з пої 2, це прикольно.
Ви мене тільтуєте.
Легіон непонятно що. Талісмани смішні. Тобто є приколи прикольні. Того на тізері поки непонятно. Я вже не пам'ятаю, що було на міражі, але... Чесно, я забув, що було на міражі. Уже, чесно. На анонсі. Тут, ну, прикольні зміни, як завжди. Реворк Атласа. Ну, Реворк Атласа це окремо. Історія завжди. Реворк Атласа це Реворк Атласа. До Ліги окрема історія. Не знаю. Стрім закінчився. Ну, анонс закінчився, але буде ще інтерв'ю, де будуть з розробниками сидіти, спілкуватися люди. Людина. Ну так, анонс один, тобто, можна сказати так. Ну просто то був типу експаншн Атласа, ендгейма новий якийсь. Тут теж трошки є, але менше. Ти нічого не зрозумів? Ну, будеш на карті, знаходить фігню, трогаєш фігню, пачка мобів спавниться якась, вбиваєш мови, дропають фігню, з якої йдеш на море. І ниряєш, і там б'єш мобу, і там лут.
We are joined here by, it's a little bit cozier here than usual. We have game director Mark Roberts, along with lead game designers on Exile 1, Octavian and Andrew. And Andrew, welcome. This is your first time joining us on the
Andrew,
It's good to have you here. You have been on some other podcasts and things in the past before, but it's exciting to have you all here for the podcast. I kind of want to give people a bit of a lay of the land of like what it is that each of you, like Octavian and Andrew, work on for Path of Exile, so people can kind of understand where your expertise lies, maybe.
Yeah, so for Path of Exile 1, I've been working on it for like primarily for quite a few years now.
Кольори слотів тепер будуть тільки бафи давати якісь. Ти будь-який гем, куди хочеш засунеш. Але якщо ти червоний гем в червоний слот засунеш, то він там отримує якийсь бонус.
So yeah, for example, in this one, things like Mercenary and Legion and the balance, I would have had a hand in.
Yeah, and you certainly did a lot on the balance side of things. It looks like you did 150 skills or something.
When the patch notes come out, you'll see the changes there, so.
It's a lot.
That's a later nuke, so.
And what about for you, Octavian? What do you kind of focus on for people who are not familiar?
So the last few leagues, you know, Mercenaries,
зелений гем, якщо ти вставляєш в зелений слот, буде 10 quality. Наскільки я зрозумів, якщо ти червоний, там буде щось інше. Підозрюю плюс левел гему.
Basically wherever else I'm needed. So this time around, I did the new Abyss Pinnacle boss. So you can
Типу як ця, як діало.
I did a bunch of new uniques.
Я не знаю, чи плюс левел, типу такого.
Some transfigured skills that'll be in the patch, because that's a pet project of mine. I really like transfigured skills. And probably some other stuff I'm forgetting. But yeah, I mean...
Можна Empower ставити, можна щось інше вставити. Можна просто червоний слот туди вставити і те саме отримати, що від Empower. Якщо там буде левел. Плюс левел, ну якщо вірить Діалі, то зелений дає quality, а червоний давав левел гему. Синій дав experience gain, я сумніваюся, що це буде, але да.
Obviously, the biggest news is the socket color change. It's the one everyone seems to want to know about from what I've seen.
По логіці, що спили більшість сині і хочуть левел гему, то да, було б краще, щоб сині було. Це є таке. Ні, експергем я не думаю, що буде, це діяло був прикол. Просто в мене асоціація пішла. Було б, якби, коротше, якщо там буде справді левел гема, то це краще було б синьому. Але завжди можна Empower синьому.
So often on just to give some history to it. So on launch day, when there isn't a burning fire,
nice.
We're all sitting there designing like, okay, what are we doing next? What are we starting on Monday? Like, I know people think we have a long plan ahead. We don't. Launch day is when we design the next set of content. And a thing that we decided is we worry the message now is that PoE 2 is for the new audience and PoE 1 is for the existing audience only. And it is obviously for the existing audience.
Мені цікавіше складніше. Але я розумію, що людям буде багатьом подобатися простіше.
And we want to make sure that audience is growing. Because if you aren't growing the audience, it's only got one way to go, right? That's down.
Я люблю, коли складність якась оця ковиряція, щось таке.
It'd be naive to assume it can just sustain the exact same numbers forever with the exact same players, right? People do eventually move on, whatever. So we want the audience to grow. And so when we actually go and look, well, when we were discussing this with Mirage, we're like, let's actually think, why are people, you know, getting into the game and then stopping playing? Like, what are the points of friction and where we're losing the audience? And sockets is a huge one. Now, we had already discussed this for PoE 2 because PoE 2 removed skill gems off gear, right?
Yeah.
So we kind of already were a bit educated in this, and we're like, but the line we drew, like some people were like, why not remove them entirely off the gear, like you did with PoE 2? But there are, I would say, I feel this way, and a number of people feel this way. When first playing PoE 1,
в актах.
Whatever, long time ago.
Decade and a half ago.
Тобто я кажу, в Ангені мені прикольніше в актах, мені менш прикольно. Тільки не подобається все? Ні, це мене... Те, як ти свою думку подаєш, мені не подобається. І оце останнім часом я вже разів, не знаю, 10, мабуть, замітив, що як тільки я щось починаю захищати, ти зразу з сарказмом оце, о, знову захищає, типу щось таке пишеш. Раз може було смішно, чи два, на п'ятий вже не смішно робиться.
It's a personal line, sure, but I think a lot of people share it, of not wanting to lose that entirely, but also it doesn't need to be having so many layers of friction. And so obviously you got the numbers, you got the links, and then you got the colors. And often what we're finding is that, sure, seasoned players, veterans, they work around it, sure. But, or honestly, they don't even necessarily, I talk about the gear upgrades, sometimes you don't even need the gear upgrades, you know, you can just, once you know what you're doing, you know what you're doing. But yeah, we're finding a lot of players early game who are struggling, who are trying to get those gear upgrades, just can't, and often it's because of the colors.
Багатьом буде подобатися, мені здається, це краща зміна для гри типу, але я люблю складність, я люблю це всяке типу хрень, то це моє, але це невелике для мене, що погано стало. Просто було цікавіше. Ну ти по приколу кажеш, але скажу, просто це якось багато було останнім часом трохи. Ну, може, я замічав, так, що чат не дуже активний, але вже трохи око дьоргатися почало. Тобто я то захищаю, але я стараюся, по крайній мірі, стараюся, щоб більш-менш, не знаю, адекватно це говорити, не знаю, як це сказати. Що не просто ге-ге-ге ідеальні, а чого я так думаю, і те, що це моя думка така.
And we need to have like when they get overwhelmed and they're like, I don't know what to do, it feels complicated. And this was part of that. So, you know, I wouldn't expect this to be the last change along that axis of us going, let's remove these barriers of entry. You know, in the future we want to make more. But yeah, honestly, I think,
прослухав, що вони там бубніли,
generally speaking, almost everyone internally has been pretty positive, but everyone has that, whoa, you're changing this sacred thing.
Ну, я намагаюся об'єктивно, але розумію, що я далеко не об'єктивний, але я стараюсь пояснити свою думку.
Do we need to...
Якщо ти про це було?
Do we need to like call a council of the founders here? Like, do we? What are we supposed to do here? Like,
I
can we make this change?
That basically did happen. Yeah. Like, you guys called around to some of the other people.
Yes, we did. Yes.
Yeah, no, that was just
so it was. Even we were like, are we allowed? But then also, I think it is really important that we can reassess these fundamentals and actually go and say, nah, this needs to change. Now, hopefully, it's amazing, and hopefully everyone finds it less friction and late game get better optimization and all of that. But you know, these things, if they don't quite land for us, just gonna make another iteration and change it. That's what we do.
Для багатьох людей їх було занадто багато всяких цих кавирянь і складностей. Оце коли Quality of Life додають, я інколи кажу, що це не Quality of Life, але мені по-старому було прикольно ковиряти. Але я розумію, що для гри може бути, скоріш за все, що краще, коли це міняють. Просто головне, щоб їх було не забагато, щоб все не прибрали це, що рікшн так званий. Анонс? Да, анонс пройшов уже Q&A. Сидимо, дивимося потрошки.
You're like, oh, this just grinds me down a little bit each league.
That is something I did. It was intended for a newer audience, but 100% all the feedback from Alpha, from internal, you know, our designers and QA generally has been like, hell yeah.
Не знаю, поки вони далі про це говорять, можна пролистати, що тут робиться.
I'm upgrading my gear more often, it feels good. And the quality one surprised me a bit because that is actually like pretty, you don't usually interact with quality at all in the campaign. You're not going to get any GCPs until end game, right? But that, I was actually
це воно всі quality буде? Я думав, там різні будуть ці, чесно кажучи. А він сказав якось так, будто це всім quality гемом буде.
So that felt like actually a pretty fun thing to engage with, and getting one socket color here and there felt like a meaningful thing. So
it worked out really nicely as an axis for still rewarding getting, you know, some of the correct colors.
Yeah.
Because quality innately is much more powerful on your active skill than it is your support gem.
Yeah.
So it's kind of okay if you only have a few of the colors because you put your strongest
Звучить,
skill
як будто тільки quality, я чесно кажучи.
gem in your links, which is your active skill.
Не, ну quality гемом дуже кльовий. Слухай, у гемов дуже кльові quality в активних. Більшість, причому. Але я думав, там буде в різних кольорів різні речі, от я до чого. Але звучить, як будто всім quality просто буде. Може, і нерфили, побачимо, не знаю. Ну, вони багато міняли, казали, кастери, по крайній мірі.
You know, it's not like a divine orb level ding when you drop it, but it's nice to see. You know, you're excited to see a chromatic now and then.
Yeah, it was kind of funny that like chromatic went from being like less valuable than, you know, jewelers and fusings to being the most value out of those now.
Yeah, just to clarify, chromatics are much rarer now than they were before.
Yes.
I won't say exactly how rare they are, but we've made changes to, like, for example, if you vendor
Ну,
a 6 socket item
деяким
that
скілам,
has
да,
chromatic
10 quality
colors, you
достатньо
won't get 7 jewel
критично
or
міняють
you'll get a chromatic
ситуацію,
orb
але...
instead.
I was wondering if
знаю.
there was some sort of recipe. I thought you were guys
Таке,
like
що в
keep a
Energy
secret or
Blade
something.
Quality
One of
щось
those
робить, його ж
existing
відрізали, ні?
chromatic
Воно
recipe,
щось
that's
нічого не
all.
робить.
Okay.
But it
Воно
has
по
higher
текспіра дає.
priority than the jewel
Our list,
one.
our list of recipes, if it meets 2 conditions, there's always
I see.
it has an order of precedence. So we moved the chromatic above the
Because
jewel.
it's more valuable
Yes,
now.
yeah.
I see, that makes sense. Did you guys have to mess with quality at all now that there's going to be kind of 30% is just going to be somewhat wildly available now? Like, does that break anything?
No,
Oh.
it is
Питають якраз це.
basically a bit power creepy.
Ну, кажуть, просто поверкріп.
I think we had to make a number of changes to existing
але number of
uniques
changes
that
є.
interacted with socket colors. But I think the only one that really got a nerf was Diala's malefaction. Instead of
Diala.
running 30% quality to green socket gems, it's now 20%.
Okay.
But
Ну,
if you
коротше,
put a green socket gem in, it's 30%.
quality з
is what
Діали
it had
стирили,
before,
чуть
so.
10. Дали всім
And
просто.
that's my follow-up question
То
is,
буде все ще
there's
30.
uniques that interact with socket colors. Have these sorts of things been updated? In particular, I was like wondering, like,
Діала
does
чест.
anything tabula rasa
Якщо
or
ти
just
вставляєш
leave
туди
it
зелений
until later?
сокет, то там
Didn't
буде
need
30
change.
quality.
Yeah,
Якщо
I mean,
червоний,
it's
то
like
плюс
six
левел.
link, still
Гем
a
отримує.
six link, yeah.
Still six link?
Якщо
Skin
синій,
of the
то
Loyal
експірієнсу
and
більше гем
Lords,
це
they just
отримує.
generate with 6 colored sockets.
Yep.
So you still want to get the right colors, but
Yeah, but it's much easier to actually use them now.
What else did you do? Pariah.
Yeah, so we audited all of them. Some of them we were like, this is not a good unique, we should buff it. So Pariah, for example, is one that is now much stronger than it used to
Ого.
be.
Пора їх бафнули.
Yeah, there's subtle changes,
Pariah.
but in general, like the design of the uniques didn't really need to change at all.
Цікаво, що
Like
там буде.
Triad Grip and the Untouched Soul, those type of things.
I just realized this makes like a favorite thing for me is like early league buying like a corrupted 6-link and finding the right colors for that was sometimes tricky, but now like you can use any, right? Because you can put a blue gem in a green socket, you just don't get the bonus.
Yeah, Skin of the Loyal's early league is going to be far more accessible now.
Yeah, cool.
Куди вже accessible
Interesting.
шестерінки.
It inadvertently kind of makes 6-links much more available in
Да.
early league, it seems. It's like something maybe you
Куди
wouldn't even
вже
really
більш
think about with this,
accessible.
but there you go.
yeah, in a way, yeah.
Yeah, all right, cool.
Ну, в
Bulbs
дропсі
do the thing
розвивали.
with sockets.
Finisher
I imagine
ефект.
that changed,
Коли
right?
ти вбиваєш шарного моба,
Well,
там буде якийсь бум.
To clarify,
робиться.
when you do get a socket color, so for example, if you're using like a strength base type, you still have, when a socket generates, it's still got a much higher chance to be a red socket compared to a blue or green socket. So
Yeah.
it
Ось не
still
пофіг.
rolls socket colors.
Все ще простіше
Based
стало.
on the
Тобто воно і так
attribute
було дуже
requirements.
просто вже шестилінки
Now,
отримати. Стало ще
Valve
простіше.
does what it used to do before, where
там
when it's
перші дні,
generating
типу.
socket colors, it can still re-roll socket colors.
Yeah.
I think instead of granting white sockets, now it does the inverse and it grants a colored socket.
Yeah, so I was
but that colored socket
Okay.
will just be a random green or blue. It won't care about the attribute requirements of the item.
So a way to get off colors or something, maybe. Interesting. I imagine the crafting bench probably changed. But then again, with chromes being more expensive, maybe it didn't need to.
So a chromatic orb guarantees a colored socket,
Yeah.
but we also have crafting bench options which guarantee 2 colored sockets and guarantee 3 colored sockets. But for varying amounts of
TX.
chromatic orbs. I can't remember the exact
And now
numbers.
that they're going to be much more valuable as well,
Yep.
that makes sense. It almost kind of
And
solves
TX
itself
nilo.
there. Well, super interesting. I look forward to seeing how people feel about that after they've had a chance to play around with it. But, my impressions of that have been pretty positive so far.
Мені, в принципі, фінішери мало.
If anything,
Ківов.
like, I guess if there's any negative I could probably nitpick about it, it seems that maybe like it removes some of the identity from those items, mostly more in the campaign where you're not seeing their colors come up all that often. So like armor, energy shield thing is not necessarily as distinct from an invasion thing, since you can
No,
change them
давай.
around a lot more. Was that something you guys were worried about at all with this?
Ну, на SSF
really?
шестерінки я дофармив трохи.
They
A
get
little
enough of
bit.
their
I
identity
understand that it
from
is, especially from the visuals.
Yeah.
But like the item holds itself, you know,
Yeah.
and with respect to its defense type, its mods. But yeah, I mean, I get that. Almost everyone. I was just thinking about it now. Or
А що
I
та
play
було?
with sockets
Я не
always
знаю, я
shown.
надію, що з нею щось
I don't
зробили.
think I've seen anyone in a long time not play with sockets always shown. So I was just thinking that, like, generally when you're looking at an item, in fact, you're not really seeing its item art. You're just seeing some
Yeah.
combination of colors. So yeah, generally you're going to be like, hey, this doesn't
Я
look
надію, що
like
з
how it
тобою
used to
щось
look.
станеться.
But I would honestly say that that doesn't need to be part of it. So it shouldn't need to be part of
Дерево
it.
виростить, я не розумію.
Even though I get
Брічовські?
that it will
Акти
feel
пройти
it
для
will,
начала.
for sure.
Well, I know this was the main change for this expansion, but on the side, in your spare time between working on Socket Colors, obviously you made this thing called Curse of the Oriflame. This is a pretty unique and I think delightfully goofy mechanic. It's definitely a weird one. At first I thought, it's still moist, but then that seems to be oversimplifying it a little
Скілофлейл
bit.
надо крупче, ніж
Because
геми.
it's also got a little bit of a blend of other ideas, and
свій
it
довсайд, але
definitely seems
таке.
to very much be its own thing.
А ні, дерево в
I'm
актах
curious,
робиться.
how
Дерево
did this
шоста акти
idea for this, like,
починають.
Subnautica
Новий поїнь,
League
типу,
come
лети
about?
в бріч, і
You know
там
what?
тобі поговорити надо з усіма.
It
одної.
actually didn't even start from the point of we should go to the ocean floor. What I wanted was a league where, you're exploring...
Скінолорс надо? А
Similar
туди
sort of
теж,
to
по-моєму,
Wildwood,
надо, ні?
because
Ну, в
I
будь-якому
like
випадку
that
кажу, я
mechanic.
просто
But
думаю,
yeah,
що
like
табулу
a
щось
league
мають
mechanic where
зробити.
you're
Якщо табула буде
exploring and
старатися,
trying to
буде
uncover things
лад.
as you go.
Я
And it was
лад.
originally going to be, I believe, like bestiary adjacent.
Я думаю,
where
табула
it was
щось
going to be in
має
like
зробити.
the spirit
Все.
realm where all the bestiary bosses are and you're like clearing
Okay.
spirit fog. But that was not a thing that we had nearly the assets to be able to pull off nearly as well as like an ocean themed league. Because you can, go look at half the monsters in the game that pre-existed and they're on the coast or they're near the shore or they're on an island and therefore, it's crabs and horrible squid creatures and starfish and all that. And so it just made a lot more sense to go with an ocean themed league. And from there, everything just kind of exploded into being.
Yeah, a
Ну,
lot of
тобі
it also
треба причина
inspiring
ходити
it,
далі і вибити фігню,
The
з
same
якої
mechanic can
крафти.
often be
Все.
applied to many different
Біжи
things in different
локації,
ways.
вибий
And so a
трохи
huge
брічів,
part
які
of the
бачиш,
win
ти їх
there is
перегів.
talking about ocean biome assets, creatures. Well, we
Мотки
had just done
мірорить
Act
буде
4,
веселіше.
right? So and PoE 2. So all of a sudden we
Мірорить.
have islands and islands and
А,
sea creatures
рефлектне місто
and
мірорить, ну
everything
да.
there, and it's like, okay, well, we like to reuse stuff and port it back and use so we get to use all the modern art.
Рефлектне
The
місто
other thing is the
так і є.
environment artists are familiar with those assets, so when they're trying to put together all these things, they know exactly, and the level designers, they know exactly where everything is. Makes it way easier, and then you don't have to like look through and find 13-year-old assets and stuff trying to go like, okay, how can I reuse this? And then, yeah, it's nice to have full art sets of modern art, because when you mix old things that aren't
Не говорить, я хочу це пролистати.
what we call PBR and non-PBR, when you have the old PoE1 assets intermixed with the new modern assets, they stick out
Добре.
like an absolute sore thumb.
Yeah.
So yeah, going in,
Клікай.
obviously it's when you're picking a theme, it's often good to look, what art do we have? How can we use that or reuse that? Because then you get to make a hell of a lot more content for significantly less cost. So that's kind of what helped
Shit.
inspire it, because we also like, it's like,
Який скіл
he
дає?
doesn't necessarily know what's
Хто
being
знає,
made
що
for
він
PoE
робить?
2, and that's
Добре.
like where I'm kind of the bridge, and I'm like,
Yeah, because
Не
they're
я.
full on PoE1.
Yes.
Yep.
and he's like, well, what monsters? And I'm like, oh, well, let me give you that. And I was just like, massive list. I'm like, go to this area, go to this area, go to this area, go to any of these will work. Big starfish and all that stuff. And so,
Sea otters.
yeah.
I love
the otters.
So, very-
Yeah,
The otters
so,
definitely caught me by surprise.
we had
Crafting.
a task that we hadn't finished called Demon Otter.
Yep. Yeah. You didn't even point me at that. I went and found that one.
Yeah, yeah.
Трап,
felt slightly
піра,
bad blowing up yours.
майн
They're kinda
модифаєр.
cute.
Well, you
Still
can get
Cacao.
one as a pet from the upcoming mystery
There you
box.
go.
I feel like I'm like, how did you find that? Are you just going into our issue tracker and typing otter every
Oh,
3
it's a
days
good-
and like waiting for
so
something to
drop-
appear? It's like,
I
Trap,
refreshed the issue tracker at the start
throw
of each
additional
day
trap
because I'm
if
curious
dual
what's being worked
wielding.
on, and I saw otter like years ago,
Interesting.
Control F otter.
and it stuck in my head.
Звісно, dual
See
wielding
that
це
script that just checks for him every
специфічна
day and
хрень,
lets
але
him
цікаво.
pings in the
А які
moment
там
it
ще
goes
будуть
in.
варіанти
Hundreds of
цікаво?
these
Це
things
про
getting
трапи, а
made
що
per
там
day.
ще
It's
буде?
like kind of to just
Dream
know
trap.
to search for that is like really weird. So I don't know. I'm sus.
So, I mean, so you had some assets for it, but also like if you'd done
Boss.
the Wildwood Einhari sort of thing, that
boss
sounds cool, but it
дропає
wouldn't have been quite as
блат
unique as
якийсь.
this, I think. Like, I don't
Чарш,
know,
коли
we haven't had
критує,
this,
шоу
like,
демедж,
exploring the ocean floor thing before.
I've got a question for you.
Sure.
Is this a real boat league?
I was wondering, yeah, because like you go into a boat, but we're not like what makes a boat league? Do you have to be? Does it just have to have a boat in it? Because that's a pretty low bar.
You have to be at ocean? Do you have to be
Fighting them?
I think some people draw the line at sailing. I think it has to be moving.
Я не
I
знаю.
think you have to. I think they
Fishing?
would.
Ну,
They would
достатньо
say,
прикольна фласка, але...
Hold on, whoa.
Hold on,
fine.
we'll get to that in a second.
Oh, you're rolling.
I think that a true boat league to some people is one that must
Ну
induce
да,
seasickness.
це Будь-який білд може шокати.
Screen wobble and like.
That is not what I thought you would
We
say.
have not done that this week. To be clear.
Thank you for
Така.
not doing that.
Нормально.
I feel like the
Нормально
true boat
просто.
league has to have combat on a boat. We're gonna have some boarding actions or something.
Ну,
like
різісна
some
база
boat-to-boat
це
cannons and
Noted.
spelling
що не
out.
так з різісною базою,
Is it a
нормально.
town
буде.
area? I guess you can't like spawn specters or anything. And
5 макс резиста
In
мать.
the Deepwater hub,
Чому б ні?
Deepwater
Багато
was the
часу,
working
якщо
name.
ти
In the
грітовий
Curse of
білд.
the All-Flame hub area on the
Well,
Sovereign.
you
is
can
the
drop
ship.
items on the floor on the boat.
It
so,
is technically a combat area, so you
Yeah.
could
Або перманентно, якщо ти
spawn
посвідер
specters there if
якийсь.
you wanted to.
Shoot
І резісна фласка.
projectiles out to sea.
Yeah.
I guess you
I
can.
guess.
Sorry, alright, but
Не
it
знаю,
was
коротше,
mentioned though,
фласка і
like,
фласка.
does this
Не
also count?
виглядає
Some
OP,
question
але
we asked with fishing. Does this
юзабельно.
count as fishing if you're on the ocean floor killing fish? Does that count as
Якби це
fishing?
було onslaught
And
фласка
does this
з
trade on the
50
pose of
reduce
the existing
duration,
fishing
ти б
mechanics, obviously,
потаймав
as well?
приблизно.
You would have had to have
Good luck.
considered that. Did you confer with the fishing team when you were?
I think that going down and killing fish is not fishing. I think that's.
but what if you're holding a spear though? Oh, but we don't have spears, so it doesn't matter.
Не, може це ще duration ролиться, я не знаю, але да.
Solved.
Головне, щоб не ролився він вверх, щоб не було 80
You're basically
reduce.
saying like dynamite fishing doesn't count as fishing then for sure. It's 100% cheating.
It is important for us to clear up this
Mercenary.
because, like, we need to always
okay.
be just
Мерсенарі не сильно
almost
впечатлили, чесно
delivering boat
кажучи.
leagues, but not quite delivering boat leagues. So I just wanted to make sure we
Механіка
succeeded in
забавна.
our
Про
goals.
крафтинг смішно є,
There's this,
це
like,
який
grand
тут
plot of
всякі
stream
приколи
on the
має.
PoE community for as long
Там
as
сама
possible
механіка,
for boat
мобчики,
leagues, like,
біжиш мобчики, біжиш бос, біжиш якісь приколи.
Mark was very cautious.
Мерсенарі, whatever.
Like, well, we don't want to give them
Були
too
додаткові
much.
якісь
Keep
приколи на
them
карті,
coming
да й
back for
ладно.
the next potential boat league.
Ну, на
I
Атласі
see what's
будуть
going on
нодики
here.
на мерки, але що вони точно робити будуть, я не знаю.
League must have
Нове
boat,
Асендесі,
boat,
я...
and then indented
Ні,
boat
я
must not
не
move.
фанат мерків, то мені нове Асендесі тако.
No. All right. Anyway.
Anyway, so this is a pretty big change from Mirage, which was in map and heavily intersected with like all of the existing mechanics. This is a complete opposite. This is a mostly out of map mechanic, and it's not required for you to understand how it intersects with other mechanics. Is it? I imagine there's like a good reason to kind of like alternate between the two almost as well.
Yeah, so one of the benefits of Curse of the All-Flame is that it's a very straightforward
Ні,
thing
ну
to
це ще можна
understand.
до
It's
реальні
something
мерки
that, you know,
зробити.
you don't really
І
need to
щоб у нього
have
була
a lot
якась
of
гіга-аура,
grounding
типу
in
ось 50 ефекту.
all of the minutia of Path of Exile to be able to understand.
Тож
Ooh,
можна, да.
go to Ocean
1, 2,
4
3.
and find treasure in a
1,
submersible.
2,
That's
3,
just a cool
4, да,
concept,
можна.
whether you are, you know, a PoE veteran or not.
Таке, не знаю.
And it's also just kind of
Асендесі
me
я не буду
liking
казати,
to
що прям
jump
поганий
between
зразу,
things
але
and
я
work
навряд
on
чи з ним
very
грати
different
хочу.
concepts, like, you know, I can't say any
Ну,
specifics,
типа, да,
but
це
we
замість
already do
Асендесі
have a
виходить.
very rough plan for what
Ну, це
3.3
до
will
реальні,
be,
але
and
це ще мерк
gonna go
дає
in a
тобі
completely
ж
different
там
direction as
дабл
well,
ауру
so,
якусь, типу, в
you know,
раз.
I
За Елотрі там бували мерки.
just
В
have a
раз
lot
плюс
of
за
ideas
Елотрі до
that
реальні
go
і
all over
поїхав
the place,
спелкастер
and
якийсь
I-
лайтинговий. То
I-
по силі, я думаю, може і нормально буде.
We
Деякі.
like to alternate these
Але-
things, right? Like often out of league,
Не
out of
фанат
map,
мерків. Maybe
leagues,
скрево, що вернули. Ого,
you know,
що це за хрень?
they have room to be a bit more immersive. They have there's a whole world there.
Так,
You
спід
know,
пер
integrating
сокет,
things into
кріт
map
пер
constrains
сокет,
what they can be,
physical damage пер
right?
сокет.
Like having
true.
a pocket of ocean in a desert is it's a bit
Ну,
weird,
понятно,
you
це
know.
не
Like
мерки, да,
so certain
було.
things
Там
can
можна
work,
було
certain things
накомбити таких
can't. I mean,
уніків,
in the
що
same
прям,
sense
да.
that kind of having a desert as mirage in an oceany biome can feel more like a forest biome can feel a bit weird, you know. Like it allows you to create a more immersive world, submersive world.
I see what
Це
you're doing.
локальні
Immersive.
моди чи глобальні? У мене питання.
There are some lessons that have been taken from previous.
Та що,
like,
якщо це
out-of-league
глобальні,
mechanics,
то це фігня повна якась
where
виглядає.
Obviously, the biggest one is
Якщо
that
це
the Atlas tree
локальні,
is this method of investment that
може і
can,
можна щось
you know,
придумати.
lead to in-Atlas
Ну,
content
ці
being able to
верхні
be
міньйони,
juiced
це
to
понятно,
deals,
це
so to
глобально.
speak.
Yeah.
And we need a
Ну, але
system
боргінг
that's,
такий, що
you know, at
може
least
бути і глобальний,
in-
в тому то й
what's the word
прикол.
I'm looking for here? An analog to that.
Та що, якщо це
And
глобальні
that's kind
моди,
of
то я не
the
бачу
void
цього
system, which we
вепона,
can
щоб він
get into
щось
some
робив
specifics a
взагалі.
little
Ну,
bit
може
later, but
міньйони
it's got
такі.
multiple
Але
axes
якщо
through which you
локальний,
can
то ну
juice
може ще
the
окей
content that
бути.
you're doing
Типа.
to get, you know, some quite rewarding
Там
voyages.
треба
And
рахувати,
that's
але
kind of meant
може
to be the
бути
one-to-one
варіант,
allegory
де
to
він
that.
нормальний.
Sorry, analog.
Yes, yeah. That was going to be one of my follow-up questions. Is because you have so many like axes to juice things in maps. How do you make sure it's
Ну,
something like
але
this
в
has
цілому
like a
Ебіс,
nice long
да,
tail
мені
to it.
Ебіс
That is
по 2
something you
набагато
can get
прикольніший, його
as invested in.
притягнули,
So
він
this has
прикольніший.
like some nice ways for you to be able to juice
Yeah,
it.
and I
Then.
mean,
На
one of the
відео
other
Касат,
things is
по-моєму,
we
був
have
ріп,
some
ні?
pretty...
Чи що це? Де це?
We have much more
Чи ти про
gradation
це
in the
відео?
level
Я на це відео не
scaling. This
дивився.
is maybe
В
getting
анонсі
too into the
був
weeds,
ріп.
but like the mods that can roll on charts,
Yeah.
there's
Це не
a
Касат.
whole tier of
Це
the
якийсь
highest
Double
tier
Strike.
of rewarding mods that can only show up on
По-моєму.
I-83, I-84 charts.
Oh, okay, cool.
Dual
So
Strike
if you
навіть.
are at the end game, then you get access to like even more
Він з
rewarding,
тухендедом не працює.
both charting and voyaging. And then there's some border mods that can
Ну,
only
тут
roll at
і
the
ще
super high
циферки
levels as
непонятні,
well,
які на
and then,
цьому ставці,
those
на
border
цьому
mods can amplify with the
аксі.
chart mods,
То
can
що
amplify with the adjacency
явно
mods,
там не
can
11,
amplify
я так
with
сказав, мені здається, там
the chart
10-15.
locations, which I'm getting
Я
too into the
думаю.
weeds now because
І
we
так
haven't
само
really
physical
discussed any of
damage,
that, but
який рейндж
I like,
непонятно.
you know, I'm a PoE1 player at heart. I like lots of axes that all
Короче,
intersect and overlap and turn into
якщо це
a
локальні,
crazy
то є варіант,
encounter.
що може норм. Якщо
Yeah.
глобальні,
And
то
when
whatever.
you make something like this that is out of
Що
maps,
це таке?
there is like
Power
I feel
charge
like
and
you guys
crit.
expect and fully kind of know ahead of time that this is going to be more divisive than
Ну,
something
там
that is in
показували
maps
прикольні
typically, right?
варіанти.
Like, is
Цих
this
уніків дуже
something that
деякі.
is for the
Так
players that
що...
are going to love it is
Да.
the way that I view it. It's like some people are going to be
Да.
like, oh, this is my
Ну і
life.
це
now,
поверчержний
like, the
квіт може
people who
бути
just don't
нормальним
have
в
every
витінках
league.
якихось. Я
So,
так розумію, це просто
I
з якихось
imagine
ботинок,
then,
які дають поверчержний квіт,
How does that
притягнули
kind of
сюди,
like
на
shape
ці
the design of
ботинки.
this? Like,
І
I imagine you're like
непонятно,
able
де.
to take more risks or something with it, be a bit more crazy
І
with
можна
it.
на будь-які
Try and
ботинки, я
suit
так
that.
розумію, це притягнути і мати поверчержний квіт.
I wouldn't say necessarily.
Коротше, оця механіка Легіону, це прям ультрапохчамп,
Honestly,
але
the way it
цікаво
generally
буде,
comes
які там
apart is
варіанти
we're just
будуть.
like, that sounds like a cool idea, let's go with it. We don't really even think about the like overall risk and reward. Like we just imagine a lot of like
Fullborn?
we would enjoy it. We
Ну, це не
imagine a lot of people
Fullborn,
would
то, що
enjoy it.
Fullborn
And
заміняв
yes, we
мод, а це просто
definitely
бафає тобі
understand it's
шмот.
going to be more divisive. And
Fullborn
that's why
заміняв
we
мод. Це
make
просто,
sure
а
we
це просто
alternate these types
добавляє
of
мод.
leagues. Or at least we
Ну, але так,
thoroughly
це
try to.
унік, який трошки інший.
And as said,
Legacy
330
of Eldur
will
тільки супер рандом,
be
да.
an
Ну, тут
area
рандом
mechanic,
прям супер-супер
in
рандом,
map.
це правда.
One of the other things that I'm definitely making sure is the case in 330 is there will not be a loading screen to do the league mechanic. I like Mirage, I like All Flame, but they have both now, you know, to go to the hub area for All Flame, you need a loading screen because obviously it's out of map. And then Mirage needed one too, which was
Атлас
unfortunate.
аномалії.
To be clear, charts are fully tradable.
Побачимо, що це таке.
Yep.
You don't have to run them, you just stockpile them.
Ну як, це...
Right, and then go.
Це
you can
як
do
унікальні
days of
мапи,
mapping and then
тільки
go do days of
з
charting.
2026
The
року, а
crafting
не з
system's
2010.
kind of crazy.
Приблизно
powerful.
відчуваються.
You know,
Атлас
like,
аномалії.
Won't be nerfing
you
it.
know, a way that it can be
Divine.
thought about is
Нічого
you
себе.
get
Вейт, там
in
казали
and
тільки
chorus
уніки будуть,
locks.
що за Divine?
Yes.
Кадіро, ладно.
Why do you have to put it like that? You make me nervous.
Because that's what it is.
Кольори.
And you
Да,
know,
вона
so
просто
there is a
quality робить і
very,
все
very
червоне
strong
червоному дає
motivation
10
to do
quality.
it.
Ну, теж
And hopefully people
нормально,
are
10 quality це
like, hell yeah,
прикольно,
it
але
feels
да.
good doing it because of that. But
Що це за
we
фігня?
like to, even when we do out of area,
At least
in
one
this
red,
case, it's
green
not like
and
you
blue
find it, you
socket
have
дає.
to do it. You can find it, you run it later
Цікаво.
at your leisure, right? So you don't have to break
Можна
your
навести.
mapping flow all the time.
Yeah.
Get the chart, move on,
Там на
map,
анонсі
map,
ну,
map, map, and
я
then maybe
видно в
start
чат
the next
дивився
day
той момент,
with,
коли
let me
він
go do a
був.
bunch
Я
of
перших
charts,
3
do a
кліка
bunch of
подивився, там були
right,
тільки
like,
уніки, і хтось сказав, що там
that's
уніки.
fully at your
Мені
leisure,
здалося,
you
що
can,
сказали уніки, ті, хто
That's
говорив.
generally how people
Походу,
play
о,
it. It's
порях,
generally
а
how
що
I
вони
play it.
зробили?
At Alpha, we're seeing the same thing. It's like, you know, you have those people
200
who might
life
want to chart
arena.
as they find them. You might have people who are like, okay, get to end of Act
І плюс
1,
2
do a bunch, you
левела,
know, just
або
on my
200 з
campaign.
того, або 200 того.
And having the freedom to be able to do all of that is
Не
pretty
знаю.
critical for the out of
Ні,
area league.
все
So I'd say.
одно. Хіба що
it
тобі
seems
плюс
like it's
2
very
левела
free
дуже
for you to
сильно
determine
надо.
your flow about how you engage with this. And
Це я
for the
робив
map
білий шло,
blasters
це
then who
момент
maybe
був, да,
like,
але
oh, I
тепер
don't really want to go do the
воно буде
charting and
по-іншому
stuff too
працювати
much.
сокети.
It has
Тепер
something for you
кольори-
in maps as well. Like I think that's easy to
Oh,
miss.
yes.
Тобі ти можеш будь-який
I
гем, куди
mean,
хочеш засунути.
Obviously, the bulk
Кольори,
mechanic
тільки
is
якщо
the
ти
IC
червоний
explosion, but there are
засунеш,
3
дасть тобі
different
10
encounters you
квадів
can
на
find
цей
in
гем.
maps
Ну,
that
чи
are what
зелений,
grind the
зелений.
charts.
Yeah.
And importantly, I wanted each of them to
200
feel
мало бути
like they
потужно
were,
під
you know,
каталістом.
worth engaging with, even if you didn't want the chart. So there's the
Не
cursed treasure
знаю.
chest, which we showed in the live stream, that possesses you with a random tormented spirit
That's
when
fun.
you complete that.
That's a fun one. I like that.
Може, може і мани, я не знаю, скільки мани
There's
на
a
рінгах може
grind
бути,
pirate
але...
one, and when you complete that, you get a
Лайф
buff
точно
that
не
gives you a
1000,
chance for
чесно.
any gold you find for the rest of the instance to be duplicated when it drops. maps. And there's the crab nest. And when you defeat the crab nest,
Ну, шевроні
whenever
він
you
є,
kill
він
rare
дає
and unique monsters for the rest of the
300
instance, you
ЄС
spawn
і
crabs,
70
You
інтелекту.
spawn crabs.
which may not sound
Але він
useful,
робить
but
даунсайди.
it's very good in Beyond maps.
It's a bunch of extra
Чи не
crabs
300,
popping
стоп.
out as you do it. No, I mean,
Чи в
more
мене в
monsters
голові
popping
300,
out of
чи не
monsters
300 дає, я
is
забув.
definitely some people's jam for sure.
Crabs.
Crabs.
Може мені
Lots of
приснилось.
crabs.
Oh man, there's a
70-м
crab
директу
theme
точно
that we're
буде.
going to show hosts in a teaser that I'm really excited for people to see. I'm sorry, I'm just
250
baiting
з
people
капіталістом
by bringing
використати.
that up. It'll be soon.
What's
Окей.
this thing? I gotta make sure to equip
Ну,
the
тобто,
crab
да,
armor set.
для ЄС може і нормально.
No, yes,
Для
for
лайфа
sure.
я
It's
не
gotta
бачу.
be done.
Для мене я не знаю, бо я
there's
мене
lots
не
of pretty
роблю.
cool looking uniques there, but we can leave those for your teasers and stuff
Sure.
because there's some pretty. You're definitely pushing
може комусь
what
плюс 2
uniques
левела
can
надо
be
буде,
in part
не
of
знаю.
Exile, I think a bit, which is exciting to see.
Спелкастер ребаланс.
you
Оце мені
mentioned,
цікаво, коли я
you
побачив,
mentioned
подивитися
this,
почноти, і вже коли все
the
покажуть,
crafting system.
коли всі геми покажуть там на
How
наступному
does the
тижні.
reward structure for
Що там
this
з пилами
mechanic
наробили?
works outside of map
Що вони
simulation,
там
charting
подергали
and
прямо?
voyaging? Do certain charts have like certain reward types? Are you able to target farm specific
І
things?
там дерево
So
подергали,
again, this is another
і
point where I wanted to
саппорти,
make
і
sure that we're on
геми,
the
і все
black
підряд, і
space.
пару
So there's
асендесів.
the Dead Man's Sulfur, which is the coral green.
Вейте, вони
glowing
просто
stuff
добавили
that's in
сюди це?
every single chart and voyage that you
Я
do.
не знаю, цей
And
нодик,
that's the fuel for
він
powering the
непоганий,
crafting
але
system.
такий
And that
специфічний.
is
Він,
fully
по-моєму,
tradable.
треба атакувати, щоб отримати баф.
So that's like the
Для
baseline.
спилив.
This mechanic just rewards this all the time. And then there are special charts.
А,
that
ні,
you
це
can
просто
find that
Battle
lead to
Mage.
special
А, так,
things in the ocean floor
вей,
that
так
can
тепер
give,
ця
any
частина
number
дерева
of, arbitrary
інквізитора
rewards,
достатньо
whatever we
дуже
decide. So
кльова,
there's
чесно кажучи.
one that just has tons of chests of currency, which
А
I'm sure
Battle Mage
people will
дає
like.
якийсь там гігавепон можна мати.
There's one
З
that
критом.
spawns, as you saw in the live stream, a new kind of mercenary that you can only get
Цікаво.
from that room. There's one that leads to the new boss of the league. There's probably a bunch that I'm forgetting. There's a dozen to 2 dozen of those.
Я
at
намагаюсь
least.
згадати, я щось
And
хотів про
we
Battle
do
Mage, забув
have
що.
some that might not make it into the patch, and we would put in a week later if they don't. So there might even be more coming soon after
А,
launch.
в цій лізі румку на Battle Mage, по-моєму,
And then
додали
the
чи
third
минулі.
thing is
Я хотів їх
there's what we
скомбити.
call a scattered object system.
Може,
in the
я
league.
щось з інквізитора
And this
зроблю,
is
побачу.
why I'm personally really excited to play, because it scatters a bunch of predetermined random rewards, like chests of currency, or a chest with a unique, or the message in a
I'm
bottle that
excited
we
to
showed on
play.
the stream that you open, and it just gives you some random valuable unique, or potentially, I think, a
А то я
reflecting
там
mist is what we
краєм
showed.
уха щось чую, але не сильно.
Essences, strong boxes, golden lanterns that
Ну,
give
то
you
що в
permanent
Діда є
rarity
ще
the
інші
rest of the
приколи, крім
instance.
кріта.
Tons
У Діда
of
ще
stuff,
там
you know,
ігнор резисту,
try to get
наприклад, є.
dozens of outcomes in there. And those are just scattered on the ocean floor, and they give you the feeling of
Ну і того,
exploring
що
to try
це
and
може
find
бути набагато
stuff.
більше кріта давати.
They're not, you're not
Типу,
going
умовно,
completely
спалив
blind,
там по
though.
5 кріта в
Every
деяких є.
lantern that you place has a little indicator on it.
У Епона
And that
там
indicator will
12
point
може
towards the
бути
nearest
якогось.
scattered object, nearest reward.
Більше,
you
ніж
might
в 2 рази
want.
більше
So
робить
you
тобі
know where
кріта.
to go to place the next lantern to find a
Плюс
treasure
оці
chest or
нодики
whatever
роблять
it may
теж
be.
крепко кріта. Цей кріта, цей
Something
пенетрейт
different
того.
to say the wild wood where you just go, I'm going that way.
Якісь так
This one
атрибути,
at
я не
least gives you
знаю.
a
Якісь так
guidance to
атрибутів дає
go,
кріта, ти про
I'm
що?
going to find something if I go over here.
Yeah. Now you don't know what the something is necessarily.
Ну,
You know,
але
it
я
could
не
be an essence
знаю,
monster or a
чесно,
strong
ти
box or a chest with a
будь-який
unique in
білд
it,
так
but it will
атрибутів
be
дивишся
something that you would
чогось.
want. It doesn't.
Я взагалі про це не думав,
Technically, there
просто
are
в
also
Сендесі
mines on
пив.
the seafloor that explode when you step on them.
Як
They're
ще й
not very
піртачі що
frequent.
роблять?
The
haven't
lanterns
seen any
don't
of
point
those
at
Що
those.
ще й піртачі роблять?
Okay, you're not getting fully
I
baited
thought
by
that's what
those.
you're getting. I was like, they better not point at those.
Yeah, you're implying there's some sort of reward to get.
No.
Yes, some sort of reward, sweet release.
Де тут кріт? Я щось не знаю.
As again, the comparison to
Ah,
wild
you
wood
saw
there is that it
fantasy,
ensures
boss.
a minimum. You're getting something out of it.
Yeah.
As long as you follow it.
Не знаю.
As opposed to like.
Може, якщо ти там маєш мільярд сили, якоїсь інтелекту, то ти маєш багато кріта і тобі нормально. Ну, але ти можеш не мати ніде кріта тоді. З цим нодиком і цим нодиком.
Yeah, they're really fast.
Навіть в
quite
такому
quick.
випадку.
And so you go in, you find 2-3 chests, and then you rush back out, and you do it again, you do it again, you do it again, and
Ну,
then suddenly
але
an hour,
не всі
2
хочуть
hours, 3
стакати
hours has gone
атрибути.
by.
Yeah, and I very much noted and appreciated that you did the week 1 quality of life patch before release with the auto placing of lanterns if you want. So you can manually place them, or you can just run into the water and it.
That was
Pop
done
ones down.
months ago. That was
Sure,
done well
that's it,
before
yeah.
release.
We're trying to do that though every league. Like always
Yeah.
think, okay, what are people going to ask for on day 1, day 2, day 3, or
30
week 1?
резерва робить.
What do they need? And like, let's.
Але менше
get ahead of
манакоста
it. We
робить.
don't catch everything, but
І більше блока,
you
шанси.
can't do an extent, can
Коли
you?
ти блокаєш, ти
Yes,
робиш
you're getting
бум.
be-
І
you're
скільки воно
definitely getting better
дає
at that,
блока?
though. Has it
20
been a bit tricky to kind of
море.
get
І того, і
the feel
того.
of this, right? Like, so you've got this thing where you're like pushing these lanterns out, and then
Go.
you've got the bubble collapsing
Wait,
thing
так
for the
воно якесь
interaction as well. Like, it seems
дуже
like a
прикольно.
challenging thing to kind of get the feel for that, right?
Але в нього не
Yeah, I mean,
можна.
it's had a lot of
Мене ремар
variation.
завжди 30, воно не
The
зменшується.
collapsing
Цікаво.
part I do want to specify because,
Чи окремо пишено, то що не можна його поміняти, мабуть, я думаю, що да. Що ремар не буде на нього працювати.
The lanterns will never start just randomly collapsing on you. Like,
Yes.
you know
так це
when they
ти
are
можеш
going
йому
to begin to
супорти
collapse, because they
вставити,
only
і воно
begin
не
to
буде
collapse after you
мультиплеєр.
place
Типу,
your
ти можеш
last
супорти на
lantern.
демедж
Yeah,
йому
it's not
вставити,
like
щоб
Flash
хвиля
and
більше
Delta.
демеджа
So you
робила,
have-
і воно не буде більше
You know, you
резервити.
have infinite time to explore the areas that you've placed lanterns in.
Яке
Until you
злиття?
place your last one, and
Тебе
then you have to
злиття
get back to the
прогрівають, я не знаю, про що
Yeah,
ти говориш.
it's not really like a
Play
rush
1 і
clear
Play 2
speeding
будуть
mechanic,
окремими
ultimately. You can-
іграми
you can do
і
it
ще
fast.
років
You
10,
can go
мабуть.
fast, but it's not like
Like I said, people on Alpha
А потім
generally are doing
закриються.
a chart in like a minute or
Yeah.
less.
Або світ
Pretty
закінчиться.
forgiving.
Yeah.
Like, which it kind of has to be, right? Like, if it is,
В чому сенс? Ну, щоб
if it's
тебе ударили,
overwhelming for
огрібли, всі
any
здохли.
of us,
Все.
we've probably got the balance wrong.
Щоб можна було
Because someone's
супортувати.
going to come into the game and just be like, I don't know what to
Ні,
do.
я не
Like,
кажу, що це буде
it is a
офігенний
thing
білд,
where,
офігенний скіл, але це, типу, я
you know,
думаю,
rewatching
логіка
the
така
live
була.
stream, I'm like, oh,
Тобто
yeah,
я
I
не
can
знаю,
see
чи це
people
буде
being
сильно.
worried about just
Я думаю,
drowning
це
all the
логіка, яка була,
time, and-
чого сказали, щоб 30 було
Drowning is
ремара.
not meant to be a significant part of the mechanic.
Я не думаю, що це буде прям ОП, чи дуже сильно, і це треба геми знайти для нього, щоб, ну, гем-слоти супортити кнуть, і це все. Але таке. Ну, в будь-якому випадку це сильний баф, навіть якщо він 30 ремара стоїть, навіть після, якщо мінус мана кост, мінус ремар на дереві ти робиш.
Are being like playing real dangerous.
Когда теж не зменшується, я щось не
you know,
читав.
trying to go out far into the water to try and get a chest or something, which is part of
Да,
why
там окремий вордінг
we
на КДР,
have those
типу.
lanterns pointing at things, so you know where to place the lantern to get the chest in order so you
Коротше,
don't have
я
to
не
be
знаю,
trying
може
to do,
монастакери
like,
будуть цим скілом
really
багато
dangerous
демеджа
stuff
робити,
by
інші
going
просто
out into the
будуть
water
це,
the whole time.
просто як баф непоганий.
You'd have to have a serious panic, which
А може
to
і
drown
погано.
is what
Виглядає
my perception-
непогано.
Like when I'm like,
Побачимо.
how would someone drown to this? But it will happen, I'm sure. But I think you'd have to be having a little miniature crisis in order to have that happen, I'd say.
Демедж
I feel like
овертайс.
you'll do it once and then you'll learn from it. But if you're a hardcore player,
Yeah,
I
I
guess
only
you'll lose
drowned
one character and then
I only
Які тобі
drowned once,
цифри?
and I
Тут
was
всі
like,
цифри,
oh,
які
that
надо
was
вже
kind of-
є.
that was a bit silly.
Вона
Don't do
наносить
that
демеджа
again.
35 від твоєї
It
мани.
seems like something to learn from. There seems like there could be a bit of a risk of
Мені здається,
backtracking
тут
with
ніякого
this.
іншого
Like,
демеджа
people
немає.
don't really, enjoy long backtracking.
Ну, може з левелом скелиться, там може буде 50
But I
якось
noticed
від
with the
твоєї мани
charts, you can
демеджа.
you're
Сики.
kind of a lot of the time you're placing your things in a circle, so you're not really
Ну,
backtracking
кажу,
so
що
much.
монастакери
You end
можуть
up where you
робити бум.
started anyway, but with the voyages, there
Але
might be
я
some
не думаю, що
backtracking or
прям
maybe
буде
not,
гіга-бум-бум.
depending.
So
Але може.
I
Ну,
don't
в
want
будь-якому
to
випадку, я
sound
кажу, це як
like
просто
I'm
баф мені
overemphasizing
виглядає
this too
навіть
much.
непогано.
But the charts
Навіть якщо
are
30
quite
мани він буде
small.
резервити.
Like by the time you've placed all,
Power
you get 7 lanterns once you
3,
upgrade your lantern count.
Cooldown
By the time you
4
placed all 7
секунди.
lanterns, you are maybe a couple screens away from where you started. Maybe
Yeah.
a little bit further than that if you go out in a full straight line. So the charts are meant to be like really bite-sized
Damage,
encounters. So like there is
duration,
technically a small amount of
buffers.
backtracking there, but that is with monsters spawning as you're going
Mushroom
back, and it's
maybe
a couple
second.
screens.
There's a big difference between combatless backtracking and just
Stay.
Yeah,
Sure.
you're fighting monsters as the bubbles are collapsing around you. It's like
Yes.
it's an actual kind of exciting gameplay thing, and it's not even necessarily always the case. I noticed because in the voyage sometimes you're extracting basically where you are as you're leaving.
Yeah, so the voyages, they're built out of 9 different charts that you kind of stitch together, and each of them at their center has a place where you
Щось
can
такому
leave.
є досі.
So you'll never have to, you don't have to backtrack to where you started in a voyage. That would be insane and terrible. You get to leave at
Якраз
each
саме
of
ж
these
овертайм,
individual
і
chart
вони
locations, and
тайкають
like I said, the charts
сорси.
are relatively bite-sized, so that means you're never really more than, say, a screen and a half distance away from a place
Можна
where you
якось
could leave
подивитися.
when you want to go.
Yeah.
Інкрес 25 демедж
Awesome.
стейки не роблять.
So this all flame crafting, how did you arrive at giving players like
I don't
4
know.
Hinokora locks per craft as your crafting system for this league?
Well, actually, originally it was going to be similar.
Тут
I want
40
to say
море,
similar
там
to
25
Harvest.
інкрес
I don't
демедж
want players to
стейки.
interpret that as like, you know, similar in power level.
Може
It
бути
may or may
цікаво,
not
тобто
be.
багато демеджу. Питання в тому,
But I
як
mean
воно буде
similar
відчуватися, воно ж тебе
as in
дебафує.
list of
Наскільки тобі
specific
дебаф буде
bespoke crafts
противний.
that you can do for list of specific costs of that craft.
Yeah.
But the problem with that is it was just too similar to things we've done in the past. You
Yeah.
know,
Watching.
it is essentially
exactly.
Harvest, but wet. And that's not. We had actually gotten relatively far along in the development of that, and I was just like, this is lame. we shouldn't do the same thing
Коротше,
again.
це поки непонятно, але
and so,
нові спелкастери скіли саме, але
the-
самі реворки,
actually,
оце
the
спелкастери, і
idea
те,
for
що
the
вони там
all-flame
говорили, що там
crafting splitting into
лайтінг
different
скіли будуть
forms came from the
каспіда
fact
мать
that
багато,
originally,
там якісь
we
фізикал
were
скіли
using the
крита
terms
мать
all-flame
багато,
and
а
ghost
якісь
flame kind
інші
of
щось інше, наверно, багато.
in development, and
Цікаво, що там буде,
ghost
плюс пасівки
stuff
поміняли,
gave me the
плюс
idea of what if you
супорти,
split
плюс
into
самі
multiple
геми,
ghostly
плюс
versions of the
асендеси,
item,
оце
and
мені
what would that
цікаво,
mean?
спелкастери баланс.
Okay, all
So it
right.
kind of came theme first, mechanic second.
It's thematically real cool.
Ну і
Yeah, I remember when you
Легіон,
came
Ебіс
to me
мені
and you're like,
цікаво.
yeah, this crafting
Сама
system
Ліга
sucks,
теж
we need a
прикольно
new one,
достатньо
and then you
виглядає,
had a pitch,
але
and I was like,
побачимо, як
this
воно
is a
буде
good
відчуватися
thing.
з цими
Like,
Yeah.
some people get
підводними
very caught
приколами,
up in their
бектреками
original
і усім
designs
цим.
and just try and see it through no matter what, and you just get,
Мерки, ну, мерки.
you go
Буде
down into
зайвий
a
там
vortex
якийсь
of
недорого
evil,
Exile на
and
карті.
you're like, oh, loss aversion kicks in,
Інколи.
and like, to be able to, as a designer, to be able to just be like, nah, gone, starting again, even if you're like
Лайт
3
скіли
quarters
багато
into the
каспіда,
cycle, if
да,
that's
це
what's
буде
best,
нервкока і
that's what's
достатньо
best,
сильний
and
лайтінгового
most
кого
people fail
особливо.
at being able to do this,
То,
so it's
що
like
Nice.
a very,
вони
when
зробили,
you
що
came to me
лайтінг
for
скіли
that, I
мають
was like,
більше атак каспіда
wow, okay, this is
і
cool.
більше
I'm happy.
I
манакосту.
did feel bad telling our lead
При цьому
programmer
ще й-
for the league, Jeremy, that oh, you're,
Ти прям мана буде
we're
витікати
actually
туди
going to be
моментально.
changing it. Though a good amount of the infrastructure was able to be kept because it is still UI-wise very similar, where you like put in
Sure,
item,
да.
click craft to go. It just
Ну, можна якийсь
changed to now
фізикал
you also
скіл
put in a
взяти і
currency
сконвертити його в
with the item
лайтінг,
that you
якщо
want
ти
to use it
все-таки
on,
Даріані хочеш
or
бути.
use on it.
So the
Вона і так
main part
витікала,
of
а
it is
буде ще
this
сильніше.
splitting so
Можна
that
ще
you can
сконвертитися в
use
лайтінг, якщо що.
an exalt or something and then see like, 3 or 4 different
Там якийсь
potentials
ріп
for
чи що, я не
that.
знаю,
And
взяти, і
then
тоді
choose
мана
your
не буде
best one,
витікати.
and that's obviously very
Я
powerful,
думаю,
especially for some of the
може
bigger
зробити
crafts.
кок-ріп, оцей новий ріп,
The
який.
intangibility system
Пробувати.
is kind of
це
the
десь
counterpoint to that,
всередині
like
ліги.
some sort of limitation on that. How does that work exactly?
Yeah, so not every single crafting step, but many of the crafting steps you can do, for example, in Exalt, will add some amount of what we call intangibility to an item. And it's just a value that will be shown on the item and ticks up.
одна
And
штука, яку
the
треба.
intangibility in the
Прошу.
item is equal to a
Проконверт.
chance when
Таке ж
you
не складно,
do
ні?
another all-flame craft on that item for it to only have one
Там на
result,
голову
which
всіх
effectively
модується.
means you just did the craft with no extra
І на
bonus.
дереві пару.
So
Два нодика.
basically, what it boils down to
Ну, не два
is
нодика,
the more you
а
all
там
flame
якісь
craft on one
мастері.
specific base, one specific item, the more and more difficult it
Ну, на
becomes to
старті
continue
це
to all
складно,
flame
але
craft on that
так,
item.
так, це складно, в принципі.
There are some ways
Простіше
around this
пофлікать,
that
можливо.
clever people
Дивись.
in QA and Alpha have found. That,
Я просто кажу, що
things like
якби я
recombination,
хотів робити
because
кок
if
до
you take the mod
Ріані,
you're trying to
то я
chase
робив
on
би
the base
фіз
that has high
конвертайтінг, щось,
intangibility, and
наверное,
you put it
якийсь.
onto a new base that doesn't have that intangibility, now you can keep going, but there's some risk in that at least. And then, Awakener's orbs do a similar thing where it's, creating an entirely new base as the output. And there's also a Ducat, which is the new currencies that we've added that interact only with all flame crafting, that has a 50% chance to remove all your intangibility and a 50% chance to destroy your item.
Gotta have it. Got it.
Gambling is fun.
Yeah. I guess on that note, the gambling side of things, it seems like the Varlorb won't work with this.
No, it does not.
What's the reason for that?
Почнути? Ну
it's
да,
both a
почнути
case of
цікаво.
balance,
Я
because
не
it's one
знаю,
of
що
the
вони
ones
з
that would
скілами
be
зробили. Я
most
запам'ятав
insanely
фізикал,
strong.
що
We've
вони
tried to
будуть
limit it as little
критувати
as possible.
сильно,
I would
але
say
типу демедж буде менше в
95%,
них, але
maybe
критувати
even
буде,
98%.
великий
I
крит
don't know
буде,
the exact
шанс.
numbers. Something like that.
Базовий.
High 90% of
А
currencies
лайтінги
work with
будуть
this.
мати більше каспіда, але більше манакосту.
But also for me,
Що з
I
Колбом і
understand this is
Фаєром
very
робили, я не
subjective. Some
знаю,
people
чи
may
робили
disagree with
щось.
this take. For me, it's a theme thing as well. Like, I really don't like this super special Vol magic
Yeah.
just kind of working with weird ghost magic that doesn't hew together well in my mind, but that is very much me alone
Якій
who
школі?
is holding that
Якій
subjective take.
школі?
Even just taking that whole random unpredictability and
школі.
turning it into
Я понял.
like
Fire Call
for
Light.
normal mod like exalting, for example, sure,
yes,
there's going to
я
be some
понял.
good outcomes, but for the fact that you can take that whole risk out of the Varlorb,
Yep.
or like most of
Да,
it.
ну, це для Фаєра було б
yeah, it's
логічно,
honestly
типу,
just
що
a
один
bit
великий бум і для
demeaning.
Ігнайта
Like,
кльово,
you-
але заодно і для Кока
Tell you
кльово.
what, you would never use a Varlorb
Oh, for sure.
aside from this way.
Yes. yeah.
With this being the case. So that in itself is kind of bad. Now, however,
Колбу
I was
непонятно, що було
like,
б.
if we had time, which we didn't, I was like, have it do something else. You put it in here and the two magics collide and who knows
You
what
cross
happens.
the beams.
The Varlorb just says it modifies
Ну, але
unpredictably,
да,
so
почнути
you know,
цікаво
he
буде
won't be
почитати.
lying if it did
Ну, але
something
ж почнути
unpredictable
прям
in some
гемів
other different way,
детальних,
but
я не впевнений,
that
чи
was,
буде.
you know,
Ну, в принципі,
hopes too
зміни
high
до
kind of
гему мають бути,
situation. It's too
серед нових не
difficult.
буде,
One
скоріше за
other,
все.
I know this
Буде
isn't
цікаво подивитися.
pertaining to a specific question you asked, but one other thing I want to make sure is getting across, because it was too in the weeds to go into in the live stream, is it is performing that craft on the original item X number of times, which means the outputs are independent of one another. So if I have an amulet that I'm trying to annul, for instance, I could have each output, it's unlikely, but each output could annul the same mod. Like the outputs do not care about one another.
Right,
So
yeah.
in theory, with an exalt, you could exalt the same mod on all the outputs. That's stupid unlikely, but it could happen.
So if that happens, don't add us. It's not broken.
That is how it is meant to work. It is doing the crafting step of the currency item on the original
Yeah, it
item
doesn't-
X number of
It
times.
doesn't mod block itself
Yeah.
effectively.
yeah, that makes sense for sure.
Окей. Що я бачив, да, там коли сплітили шмотку,
the main part of
засплітили
this
неї
is like
в однакові
splitting
моди
into separate
пару.
things, but there is
Коли цим
some
крафтингом
unique
новим.
stuff to it as well that can occur to items. Like
Well, that's mostly the Ducats.
Всунули
Which
там
you can
фіз
kinda
демедж,
just
фіз
think about
демедж
each
і
of them
атак
as
спід,
a
і
new
отримали
bespoke
2 рази
individual
атак спід, і
currency.
великого
There's
фіз
the
демеджа
one
не
just
було
like
взагалі
this-
результату.
Yeah, there's the one that's like you take an item with an attribute roll and turn it into another attribute roll. You know, strength becomes int or whatever. So those are basically, we had a bunch of ideas for the original Harvest-esque version of the system, and some of them had been implemented and some of them were just cool ideas, and it's like, where can we keep that? Okay, we just make new currencies that drop from the League mechanic that work
Nice.
with all flame crafting.
nice, there you go. Transported them over.
Почнути після
there's
того,
a
як вони
question from chat
договорять
about
будуть, це через
reflecting
пару
this to the
годин,
new crafting
навірно.
system. I imagine that'd be like Valor,
Завжди
wouldn't it?
після
That wouldn't
Q&A
work,
йде.
but
Ну, і вони говорять будуть
Anything-
ще
that's
годину чи
actually
2,
one of the-
чи 3,
one of the
як
few
піде.
limitations. Anything
Минулий
that
раз,
outputs
по-моєму,
more
3
than one
години з
output
половиною
does not work
говорили.
with all flame crafting because it simply can't.
because it would
Yeah,
you did
there's
like
nowhere to put
Так
them.
що
You need
я
like a bunch
зараз
of two
посидим,
items.
поки
Yeah,
посидиться, да і піду
You'd have
спадки.
inventories all over your
Завтра вже встану, да і будемо
You put
читати.
a mirror of Calandra in, and then you only get one item back. So
okay.
Technically, this is not something that anyone should do, but technically a scouring orb works
Why?
if you want.
if you want, I guess. So I'm gonna do that.
Sure.
Why not?
Send some sulfur for just throw away sulfur because you're
Yep.
rich.
That
Just
base
burning
type,
money.
that's exactly the same as that base type. Look, no, this one looks better than those ones.
Yeah,
gonna
so I think I'm going to
say.
take number 3. Maybe. Can I have any one of those you want as long as it's scoured. A side note, thanks for the attribute swap mechanic as well. Like I saw the
хотів
recap for that
подивитися
that
в
swaps
анонсі,
attributes.
забув, що.
One of my favorites is the resistance swap. But just like fantastic addition for like gear puzzle solving and for making it easy to like swap your gear with stuff you find as well. Like there's a lot less gear lock-in with the resistance swap, and I think attributes will help that too. I
немає
kind of wonder if there's
цього?
like other things like
Сторінки?
this that might exist. I can't think of any, but
Де
Isn't there in PoE 2 something that allows you?
контент
Maybe
ревіл,
I'm wrong and this didn't make it in.
піднявся на
which-
3 секунди.
In that case,
Боже,
I'm
мене
sorry.
тут це ще відкрито.
But something that allows you to swap like cold damage on a weapon to being fire damage.
Yeah.
yeah, there
So
is.
that would be the one other case. That's not quite the same though, because that is
Yeah,
more
yeah.
changing the identity of a build than it is just
Yeah.
solving a problem in a build.
Yeah, I kind of view the attributes and resistance as that problem-solving sort of thing.
Хай,
So
але
the attribute
хотів
one is
дещо
actually
глянуть.
slightly more interesting because what it
Yeah.
allows you is
Ось,
if you have a
я
strength
забув,
body
що.
type, then you can swap it to dexterity or intelligence, which is like
вони
technically
тут
something
говорили?
you can't actually do.
See, I
Що
would
вони
have
тут
expected
показували?
it to obey the rules still, where it like
Oh, no.
can't do that, but you can actually just swap them to any.
Nah, it's the all flame.
It's like old
Yeah,
recombinators.
the Flame doesn't care about
No
the rules.
rules. Aside from
Except except the rules that it has.
Except for Valor.
да.
Yeah.
I guess the one caveat is that it doesn't work with hybrid attribute rolls. So it won't do anything with all attributes because there's nothing to swap it to, and it won't do anything with things like that give plus 10 strength and dexterity.
Тут
It only works
порозказували,
with,
що
you know,
робиться.
giving one attribute, turning into giving one of a different type.
Yeah. So let's change topics a little bit here to Mirage, which was
Mechanical.
announced to not be going core in 3.2.9. But is it something that you'd like to go core in the future? I don't know if you already announced anything about that.
Short answer is yes.
Yeah.
You seemed pretty keen when I was talking
Вони
about it.
хочуть
almost
Міраж
always
в кор
let a
потім
league
колись
simmer.
добавить.
There's a few reasons for that. We like to have our. This is a more production internal thing, but we like to have our live realm be as close as possible to our internal realm,
Yep.
right? And so if we've, let's say, let's say we're having to make fixes to the live realm, we have to be open to be able to make fixes to the live realm. So if all of a sudden we've redone the code base to not be a league and instead it's now core, we've made all these changes and everything, the capacity for us to then fix things on live becomes significantly harder.
So, yeah.
So that's like the
Коротше,
production. So
хочуть
that would,
Міраж добавить
generally that
колись
doesn't matter in the latter
в
2
кор,
months of a
колись
cycle, but in
буде.
the first 2 months it would be like, we don't really want to do that, otherwise we don't have the capacity to respond to things going wrong on live. It's safe to say after 2 months, not as much goes wrong. But then you've only got 2 months to now do all the changes on top of the fact we've got this to prepare, we've got all the other content coming in. So like adding that in itself just causes some problems for us where we're like, oh, now we have to, how can we figure out how we can make these changes and get them on live without having what we are committing to internally be even close to what's on live? And so that's a more like, it's something maybe the players don't really often think about because it's really a problem exclusive to us internally. But yeah, like the league worked. I think the other problem you were mentioning as well, I heard you bring out, was like the fact that it's multiplicative with everything and affects every league. It's like, are we going to sign ourselves up for the maintenance here? You know, similar, like Reliquarian, but more.
I guess I do want that maintenance. I want Mirage in the game.
Nice.
But I want to do it in a way, I want to make sure that we have assessed it so that it's done in the way that is the least hampering to future development of leagues. Because if every league going forward that appears in maps needs to interact with Mirage, which it will need to because it'll feel lame if it doesn't, then we need to make 100% sure that however we're implementing Mirage now doesn't, continue to pester us and bite us in the ass for the next, 15 leagues that we make. So I think it's very important that we, carefully take the time with its implementation.
There's even the question of should the active league get manipulated by Mirage, or will that make Mirage feel 100% mandatory because the active leagues in every area, and so you're kind of like, it's getting into that realm of like when we had passives for the active league on the tree and they felt mandatory because it was always there, and it's like, oh, gotta be careful with that. So probably not, unless you can do it in a way that's flavorful and not necessarily rewarding. But it will come. There's some decisions we need to make and time to do it, of course. That's always the main constraint, time.
There is another question of if Mirage is even like an investable mechanic on your Atlas tree. Like you could implement it similar to like the Asmeri Forest, where it's just something that randomly appears in your maps, and then
it almost sounds like that might be a better idea for this one, because like it's really good news that it's going core. People seem to really like Mirage quite a lot, but it is one of those things that it seems like it has a danger of becoming like there's an issue in PvP at the moment with like cities feel like they're mandatory. Like you have to have like if you're going to do your juice content, you've got to do it in this thing because it's so much stronger. So I can see the same thing being with Mirage. It's like, you're crazy to not do that, and then it becomes another tier 17
Можна на якийсь смішний чест приліпити 20 екстра фаєрів, не екстра, 20 тейкен як фаєр.
I feel like the Asmeri Forest sort of avoids that problem because you don't know about it, and if you're investing lots of like very expensive scarabs into it, then it's not like you're going to just keep fishing maps until you find it.
It's just it's just a super exciting win.
Глоуси, там вони показали, що і пертачі вилізли глоуси ці, Малігари. І цей мод, це з честу.
Yes, and that was my follow-up questions, is like, with that not going core just yet, maybe in the future, in the meantime, there's a few things that people are pretty excited about. We'll start with Screams of Desiccated then.
So, the uniques will not be going core just yet.
Я про це не думав, але має бути цікаво, що теоретично може бути цей унікальний інший пояс разом з модом Headhunter чи не правда.
Earlier this week, I added Atlas passive support to Heist for the blueprints that have the special implicits. Guarantee certain rewards at the end of
Імплісити блюпринти будуть все-таки в корах грі, і симплекси будуть дешеві відносно. І далі. Ну, і ці хелікали, і вся фігня.
I wouldn't want to just
Персик з модом Headhunter, чи меч влади. Чи Headhunter з модом меч влади.
And I feel like if Mirage goes core, we will probably keep Volatile Valobs as Sanctum exclusive
небагато, але думаю буде.
The other one that we moved was the Crystallized Rancor. That was the one that enabled all the new Dominion Harvestcraft.
Кеннет Фрозен ботинки. Вейт, Кеннет Фрозен ботинки є. Чи це рінг сюди перенесло?
You get a boss in one of those, they always drop the Crystallized Rancor.
Nice, cool. And this is
What? Які інкрез-ефекти, про що? У меч владу немає інкрез-ефекту, це не та гра.
We are doing more and more and more of that, and people, you can see that with like Legion and stuff like that. So, by the way, and we have a goal there, which is ultimately two things, one of which is certainly more ambitious. But the idea would be that every single league that you can invest into, as opposed to ones that exclusively randomly spawn necessarily, every single league you invest into has exclusive rewards. That is goal one. Goal two is every single league you can invest into on the Atlas in particular has a pinnacle boss. And that's the way more ambitious. We will see if, like, so going there with Abyss now, as an example, and
Якщо з
the
тих
idea
червоних
that
десь, ну ти програв, все.
eventually we will add more
Співчуваю,
and more
так
and
і
more and
є.
more.
Так
of
само
them.
Headhunter ти можеш засунути і
That
отримати
one, of course,
50
is
Dexterity.
significantly more
Підозрюю.
difficult to achieve. So
А
I
може
wouldn't
вони вручну
expect, I would
перебрали
expect
моди,
more
які
leagues
ти
to get
можеш
exclusive
засовувати, ні.
rewards, and I
Я не
would
знаю,
expect
який буде результат давати.
less
І
leagues to
тільки,
get
типу,
bosses
якісь
in
смішні.
the short term, but
Може.
eventually that would be the
Yeah.
ideal goal.
А може і ні.
Some already have
Хто
them.
його знає.
Some.
Я не можу
And by the way, I
згадати Canon
wouldn't
Bifrozen
consider
ботинок.
B
Мене це
series
напрягає.
4
Ти
spirit
пам'ятаєш Canon
beasts up
Bifrozen
pinnacle
ботинок?
boss. Like they're just some animals that are ghosts. Like it's not, you know, because it's too dated, it's too old.
I mean, there's
Awesome.
even some more recent leagues that don't quite live up to that. I
Awesome.
would love to explore what a Mercenaries of Charthus pinnacle boss means.
А, ось це
No
ласка.
promises anytime soon,
Це-
but just
то це
personally, I
виглядає,
would
да,
love to
що
see what
будто
that
з-
even is.
Yeah.
З ботинків робляться
I-
ботинки тільки. Тоді. 50 спел
Look
демеджа.
forward to seeing what those are. Refracting
50?
Fog is getting asked about
50 я
from
не
Mirage as well.
пам'ятаю, я
Is that
знаю,
something
100
that's
спел
going
демеджа в
forward
голосі. Ладно.
Unless you did something along those lines, Andrew, I don't think so.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure all of the other
No,
Mirage
so,
exclusive currency is
Цей
falling
Перташі,
off for a league, so
приліпили
the
свій мод
refracting
на
frog and all the coins
Малігари.
of power, those type of things.
There's a waiting until kind of Mirage goes core.
Yep, and we'll
Maybe socket
reevaluate then
might
if we want to
hold.
keep them in Mirage, keep them in the game, or
Якщо я
move
не
them
певний,
somewhere
чи це
I know
хорошо,
we
бо
had a
там
bit of a
зазвичай
track
аури
record of
стоять,
saying
і
things will go
іменвайтинг
core, and then
хочеться.
they, you know,
Так,
we
воно
got-
бере мод з
now-
того, що ти
now we've got
пхаєш, а
Mirage
тобі
on the
вертає
list, we've got
рандомний
Harbinger on
унік.
the list, then the others
Тобто
that
ти не
are-
можеш,
we had
який
Mercenaries
тобі
on the
унік
list.
вернеться.
Coda,
Але
maybe?
ти засовуєш мейджблад, і буде рандомний пояс
But
з
the
мейджбладовським
idea is,
модом.
you know, we were like, okay, we're getting too many things that we're saying we will eventually do. Let's actually
Але
try
який
and do
мод
some of them.
мейджблада, я
And
не
then
знаю,
we're
чи там буде,
okay,
чи всі
Mercenaries is the
будь-які,
one,
там,
so
чи
that
може резіст
at least
тут.
we're getting that done. I want people to be reassured that we're not just building up an eternal list of stuff we're never bringing back. And I will at least say we are actively working on Harbinger, right? I
О,
don't want
нічого
people to
сі.
think
Вони
that's,
про Харбінцер
that's
щось там
ignored. So
згадали. Ну ладно,
before everyone, I don't know why that would come up again, but
прикол.
just saying.
Каламрут
These things
з
are
Stampede
coming. We're
модом.
not just doing a soon TM situation.
Цікаво.
You touched on Abyss as well, and so that's getting a pretty major rework.
Аніотач на фейсбрейкерах, це, звісно, теж цікаво.
But something that you
По-своєму.
touched on was that rewards are PoE1
не
structured,
сильно,
though,
але
like they're not
цікаво,
being
смішно.
copied over from PoE2.
Yes
Breed
and
explode.
no. So abyssal sockets, Stygian vises, abyssal jewels, those also
всього
exist and
5%.
exclusively come from Abyss.
Great.
However, the chests that spawn at the, like, rise up out of the ground when
Right,
Abyss
yeah.
is complete, those are more
Так, це їх
varied.
звати.
So it's no longer just
I
like,
am
here's a rare
Ophelia.
chest that drops stuff.
Тоже
It's, you know,
5%,
it's
там
a
10,
currency
ладно.
chest or a scarab chest or a, you know, weapon
короче,
chest or an armor
explode
chest
є.
or a jewelry chest. Like it's more
Брід.
defined each time. So you
Ну,
get,
якісь
and that's just
рандомні голоси можна
better, to be
приліпити.
honest. Like that's having the more defined rewards gives you
Character
those moments of,
Soul,
oh, I
це
got a scarab chest.
якісь
And
валовські
even when it isn't the
кінодики,
case,
я
you
не
know, maybe when you're
пам'ятаю.
leveling, you might
З маху ксотки забрало.
X6 or something, be excited
це
to see a weapon
Сваріна
chest when
забрало.
your weapon is kind of crappy.
And did I hear there's like a bunch of new uniques with this as well?
There are
Halsokets,
6
один
and
кіт.
a 7th that people can find.
Some
Та й як його?
secrets.
I think
So wait, the six can't
Бричевский.
be found?
No, a 7th that people can uncover how to get. Let's put it that way.
And just to be clear, I realize this is a little bit confusing in hindsight. There is a new pinnacle boss. There are still the liches.
Yep.
They are
Okay.
still there. And they still
Oh.
have their drops, so it is entirely new pinnacle means new uniques,
Талісмани
which,
прикольніші стали. Тобто, да, це
mysterious one.
And the
як
delve,
це?
this is maybe a little
Secret
hyper,
one, eh?
Коротше,
specific, but the
бореться
delve abyssal
за
city
слот з
still has the old abyss monsters if you're feeling nostalgic.
Аноїнтом, то це не ОП, але будуть
Guess
варіанти, де ти
there's-
будеш юзати талісмани, а
I
будуть
did
варіанти,
feel
де
that
буде
vibe a
аноїнт.
little bit at one point there.
Ну, я думаю, більше
That's nice
аноїнтів
to
буде,
hear.
але...
People are a bit worried about things like
They need
invulnerable
to do
snakes
it.
and weird smoke cloud mechanics coming over as well with this change. That's kind of that's the potential downside of what is like otherwise a very exciting thing. Is that going to be the case here?
I arguably spent too much time, not arguably, definitively spent too much time on
Our
the
chef.
abyssal monsters as we ported them back, giving most of them new skills
Yep.
entirely. Like
Okay, yeah. It's
I just really like making monster skills, and you know, I was like, hey,
Що тут
this,
ще
I
було?
can do this quick because it's done in, you know, banging this
Ah,
out in
super
2-3 weeks.
cool.
It was not 2-3 weeks.
He came
But-
to me. You came to me one day, and you're like, "I've made a mistake. I've spent too long on the abyss monsters." I'm like, "Okay, wrap it up. Stop. Move on." Right? Like, what can we do?
But they do have new skills. So,
Great.
you know, there's no breakdancing invulnerable snake woman, which is
Да,
the
два
sentence that I get to
паверміровані.
say as part of my
Ну,
job.
це ж енчант,
and
це як аноїнт. Я не думаю, що він
You
буде
know,
мірувати.
but, you know, now you
Я
get
не
to learn
думаю,
what
що
the new
він
skills are.
буде
that,
рефлектити.
the abyssal monsters will have for you in PoE1.
That's excellent
може.
news.
Не
And
знаю.
that's making the games more distinct while like taking some of the good stuff from PoE2, but keeping PoE1 its own thing. That's really cool.
That was kind of the original impetus. That, and I do personally like working on monster skills, but
Деякі аноїнти
I
звучать прикольно. Ну, PowerCharge
personally
стакером,
very strongly
PowerCharge
feel
зайвий,
that
це завжди
when we're
топовий
taking from PoE2,
буде.
which is a thing we should definitely
Ти
do.
просто
If we
будеш
don't,
кликати
then we're not
всі
going to have the
PowerCharge на
resources to
дереві,
deliver big
аноїнт
enough, cool
і
enough
мать
leagues.
цю хрінь.
We should do
Yeah, why
as
wouldn't
much as
you?
we can to make it feel distinct in PoE1.
So you might see a monster that looks
Item socket
familiar,
і все
but,
ще реворд.
it's going to do
Cool,
all
да.
different things.
Oh, yeah.
That's exciting.
Reuse the art, adjust the game design is generally the philosophy
Cool,
there,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, why wouldn't you? That makes perfect sense. Absolutely. So another I was kind of surprised about just how much stuff was going on in this, because you also have a Legion kind of set of improvements as
Ну,
well.
да, тобто, я не здивуюся, якщо в ендгеймі Сімплик буде краще, скоріш за все, ніж цей будь-який амулет, особливо якщо брати рефлектед Сімплекс. Це взагалі. Але навіть не рефлектед, але просто талісмани були 99,9% useless. А стали
Well, to
юзабельні.
clarify
Просто
first,
хай там задівання
there's 5
амулет
different
якийсь буде
crystals that can
інколи.
drop.
Юзабельний
Each of
амулет.
them is associated with one of the Legion factions.
Я не кажу, що в
for
ендгеймі це
example,
буде.
The Mariketh faction drops
вони
one that
будуть
allows you to
прям
enshroud
сильно
your
в
unique
ендгеймі.
body armor items.
Okay.
Я думаю, Сімплик буде все ще
it's
краще.
only armors. You can't do it on jewelry, you can't do it on
Може, ні.
weapons, so you have
думаю,
shields
да.
and gloves and helmets and boots as well.
Yeah.
But you can enshroud any unique armor in the game that isn't corrupted, I don't think. So you can take boss uniques, like
You can't create boss uniques.
no, you can't create boss
No,
uniques.
yeah, that
You
would
go
be-
from
consume
boss
boss
unique.
Yeah,
not
you
to
wouldn't
unique.
want
Take
Вони
a
там про
mod
босс
from a
уніки
boss unique,
говорять.
and
Ну, не
it
про
can,
босс,
it's
про уніки
effectively
оце
like you apply an agent
перетворення.
orb to the item. So
Yeah.
it will randomly transform into a new core droppable unique, like a lightning coil or something.
That's so cool.
And the implicit will be the boss unique.
That's so cool.
Or one of the mods, yeah.
And that is an implicit, so it competes with like Varl orbing.
Yeah.
This is an alternative to Varl orbing.
Holy shit.
I might be jumping ahead here, but I will say,
Avoid
well,
Force.
I'll say at the moment we've done a big pass on Val implicits. So Val implicits also are much stronger than before.
О, вал,
We
імплісити ще більше
we
стало.
will explore that a little
Yeah.
bit in
Але-
crafting
So-
for sure.
It's not entirely super duper power creep, but you'll
700
definitely there'll be some
екстра
combinations of
вепон
these
демеджа
unique items
перенести
that
на
you'll be
рандомний
really
слот
looking for.
унікальний.
Cool.
Нормальний.
Don't worry. We'll
Є
touch on that
рандомний
in a bit.
унікальний
The
нормальний
balance
слот.
of the vestigial uniques, the balance is
Та мені здається, на будь-який
not
перенести це вже буде нормально.
1-to-1, right? It's
Where we can keep it 1-to-1.
oh yeah, of course.
We try to keep it 1-to-1, but for example, something like Comb's Heart,
Right.
we aren't sending 1,000 life across to the new item. I think
No
it's like
1,000 life lightning
I
coils.
think
That's a
it's
lot,
like
though.
yeah, it's
Yes.
like 250, I think.
250 life lightning
Але,
coils.
вони
Pretty good.
подьоргали, да. Це буде не
I'm
700,
excited
думаю,
for
буде там десь
Facebreaker with
200 чи 300.
Storyani's touch.
Right.
That's my
То вони
build.
циферки
Yeah.
на деяких
Decided
уніках
right there.
подьоргали, вони
So
що
it
сказали,
seems like
що
this is only
колон буде
taking,
не 1000 лайфа переносить.
like the definitive mod off the unique,
Yeah,
not just like some
it's
random
usually
thing that's
a
lame.
single specific mod. So
Да.
if an item
Не
has like
статинне
5
резисти
different
буде
mods,
переноситися.
there's only one specific one that will
Ну так
port
це
over.
ендгейм гамма і
You kind
буде,
of
да,
know.
але
Yeah,
це
there's a
буде
few
прикольно.
cases like Shaper's
Ну і
Touch
на
and
трейді
Three
будуть,
Dragons
там
where they've got
умовно
like a cycle of
хтось
3
хоче
mods.
зробити
Right,
собі
yeah.
якусь
We'll
фігню
randomly
і
pick one
ламає
of the three,
якісь
but
хороші
generally
уніки
it's
і
just one
отримує
specific
якусь
mod.
теоретично
Yeah,
для
that
нього
sounds like
фігню і
the-
ставить
the
продаватися,
flavor,
ти
the
підеш
main thing,
купляєш, бо
the
тобі
thing
воно
that you care
підходить.
about typically is going to be the thing
Якісь
that
там
comes over there. That is very
Нікому не
exciting. I
треба
quite
ті
like
голоси,
this,
умовні, рандомно,
crafted
хай
stuff.
Марігаро.
It's good to
А
see
ти
it.
знайшов Марігаро з
Really,
якимсь
I
крутим
guess
модом з інших
somewhat
голосів, і такий,
similar
о,
to
я зроблю з
Elder's
ним білд.
Legacy, right? Like a little bit.
The funny
Чи в
thing
такому
is,
дусі?
I think we design these independently because
Ну, сага в плеї ти можеш, вона
we
стоїла...
figured this out pretty early on
Як,
in
вона стоїла
league
до хрена, бо
development,
ти
so this
можеш
would have been
неї
like 4
засунути
months
куди ти
ago or
хочеш.
so that we figured
А
out,
тут це
this is
рандом.
what we're doing
І
for
будуть
Legion,
рандомні
this is
уніки,
the
які
items.
людям більшість
And
не
then
треба,
I
але
was
ну,
talking to
це буде нормальний
David,
унік,
who's
якщо
one
він
of
з цим
the PoE2
модом,
designers, and
який
he's like,
украв
oh
з
yeah, we
іншого
have
уніку,
this really cool
получає
thing
цей
where you can
результат.
put a rune that takes the
Не
unique
знаю, там
mod
умовно якийсь,
and
кажу,
puts it on another unit. It's like, what?
You
We're
stole
doing
their
that
рандомний
really
унік
well.
береш, приліпляєш до нього з
But it
іншого
does
уніка
feel very
моди,
different,
получається
to be
щось
fair.
прикольне.
Yeah,
Incola-
I feel like the
Incola-
same concept is like all of a sudden being explored from a bunch of different angles by different people, which is kind of cool because you're going to arrive at a bunch of cool ideas that eventually you can.
It's
Compared.
the actual literal case
Але
of the
речі,
great minds. Well, just minds think
ювелірки там не
alike.
бачу на
I wouldn't say
ювелірку,
we're great.
можна це буде нажимати?
Oh,
Прикол.
We're just minds.
Я кажу, є багато прикольних
So
уніків,
that
яким
is
просто
like a
не
pretty
вистачає чогось, і
exciting
це якраз це
new
щось
thing
їм
that you can do
добавить.
with Legion. But
Ти
with
будеш
incubators
купляти
being
рандомну
removed,
фігню
which is
у
kind of
людей,
like the base, a
яка
lot of
їм
the
не
baseline
надо.
reward for Legion, doing Legions in maps.
Ну,
Do you feel like the raw reward value of Legion will still be
я
there?
не
Is that
думаю,
being
що ти
kind of
будеш
compensated in some area?
селф-фаундить ці
Yeah,
уніки
well,
взагалі. Я не думаю, що це
last
буде
league I
реалістично,
actually ran a
чесно.
lot of Legions, so I knew
Давай,
like the
тихої ночі.
pain points
Ні, ну,
especially.
може ти, звісно,
And I
будеш,
was
ну,
flooded
понятно,
with
на
so
SSF
many
люди будуть.
incubators. I literally had to
Але
filter out like
я думаю,
95%
99% людей
incubators.
будуть купляти собі ці
Very few of
уніки,
them I
то що,
felt like actually
умовно,
gave
унікальних
much
голосів є багато.
like
І ну, те, що ти
value,
хочеш,
and I
буде
just
шанс не дуже
was
великий.
annoyed
Так
that
само
every
често, так
few
само
minutes I
все.
needed to apply 10 currency incubators.
Yeah, I think this is a good change.
So I
for
don't
sure.
think you're losing too much. You still have all the other reward icons. Like another thing to note
Тобто,
is
хай, не знаю, там,
I think it was mentioned
Body
is
armor.
like Abyss jewels are now
Body
exclusive to
armor.
Abyss.
Yeah.
Talismans are
Body
now
armor.
exclusive to
Дивись, які є
Talismans.
боді армори.
So Legion has a smaller
Тобі треба
pool.
буде пробігти в
A
середньому,
smaller
я не
pool of
знаю, там,
rewards means you are seeing
які
things like
50,
currency
30,
rewards,
40,
scarab rewards,
50
unique
пайвею.
rewards more commonly
Можна,
because
але...
we've removed those other rewards.
Right, they're
from
not
the
being
pool.
replaced.
Yeah.
Like
якщо
instead
не
of
повезе?
a random incubator that you're filtering out, it's going to be a currency box or something instead. So okay, that makes
It's
sense.
it's a nice side benefit of this
Завжди добре
whole,
мати білд, який уберуть і
ongoing
все робить.
effort to get each league mechanic to give its own special thing exclusively.
Yeah.
Because it kind of incidentally buffs the rewards of other league mechanics too, you know? Like, were you ever really excited to see an Abyssal Jewel from Tujin when you rerolled his shop? You won't see those anymore. And now you might be excited to find a high level Abyssal Jewel from Abyss because the market isn't flooded by a thousand people clicking reroll on Tujin every day.
Yeah, this is absolutely the right move. It gives people their niches, their little thing to be proud of. Like, I'm supplying
багато
DBs.
крита, да, це я бачив.
When it comes to like conceptualizing this, I know like Andrew came in, he's like, I got these pain
Але
points, I want to
демеджа
improve some
менше.
leagues.
Лайкінг спили
and
багато кас
I think
піде.
the thing we're trying to do here, and
Але
I hope,
багато ман не стоїть.
you know, it's something players prefer. Instead of going fix a little
А
bit here,
інші
a
вони
little
не
bit there, a little
сказали.
bit there across all
Ладно.
the leagues, I'm like, nah, let's just go all in on a league, do the exclusivity, give it an identity, be it a pinnacle boss or a reward system, upgrade it to uniques, fix all the problems with
30
it,
лес крита, але
full
воно буде
fresh coat of paint
фуркейтить.
across the board, and also quality of life, any just like, you know, the whole you couldn't break out, you had to find the last monsters when breaking out a legion, and now you don't need to, is like honestly a huge difference.
Yeah, that was me lastly. I'm just cycloning through the whole Legion and I'm just going back and forth over it multiple times being like, why won't you start? Because I haven't tracked down the last
Yeah.
monster hiding around a corner.
But we're trying to just make like quite good packages out of these upgrades, as opposed to just like, it would have been really easy to just fix
Nah.
the few
Цікаво.
like that problem
Окей,
and a
прикольний.
couple others with Legion, like getting rid of the
Чого
icons,
фіговий
you know,
Горокхан?
just have those arcade style reward icons covering your screen in domain, you know, all that. But then we're like, well, while
Це
we're at
кращий
it,
Горокхан,
new
ні?
reward system needs it. And
No.
you know, with the burst, we're also like, new pinnacle. Why
То ти
not?
можеш
It
зробити
needs it.
оверкап
And,
крита і мати 90
so-
крита і
and we
біфуркейтить
kinda
при
hinted
цьому.
towards some
З Гороканом у тебе
ominous
просто 50, все, ти
mastermind
програв.
of Legion, there,
З цим
so
ти
you
можеш
can already
мати
see we're heading in
100
a
крита, якщо
direction
хочеш,
towards.
якщо в пороці.
Yep.
Cool.
But
Oh, I
I
like it.
hope players enjoy the more grander reworks as opposed to like what would just get
Кріт
lost in a
можна
few
оверкапити. Люди ж
almost
з
bug-fixed
Марурен
patch
Фаласі
note style
грали,
things across the board.
Поверсифон
So even though
майнери,
some leagues,
мали
'cause I know a lot
просто
of people can
там
go,
200 крита
what
робили
about this
собі,
league? What
і
about that
40
league?
лес
What
робили, їм
about,
все
like,
чисто
our idea is to
залишалось.
just we got a new league.
І при
Here's a
цьому ти
couple leagues we
біфуркейтиш
wanna
тепер, якщо з
improve
цією
by
фігнею
giving
робити.
them identity, fixing everything, addressing the gameplay concerns.
Ну, але крита
And we're
надо
just gonna
багато
cycle
буде.
through them,
Ну, але
and I'm sure
навіть
by the time
якщо
we get to the end, we have to go back to the
зробити
start.
там,
So,
зробив 100 крита, тобі зробило
Legion rework
лес, але тепер ти лакі і біфуркейтиш. Це буде,
29.
думаю, крепко і сильно.
Dot
Що
com.
звучить кльово мені, не знаю.
There was a weird question from chat there. Can Foulborn unique mods become vestigial unique mods? That would be kind of wild.
No, I think that's the other restriction of the system. You cannot use the currency on
А,
corrupted
що таке
uniques, you
infusion?
cannot use it on Foulborn uniques, because it's sort of like a
Дає
sort of
інфюжн
magic.
кожну
Right,
секунду,
yeah.
коли
They've
чанелиш
been
спел.
defiled in their own way.
30 речаржа,
Yes.
море
Not
демеджа.
crossing the streams, though. Things would start to get pretty complicated pretty quickly with that sort of thing, wouldn't they? Another thing that's been
20
reworked and
море
indeed come
коста.
back is
5
mercenaries.
стаків.
Man, there's a long list of stuff
Лузаєш,
going on in
якщо
this
не
expansion, isn't there?
гейнув, раз 2
So to clarify, the
секунди.
base mercenary mechanic is now that you fight them in a zone and then they help you for the rest of that zone, not that you can then like hire them permanently
Причем
on
тут
any
просі.
character, right?
Yeah, so they'll start showing up in Act 3. There is a change
Тож
that we
нічого не
want to
робить
get in. It
просто.
might not get in for the patch,
Воно ж не
but in the
ченує.
campaign we do want to see if the mercenary can follow you for multiple areas.
Фросі не ченують.
If you,
Фросі
so in the campaign, it's
просто
like you
кастує.
find them in.
Yeah, you wouldn't want that in
Куклон
in-game,
це
would you?
атака,
But,
не
like,
спел.
It doesn't really work because they have to go
Yeah.
from a combat area to a
І
combat
Фросі не
area.
обов'язково куклон.
You can only have one temporary mercenary at a
Ти
time.
сказав
So
Фросі.
you find a mercenary in one area and then the next area you don't
А
have
не
like,
куклон.
you aren't taking a full party with you. But, yeah, undecided if that will get in time or not.
Okay. I did definitely notice that you have buffed them, like,
Я не
because
знаю,
they're
що там є.
now this limited thing. You seems like you're just like,
Штормберс,
make them
теоретично
ridiculous.
силкаст.
Well,
Ну,
They're
непоганий
stronger than
скіл.
me.
The
але
main thing with temporary mercenaries
Divine
is
Ire.
you cannot tweak their
Але
gear.
ти його довго
And
кастувати
because
не
you cannot
хочеш.
tweak their gear,
Every
we can
second
make
це
them
мало.
much stronger than before
Кожних пів
because
секунди треба десь, щоб це
we don't
було
need to
нормально
balance
гралося,
around
чесно
giving them
кажучи.
1,000 DPS
Кожну
actions,
секунду
or
це
only
трохи.
whatever else.
Ну, не знаю, може і нормально, але не
The good
вірю.
thing is we can balance
І втрачать
permanent
кожні 2
mercenaries and
секунди,
temporary
якщо ти не
mercenaries
взяв,
completely
не
separately.
ченелив, то...
Yeah, and that's really cool. And
Коротше,
that's the other thing. So
стаки будуть
you
дуже
can
погано
now get,
підтримуватися, це мені здається
permanent
так.
mercenaries through the luminary. And I feel like this is the
Це
most
моя
interesting,
думка.
unique
Стаки будуть
ascendancy
погано підтримуватися.
possibly ever.
I feel like I maybe lied last
Може,
time
Блайт,
we
хіба
added
що.
the last Scion class where I said
Блайту,
we'd add
наверно,
another
це
one
нормально
after
буде,
13
думаю.
years.
You did, yes.
Turns out it was 6 months. My bad, give or take. So sorry, apologies for the dishonesty.
I'll forgive you on this one.
Ну і це
But
ми,
yeah,
да,
as you were going,
ми
sorry.
знаємо.
Yeah, no, it's like so the luminary allows you to permanently hire a mercenary,
О,
and
до
then
речі,
there
20-го
are,
левела
like,
гем
it's
робить
scaled back a little bit
73
in that
демеджа
you
від твоєї
need
мани.
to say, oh,
Я не знаю,
I
наскільки
care
це
about them
сильно.
having unique gloves, so
І
I'm going to
24
allocate
море
that
блока.
point, or I'm going to
Добре,
mix
то.
match those guys. So it seems like you've put some kind of effort towards
Що
making them a
34
little bit
ремара
more
робить?
balanced, but
Ой, не
this
ремара,
is
резерва.
this is like a super. I don't know. This is a super interesting ascendancy because it's got like a really long tail on it. Like you can keep finding new mercenaries as you go long term,
Yes,
right?
it's also interesting if you're not a luminary, because if you find a really good mercenary in a map, you can itemize it and trade it to a luminary.
Ah.
So there'll be a market for farming mercenary for other luminaries, assuming you know what the very
I like
valuable
all these little
mercenaries
micro
are.
markets developing.
I can't wait for someone to buy like an ultra expensive warrant because that's what the tradable thing's called,
Yep.
the warrant. And then they're like, yes, I get to hire it, and then they just die.
Oh, no.
I'm like, no.
Монастакер, ну може монастакер норм демедж буде робити, але... Кажу, сам навіть баф мені виглядає, як може бути окей.
Yeah.
The three classes it has, you've got the Reliquarian,
За
which
30 мани.
we teased yesterday, day before, or something,
Yes,
the new
we've
set.
shown the new ones.
You got this, like, all three classes. The Ascendant obviously is a bit more, you know,
Що
but there's
він
still
робить?
many permutations, but still
Yeah.
three very unique classes.
8 спилив.
Insane build variety. It ended up just being
Apply
amazing
effect
and
or
special,
around
and
targeted
the
location
Luminary
or
just is the,
fire.
you know, icing on the cake there, honestly.
Sure.
I'm looking forward to playing it. That's definitely my...
Yeah, I'm 50-50 at the moment what I'm going to play.
Ah.
It's either going to be
Oh,
a
привіт,
Flame
привіт.
Link
Нічого собі, хто тут
mercenary,
з'явився.
me using the Flame Link, or channeling Lightning Tendrils, which sounds weird, but there's stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's still
I was going to say Andrew has adjusted over 150, 100 skill gems for
Yeah,
this
I
patch?
think I still got a few dot buffs to do, but
150 гемів подергав. Оцей Ендрю, який там сидить. Цікаво буде, що він там надергав. І ще каже, ще не доробив, ще буде.
They die after changing zones, or do they need to
Цікаво.
be revived with gold still?
Що ж він там наробив?
they still need to be revived
от.
with gold, and same system as
Скіл,
before, where
ефект ТР,
they'll turn up in the next area.
Inspire, Around,
Did you just,
Target, ТР.
Their survivability has
Це типа
been...
як Firestorm,
No, I don't
але
think it's
для
been messed
всіх
with too much.
спилив.
I think it should be all good.
Okay.
You will need
Chain
to
6
like
additional time або
put
projectile
defensive
6.
gear on them.
Ні, ну
I think.
це сильно.
I can't remember. It was
Це
too long
сильно.
ago when I looked at the
Buff.
balance for the...
Figure it out.
На
Did you guys
8
like
кастив
improve
це
the UI
дається.
or something like that? I feel like it was like a bit better or something. I don't
Так і
know.
на Ендрю, да.
It's hard to recall.
Так і
we
буде.
have added extra panels so you can see more
Yeah.
information about your mercenary.
Yeah, there's
So,
like the passives
yeah.
and defenses and stuff.
Виглядає
the
по
defenses,
якові,
I
це саме
think
сильно
used to be
грається.
there, but we've
Буває
added
апдейт.
a new panel for
Достатньо
their passive
цікавий.
stats, which will show...
Деякі речі,
because
whatever,
mercenaries in the
мені
back
не
end,
сильно
they have
цікаві, але
effectively a
більшість як
fake
завжди.
passive
Ну,
tree,
цікаво буде
Yeah.
which
попробувати.
you couldn't see before.
Багато
but
змін в спилах.
It's very
Хочу
useful to know
попробувати
like how many
спили.
damage increases they're getting, how much crit
Там
multi they're
механіки
getting,
нові.
like those
You can actually
inherent...
build them a bit more
Якби
because
не
you know
кастай,
they're
на
going to
всякі
scale properly.
0,8.
Yeah.
Ну, можна
There's
фастер
two
кастинг
things about the
засунути, там
Luminary
каски
that I
дамать
think are worth...
трохи.
You're talking about passive stats, and it reminded me. There's two things about the
Не знаю.
Luminary. So the first thing is
Побачимо, як буде
that,
відчуватися.
what we found is people were playing the Luminary and then
Ну,
don't
просто
find no
8 кастив,
mercenaries.
по
So
1
the
каскіда
campaign
достатньо багато у тебе
has
часто.
how many
Automation,
fixed
ну да,
spawns?
automation не поставиш.
4 areas, yeah.
Yeah. So some guaranteed ones. You're still,
Yep.
and the random ones are still there, so that you can't just like, I've played this class and I can't do anything. And then the second thing is, in the campaign specifically, because you can't guarantee them with scarabs and invest into them always being there, they
Як буде відчуватися? Ну, я планую попробувати поюзати таку хрень якусь.
so that the ones you do find earlier on will sustain for,
Мені, кажу, ну я спеціальна сніжинка, як завжди, але мені подобалось. Оце, страждати сокетами в актах, розбиратися з ними, але більшості людей це буде краще. Ну, але в геймі це просто і мені краще. Зайвий спосіб чуть-чуть підскелий гем. Чому б і ні?
So you can't give them high level items, but all of their passive stats and skills. I think this benefits spellcaster mercenaries a little bit more than the attack ones.
Yeah, but without that, honestly, it was a little bit dire.
Це ми бачили там на сторінці. Це що демедж овертайми робить? Не знаю, може теж норм.
I found one of the
like
the higher end, whatever the
More casting improvement, buff specific spell і support, і buff caster. Унік ітемів. Цікаво, що там з унік ітемів зробить. Але роботу для мерка зробити. Ну, це треба мерка знайти. І якщо мерк стохне, тобі треба буде нового. Ну, купляти можна буде, але вони будуть стоїть грошей, думаю.
That's pretty fun. It's gonna be fun in endgame when you like get a good temporary recruit on top of your already.
По-моєму, якщо мерк дохне, тобі треба нового знаходити буде навіть на цьому на стіонці. Якщо я не помиляюсь. Вони якраз про це говорять, і я там щось краєм хочу. Support паті. А я не знаю. Ось вони тільки що якраз про це говорили. Я чуть не сильно уважно це робив. Но мені почулось, що він наскільки я зрозумів, що хай буде навіть стіонки. І тобі треба буде нового купляти. Він в хайдауті типу стоїть, що просто стоїть, що існує, я так розумів. Щоб ти на нього міг подивитися. Ну і шмотки йому міняти.
You can still use the Ascendance ones, but yeah, you can't get the Reliquarian or Luminary ones.
Sion and being a weirdo with her Ascendancies.
Yeah, she's an edge case.
We were fun little thing that I'm sure, well, we were just discussing this before because you experienced it out here where a lot of players probably have forgotten, but for those who remember the first time players have to actually go and unlock the Scion to be able to play the Scion.
Yeah, I had a fresh account here, so I was like, wait,
не можна буде вкрасти цей нодик про мерка.
Who actually remembers that from whatever a decade ago?
Oh yeah.
So obviously when we announce a class like this, a lot of people who are going to start playing the game are going to be like, I wanted to play this thing and I don't know where it is and I don't know what to do. Almost certainly after this, we're going to go and make it so that the Scion is just unlocked by default at this point. We should be adding new interesting discoveries and unlocks, not like holding on to that when people might want to play this and come play the game and actually engage with the Scion straight away, and they don't have to. A new player shouldn't have to play to Act 3 to then reroll to do it. I know this is a thing that like isn't a huge deal because
unlocked it 15 years ago or something.
Everyone just has done it, but like, yeah, it's easy to forget that even was a thing. So hopefully, yes, they don't have to play to Act 3 to then re-roll in order to play the class that they want to play. Which is a little bit sad because it was a funding at the time, but honestly, I forgot about it for 8 years or something. I don't know how long it's been.
Most of us did, indeed. Yeah. So, Andrew, you did some work on skill balancing. It seems like hand-casting, aka self-casting, was a big part of the focus. What was your kind of like goals with skill balance this time? What have you been working on here?
Yeah, well, it's a couple of words that keeps cropping up over and over again. So we sat down and had a look and figured out like, what are the problems with hand casting? It's like, what are all the different things we can change? I mean, the general thing from my point of view is I think hand casting is like not bad in the campaign and like early campaign, but I think it falls off quite a lot in the middle game. And it comes back online very, very late game because you have a lot of very unique interactions like life stacking, that type of thing, which can then push it to be like very, very competitive. So a lot of the focus here was adding more scaling into that mid game, especially.
Yeah.
But also the fact that we have like hundreds, I think it was like 180 spells that were like viable, damaging spells that we could like were candidates for balance effectively.
Yeah.
So it's like, you have so much choice. Why would someone pick one spell over the other? So we've also done a focus of like trying to differentiate the spells a bit more based on like their inherent damage types.
Yeah.
So for example, like blade spells now have like 10% crit chance instead
Щось
of
скажуть
60%.
про Fire спели?
They're massively crit focused, whereas fire spells have lower mana costs than other spells, but they have higher damage effectiveness, which sort of leans into them being very good for ignite.
Ну, менше мана коста Fire спели мають. А ну думай собі Fire спел бистро для кока. Менше мана коста і більше демеджу вони мають.
Cold and lightning as well. Like lightning is faster, but higher mana cost.
Yeah, so lightning will be interesting because lightning has like all of the cast speeds are faster, but
Firestorm.
mana cost is also higher.
Той, що там один пускає тільки.
It's like a double whammy for like how do you
Трансфігури
manage the
якісь
mana on
там,
that, and then
чи
if
що там?
you're doing archmage things as well, especially. I mean, that can be a good thing to have the higher mana cost potentially.
Yeah,
Якщо
I mean,
що,
Archmage
Блазін
doesn't scale
Сало
off.
сильний скіл фаєровський, by the way.
There's not a huge
Достатньо
amount of
сильно
things that
сильний.
scale off current mana cost anymore. I think there are a few, in which case
Okay, yeah.
that is actually a buff for those all those lightning
It's like
spells.
unique or something, right? Yeah. Yeah. So that's a bit stronger distinction there. I saw you're also kind of like, any kind of pure ice spells are getting a chance to freeze, and I saw a chance to shock going in. It's like, yeah, why doesn't this skill have 25% chance to freeze?
Yeah, the annoying thing that I found with freeze is that like it's such an inherent part of a cold build's identity.
Yeah.
But most skills just can't freeze unless they invest into critical strike chance. So having a bit of like chance to freeze inherently on some of the very basic cold spells will make freeze actually be something that you'll notice early on in the game.
Cool, yeah. And it's not just that though, like I definitely noticed some pretty substantial damage buffs for a lot of these skills too, which is important to like give a bit more diversity. I even noticed in the early game, it's like, I don't feel necessarily like I have to rolling magma quite so hard.
Шукнув у мене в
There
голові,
weren't a
але
huge amount of,
тема.
like, to be honest, a lot of the changes were to the
Побачимо, що
growth of
почнути
the
ще буде.
spells. Like, for example, channeling spells, because they don't have a huge amount of like different axes for scaling. We've increased like the damage growth on those, so the damage isn't like hugely different at like level 1, but it ramps up quite a lot more throughout the game. But we deliberately just nerfed Magma Orb very, very early game, just so you don't feel compelled to use that one spell. Please try something else.
The rain, the curse of Magma Orb is finally over.
Magma
I
Orb
mean, there'll be a
покоцали.
new curse,
Да.
but hopefully
weird, awkward
we'll
spell.
change it more frequently than we have with Magma Orb.
Curse of the All Flame.
So
Along that line, there is the classic, meta nerfs, so to speak, that we like to do every league. But
Мета
Andrew's
нерфи.
a specialist at just give me a giga spreadsheet of numbers, and he is the king of just change all the numbers of all the things. Like most people are like, there's multiple hundreds of things to do here, and they're a little bit reserved. And Andrew's just like, yeah, all good. Let's go through every skill in the game. Let's do it.
Oh man, there's a long list of. It's going to be some long patch notes this time around for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, not to say there aren't any like nerfs related to. Well, one of the things is because we're buffing a lot of the spells, I don't want to just buff every channeling spell in the game and everyone's like, oh no, I'm playing totems. No, I'm playing mines. So do note there might be some like counterbalance there.
Yes.
That's a good thing. Otherwise, you're not even
Balance.
necessarily then in making
Страшні
people want
слова.
to handcast, right? Like, obviously. So.
Yeah. Do you think that there might be a need in some areas for any sort of like mechanical changes to handcasting and channeling in
Well,
particular?
there is a dream, and the dream is cast while moving, but that is. I don't know if we'll ever see that in PoE1.
So that's a tricky one,
It
isn't it?
requires the new rigs, I assume.
We will someday.
One day.
One day.
That one's an actual long time away, though. That's not
Yeah.
like but it will come. We've explained that a whole bunch of times. It's the exact same reason why there's no
Channeling
WASD.
while moving,
Yeah, I
конечно,
see the
PoE2
question.
прикольно
We've answered it
відчувається.
before, the WASD question, but that's the same thing.
We
is that
understand
it
how-
kind of needs the rigging to work. It
We
just can't.
understand how popular those things will be, and it will happen. It's just taking its time,
Да.
and
Років
not due
через
to
5
us like
може.
not caring. There is a whole department actively working on aiming towards this goal
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah. So ironically, with the discussion and like a lot of the focus being on hand casting, self casting, and trying to make those better comparative to like triggered and other means of getting spells out, which have been dominant in the past, there has still been a lot of questions about cast on crit and cast while channeling, and those feeling weak. Interesting. So it's especially like cast on crit players seem to be like lamenting the loss of awakened cast on crit, for example,
cast
and
on crit.
feeling like they're a lot weaker now, or that's a lot less viable. Is that something you've considered or looking at in the future at all?
There is this new node on Assassin, which is sort of insane for cast on crit.
Interesting.
If you're familiar with bifurcation, and I don't know if it was shown in the live stream, but if you're familiar with crits bifurcating in PoE 2,
Bifurcate.
we pretty much ported the exact same mechanic back to PoE 1, which is especially effective on cast on crit.
That was a whole can of worms, that thing. I'm surprised you've got opening that one again.
Yeah, cast on crit, I'm like, sort of just ignored this patch. Cast while channeling, though, feels a little more like you are casting it yourself, although you can cyclone, which... So, cast while channeling has received some buffs. I don't think cast on crit has really...
Okay, yeah. Apart from maybe something with Assassin.
Apart from Assassin might be very, very strong for
Ні, ну Bifurcate сильний,
Yeah,
ну, так я кажу, я дивлюся на нього, він виглядає сильним, але да.
It was the exceptional support. We should probably touch on that. So you did the removal of the awakened supports and then the new exceptional supports. And now that we've had that for a
Для
league,
мене
I'm
це
just curious.
дуже мінорна зміна,
I've
але
seen some questions
для
here and there
багатьох людей
about
буде
it,
прикольно.
and I've seen people saying, especially like dot builds, maybe poison builds, I feel like they lost a lot from the transition. You know, they had a bunch of damage now before that they don't have now. They were kind of already something that was a bit capped in terms of damage.
Для мене головна зміна спелкастери, напевно. Я найбільше похчамплю від змін спелкастерів. Я ще їх не бачив, а вже похчамплю.
Yeah.
And previously, a lot of the old Awakening supports were just pure damage multipliers. All the supports they used were like Awaken Burning Damage, Awaken Deadly Ailment, or not that one, but Swift Affliction or whatever. So, yeah, they certainly did lose a little bit of damage at like the super endgame, but hopefully I'm undecided. Like I said before, we've still got some like, I've got a specific list of spell dot skills, which I haven't exactly figured out how I want to buff yet, because it could just be damage growth. But I think the correct answer is we add more different, it could be support gems, there could be just some in-game itemization that like adds extra axes of scaling to these skills. It was shown in the live stream, but one of the packs is very focused towards these.
Yeah.
The Pact of Gore, depending on like how many different types of non-damaging dot skills you use, you'll get like a huge bonus to their like damage and...
So there's still some stuff that's going to come in the patch notes as probably early next week. So the dot skills, as he mentioned.
Oh wow, this patch then.
Maybe, unless he decides not to. And we were even working on some... We're working on some keystones for casting that we haven't quite figured out. But the hope is to be able to do them. Like kind of
поки вони сказали, що вони всунули просто шанс to freezing, типу, для старту. Щоб в актах відчувалось приємніше, що ти фрізиш мову, поки тебе кліта нема, типу. Але сам, чи що там буде, чи щось буде ще цікавішого, я нічого не чув.
And if some of that can just be a matter of description.
Що значить боси не фрізяться? Боси теж фрізяться? What?
Oh my God. Also, I don't know if he will notice, but we have the helper text system now in PoE 1.
Yeah, the tooltips. I
definitely noticed that.
I just remembered. I was like, we didn't talk about it.
I was like, wait a second, that's
Пінаклах ти на деякі сотки часу все одно критовий, і ти там цей шанс to freeze все одно робити нічого не буде.
The system's there.
That's going to take time.
The new stuff has it. The old stuff going to require
Але пінокли фрізяться, коли вони зафріжені, вони ставляться на 50%. Тобто зачилити можна 30 їх, а якщо той накладений фріз, вони рухаються, але засловлені на 50. Що замітно краще, прям дуже замітно. На Вардені це прям очевидно робиться.
That needs to be done manually by people who understand the systems and is also very exacting because Path of Exile is a very precise game. So if you have slightly different wording, it can mean a wildly different thing.
We only let a few people in-house actually write these things because we want to make sure they're very
consistent. Є
атаки,
які роблять дерьмовіше Шейкерслем, це ще таке у Екзарчі Омегалул робиться, коли він робить свій слем, Incineration, що у нього анімація робиться, і через секунди-дві він слемає. А анімація вже пройшла, і ти думаєш, ну все.
So, yeah, they're going to get filled in, but, you know, we're needing those specific people to be free to do it. But yeah, it's a good QOL addition to the game and good for onboarding as well. And yeah, so that's just random pivot, but I just remembered that when we were talking about the keystones and describing them.
I see chat bringing up nearby. Did we get that nearby?
Oh yeah, I was going to mention
the highlight, the circle.
Yeah, so I think
What?
what we're going to do is we're going to do a restart patch, like a content update, maybe a week or two after release.
Yeah.
And for that, I have a plan where I'm going to unify all the nearby keywords.
Тоді завжди нам
So
питання задає.
nearby, close, present, proximal, all of that stuff. And then it will all be keyworded, and you'll be able to highlight the keyword, and you'll get the nice little ring around your character.
Nearby буде
Clarify, 'cause
показуватися
people
в
were
грі.
confused last time when he says restart patch, it just means a patch and where the realm
Right, yeah.
goes off and then back up.
Нічого
Just,
собі.
just to be clear.
Ну,
Like,
доселись.
so last time people were going,
No,
what do you mean there's a week one
As
league
in,
reset?
there are some changes that won't work unless the client has been restarted. Like,
Yeah.
So it just forces everybody off the
Some
game and
eternal
back up.
terminology leaking
It's
out there.
about client server synchronous.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
But
Які є
that's
бус?
good news, though.
I've seen us, we refer to it as a restart
Так, а при
patch
чому тут
internally
бус?
in
Ти
IMC,
наводиш,
so
і воно тобі
people
показує, і вони це
rightfully
саме
so
по один
misinterpret
хочуть
that
зробити.
as a
При чому
economy
тут бус?
restart or something. I'm like, no.
You don't need to do that for a tooltip.
Вони ж саме це і роблять в Фої 1, що будь-яку фігню, яка є радіус, ти наводиш, і воно тобі буде
So
показувати
we've had the
радіус, так само,
assassin
як в Фої 2.
rework, and how do you feel like
Які є
that
бус?
landed? And there was also kind of like linked questions about, well, we talked about cast on crit, but also like elusive not feeling very good to build around. But I think before you could refresh it, but not anymore.
Yeah, I feel like when we reworked it, it landed a little bit too weak, which is
Yeah.
why we're making changes this patch.
Yeah.
Not just, well, it's mostly because it's an intelligence
Ти
ascendancy, and so we can like put it under the
Так,
umbrella
а
of
нафіга
self-cast
це
stuff.
робить?
But do
Ні,
know
ну,
that
може комусь це
the
зручно,
mark node, the one that
може
is
комусь це
applies
зручно,
to
але
assassin
да.
mark, that has also been massively buffed. So
Oh, cool.
if that node is much stronger for attack builds, then hopefully assassin is also viable for them too.
Control F assassin in the patch notes. Then.
Я б
That's
цього
good
не
news.
хотів.
Yeah, because I was doing a little bit of
Ти
research.
наводиш, тобі показує, я не знаю, який там бус. Ну і тут так само буде, ти наводиш, тобі буде показувати. Тобі не буде постійно показувати nearby. То що, я не знаю, це фігово, ні? Ти можеш мати 5 nearby різних, і вони тобі весь екран засвітять. Наскільки я зрозумів, ти просто, ну, так само буде слово nearby, ти наводиш nearby, тобі показує, такий от цього nearby. І ти дивишся, ага. Ні, ну потестить щось, да, ну ти сказав, що постійно бачить, типу, що як будто... Я не знаю.
Daggers in particular feel like they lack a bit of an identity.
Це щось
Like, you
прямо
would expect
бус.
them to be the highest crit
Ну,
thing, but in
десь
many
щось
cases that
потестить,
seems
може
to
так
not be the
зручніше,
case.
але мені
And
навести
a
не
lot of the
складно.
times, it's like, unless it's a unique, it's like, well, I should just use a claw instead. That's going to be better.
Ну, коротше, зробили добре.
One of the
Зроблять.
things that's
Коли зроблять.
going to be in the patch notes is quite a lot of caster itemization changes, particularly to like staves and daggers and wands and scepters. So one of the things with daggers is they're implicits. We just
Ну, ти просто почекай, чи в рівнанті біля тебе спавняться, щось там можеш, типу, то...
they're kind of weak.
Yeah.
So
Я
all
не
of the
знаю,
crit
може десь
counts
щось там
on
було.
dagger implicits has been buffed.
Nice.
And then
А, типу там якісь
the
люди
changes
юзали,
that
що
were
там є
related
нодики,
to,
що ти заходиш, виходиш в преференсі моби, твоєму
wands and
презенсі,
scepters generally
отримують
proliferate
бафи,
daggers
дебафи
as
вони.
well. So
Типу,
rolling
їм
caster
треба було
daggers will
дивитися,
have a
коли вони
bunch of
заходять, коли
improvements.
виходять.
As the
Ну,
attack
може.
daggers versus
Але це
attack
таке вже.
claws, the only real change there is that daggers have slightly more crit chance.
Yeah, I imagine that's a bit out of the scope of this current one.
Коротше,
So it's
whatever.
not the focus now, but
Тепер буде добре.
It's the same thing where we try and pick a package similar
Yeah.
with the league reworks
For sure.
instead of just bits and pieces all over. We're like, well, something cohesive. So when you go hand casting, and then you kind of let it spread and affect things that are somewhat adjacent. But yeah, I mean, the players will then tell us what the next, like we almost always go off, as he said, when the word hand casting or self casting keeps coming up. That's how we ultimately decide, here's what we're doing next. So ultimately we just keep paying attention to what people think is not in the right spot, and then we go, okay, how are we going to turn that into a package, a rebalance package? And that's kind of how we go about doing it, to be honest. So let us know is the answer.
Well, I mean, that's the next question is about defenses on ranges. Obviously not in the scope of this patch, so no one expects anything in that regard. But it's maybe a good one for the future to look at. Defenses on the ranger build archetypes, especially with bows, it seems to be, is kind of the topic here. And I had some prolonged discussions with a few people about this one. So I have some extra context on this.
знаю,
If
чи
needed,
тобі
but the main
сподобається.
takeaway
Може
seems to be that
дефенсивно
range
мати.
defense
А ти любиш
suppression,
прям
namely,
крепких чарів.
was nerfed as a result of other classes heavily investing in it, which is like a good thing to do.
Ну,
Because you
він
don't
був
really
просто
want, like,
норм. Можеш подивитися
the
відео,
build
як це
checklist of, like,
виглядало,
oh, I
але...
have to get suppression on every single build was obviously a
Я
problem.
забув, чим я грав, по-моєму, якимсь
So it was like
скоком.
nerfed in, I believe, 327, and there was some stuff
На
before that
Асасіні?
as well.
Я на
So
Асасіні
while
грав
probably
твоїм
good
цим.
for other builds balance,
Forbidden Right.
rangers seems to be lacking in their own
Ілюзію
way to make up
допомагає
for that.
сильно, ілюзію прикольні, але
Evasion seeming kind
це
of
все ще
increasingly weak
RNG,
with less benefits of
defense.
stacking it than other things like armor and energy shield.
Я грав
And
на
other
асасіні
defensive layer
Custom Clips
options
між
in
Владом.
that kind of archetype
Можеш піти
seem to
подивитися,
be
як це
highly
виглядало, які
conditional
там
or they have some
цифри.
really big downsides. And the ascendancy options are really high in
Але,
point
да.
investment typically. They're
Я
lower
не
for
впевнений, чи
pointers,
тобі
where
це
other things
сподобається,
not cost
чесно,
2
по
points.
тому, як
And also highly
я
conditional.
дивлюся, які ти білди
Don't
хочеш.
get hit or you don't have any defenses kind of thing. So I was wondering if that's like an area that you might be interested in looking at in the future or something you've been tracking.
I mean, if the player base agrees and then we look into it, which, I mean, you're primarily correct, yes, then that will turn into our next package, right? Like, we pay attention to it during this league, by the way. And then we go, okay, you got this, this, and this. What are we going to focus on? Maybe we can do a second.
Ну,
So,
так, я не знаю, я мало вмирав, але я не бігаю ж якісь там гіга 3
a
мільйони
worthy
модів мапи.
candidate, for sure.
Ну, я грав, у мене було 8 КС, по-моєму. Якісь там дефенси. Я не знаю, які. Треба дивитися. Але, тобто, я не думаю, що я вмирав, але, да.
was basically that, like, a lot of the investment in the ranger area of the tree should be able to get suppression back to the level that it was pre-nerf.
Yeah.
If that isn't the case, we can probably do more there.
Yeah.
You'd want to adjust things that are like solely the domain of that kind of build, right?
Yeah.
So
З
like
Aurora? Я з
pure
Aurora не
evasion
грав.
bases or maybe quivers, something like that. If you're talking about bow builds being a problem specifically.
It could be we do
be
it more
ascendancy
dex.
stuff.
Like if you
Ну, я не знаю, ну, ти можеш зробити його танковим, просто він буде менш танковим, чим, умовно, якийсь там окультіст, у якого є там damage reduction або більше ЄСа просто. Але у цього будуть якісь свої приколи.
Even if it's not just defensive, it could just be something to do with that.
Since we were kind of talking about like the
Якщо ти хочеш
daggers and
асасіни.
claws and stuff, that's also in that similar area. So I wonder if that's like a there's a
Просто
package
саме
kind of in
Ascendancy
that.
не
I
дає
could see that. I
дефенсу.
could see that coming together.
Там є нодик,
Yeah, it's like,
якийсь недо
everyone's
дефенс
gonna-
робить,
there's always
але він
gonna
там
be people who disagree
кондішнер,
on,
але
like, what's
теж
the next area
непонятно.
that should be focused
Що там,
on,
коли
but
біля тебе
it's one
рарніки,
that
воно
got brought up
дефенсив
by
дає,
someone
коли
whose
не рарніки, то
opinion
не
I kind of trust on
дефенсив, а
that.
там
Yeah,
таке.
I do agree that I don't think PoE1 has super good identity between different types of weapons because, like, if you're a slayer, it's like, what's the difference between using a two-hand sword axe or mace? Really, there's like a few mastery options, a couple of different implicits.
And that's a
all the
fun thing to
mobs are the
improve
same.
too. Like
Yeah.
it results in things being more
Aurora,
interesting typically
yeah,
whenever that sort of stuff is addressed. So
I mean, one of the benefits of having this, cadence where we have the split teams with, designers fully dedicated to PoE1 is we have the time and resources to address these kinds of problems.
Yeah.
We can do much more significant balance shakeups every league if we want to.
That's clearly evidenced by this patch with the gigantic delve into the various problem areas. It's good news for sure. Production, can we scroll past this part? Yeah, a bit down further, thank you. Cool. Another thing that got mentioned that I don't know if it was mentioned at all in the... Well, okay, so you mentioned something about VAR orbs, and this is connected to this. So, synthesis. You mentioned something's happening with synthesis modifiers.
What?
Oh yeah, we're just getting rid of them.
Nice.
Wait, what?
That is the thing that's happening. Yes.
Good riddance.
Yeah, well, to be fair, the synthesis unique items are still unchanged. They still can
Synthesis
get
mod is
synthesis
about-
implicits, but they sort of, we've never really liked
Wait, what?
they're just like item bloat, and they don't really have a specific home in the game currently. So
sure,
why
there.
have synthesis implicits when you also have val implicits, and it sort of removes the identity of implicits on like weapons, for example. So
The whole identity was you take multiple for those who maybe remember the league, you take multiple items
Long time ago.
explicits mods and put them as implicits on something. Like the whole idea was that you're turning explicit mod power into implicits, and then
Наше? Ну,
we
кажуть, що
removed that conversion
забагато
process and
всякого
then just
дерьма
had.
було,
So really what it
яке,
just looks like is
не
there's just
сильно
a
надо.
random amalgamation of different modifiers that are implicits on these items. But it's like, you never synthesized it. It's just an item. So
Але
even like just
рівно, да, там
immersively, it's
демеджі,
just like,
перчаржі,
or
демеджі,
narratively,
якісь
in
щось
world,
там,
it's
пер
like,
щось там.
what does this even mean? Now that
Інкрез
there's no actual
атрибути,
crafting bench to achieve it that synthesis had
експлод,
during its league
вепони.
forever ago. But yeah, then it's just like, okay, now you've just got this amalgamation of so many different stats that are just contesting with design, well, ultimately
А
blocking
наше?
design space.
Вони кажуть, що це було забагато,
And
і
they don't really
яке,
have a
типу,
purpose,
було,
so like we
на
just
їх думку, тільки
eradicate it so we
руїнило.
can free up some, make some of these other things more powerful, or free up some design space to be able to do some more stuff in the future.
Which we then did immediately use, right, Andrew?
Yeah. So.
Ну, вони казали, що вал тепер набагато
Well,
сильніший,
I
але
guess, I guess that's
да.
sort of like
Це
the
ризик.
vestigial items, but those are unique, so they don't really compete with synthesis bases. But the main thing we did is we took most of the interesting, powerful synthesis
зробили?
implicits and turned them into vowel corruption implicits.
Тепер це реально все вали будуть. Вальте ваші мірорні шмотки. Good luck with
For
fun.
example.
That's a potential big buff to Val Orbs, then it seems. Like, that's a much more interesting thing.
You'll see it in the patch notes, but in
ну,
doing like
ти
the
не мірор,
changes,
но
we've
ти
ordered
тепер
all the
будеш
mods on
всякі там, не
visuals,
знаю.
and we've removed bad ones,
Як його?
weak ones. Same for all the vowel.
Рінги крафтиш, просто скрафтив хороший рін, нажав вал.
Damage versus abyssal
Отримав
monsters.
поверчарж логін.
Yeah, I think
That's gone.
I petitioned you to get rid of those like years ago, and now
Finally.
I didn't even ask you this
Come on,
time. I
man.
just removed it.
На уніках тепер може бути ці поверчаржі, я підозрюю всякі. Я думаю, вони їх залишили.
Fever Dream.
Не, ну так, ти потім шапнути не може, але це вже таке. Навколо цього можна грати, не знаю. Ти на мірорну шмотку теж будеш жалуватися, що на ній резисти сопнуть не можна?
That's the right answer.
Yes. I mean, that's a very juicy buff to double corruptions. There's going to be some fun double corrupting action coming out of that.
It also means you can no longer mirror the best items in the game anymore.
Yeah. I was going to say, like,
Да,
this is the
коррuption
sort of change that
precursor
affects,
на
like,
плюс.
very technical high-end crafting, because,
The
like,
only-
you can't get those crazy bases to craft on now.
The only small reservation is it sort of removes a little bit of the value from the leagues that actually did, for some reason, drop synthesis items. So, for example,
Which is
Ritual and
everything but
Heist.
synthesis, let's be clear.
Yeah. So, those might be the next leagues in the future on the, like, let's audit their rewards, make sure their exclusive rewards are, like, much more powerful and interesting.
It somewhat bounces in the other direction though, because there's a lot of leagues that'll generate corrupted items as outcomes.
Якщо
and now those could be much more
умовно
of a
шмотка
jackpot,
буде
right?
по серії як мірорна.
Well,
Що
so
не так?
part of my follow-up question was like, it was at some point mentioned that we would get the ability to add synthesis item drops back to synth maps, because that was always like one of my favorite things. It's like it's such a high variance, fun win
Я
thing.
не знаю,
It's
про
like,
що
oh
ти
yeah,
тільки
man,
написав,
rings are
чесно.
dropping with synthesized implicits.
Давай
Like,
так.
that's awesome.
Мені синтезис моди теж,
so
я
now
не бачу,
obviously
чого
that's
їх
not
так
gonna be
видали.
happening.
Ну, як я
Instead
бачу,
of
що
thing
про що вони
anymore.
говорять, і
Is
вони
there
кажуть, типу,
something
вони
that
займали
synthesis
слоти,
maps
які
could get to
конкурували
make
там з
them
іншими
have their
механіками, і
own
вони
unique
потім
reward? Are they
це звільнило
even a
місце, щоб потім
candidate
якісь
for
нові
that kind of,
приколи
like,
туди
are they a
добавлять.
system enough?
Well,
Це
they're
таке.
sort of under the
Ну, при чому тут
umbrella of
мірорні шмотки, я не знаю.
unique maps being very old and being
Я
not
не
very
знаю, ну,
good.
типу,
And
у
we
тебе
would
є
love
шмотка,
to
там, умовно,
just,
за
like,
пару
completely
дівайнів.
redesign
Ти на неї
all
не
of them
нажмеш
and
дівайн?
do them
They
properly.
Ой,
get
дівайн
sad.
вал?
They're getting real
Мені
sad.
здається, нажмеш.
It came up as part of the
Шансом
Apples
отримати
anomalies,
поверчарж, чи ще
you
якісь
know, there was
дуже
a point where
прикольні
we were like,
шмотки.
should
Це
all unique
поверчарж один з
maps
варіантів.
be
Вони сказали, що вони
Apples anomalies?
вал моди
Should
всі
we
там
then
подьоргали,
pass
вони
on
стали
all unique maps to
сильнішими.
make
Тобто
them
навіть
more
якщо там
worthy?
якийсь не поверчарж буде, все одно
It
буде.
was just too much of a
Ну, на
rabbit
шмотку
hole
за
to work
мірор
at
не
the time.
нажмеш просто
Yeah.
вал,
It was
але
maybe
на
a
шмотку
month
за мірор ти
before
нажмеш
release,
хінекора лок,
that's not
і
the-
потім
not the point
ти
of
будеш
development,
дивитися
like, where
вал.
you can make that kind of decision.
Yeah.
I
І
will
вона стане
mention
за
one
мірор
thing, though.
мірору потім
Doyani's
після цього може.
Machinarium is no longer required for challenge completion. However, Doyani's Delusion, the unique boots that drop from the map, have been like, they
Ну,
always
на
drop
Хелікал не
corrupted with an
нажмеш, да?
implicit,
І на
and
цей
they've
не
been
нажмеш.
massively
Ну,
buffed.
тебе на
So,
Хелікалі і раніше не було
they're
синтез
very
моду, що
high
далі.
variance. So you'll want to run that map to
Причому тут
find
це?
some
Yeah, that's fun.
potentially crazy boots.
Awesome.
Причому тут це до нашої
So
дискусії?
we
Тебе на Хелікалі
recently
був
had some
поверчарж
of the
раніше, чи
bigger
що?
Chaos Orb sinks removed, possibly causing, well, probably causing the quick spike to 300 plus Chaos to Divine ratio that was in Mirage, compared to the more typical 150-ish that we had in Keepers and before that. So what are the, I'm curious, like, is this something you guys really look at or care about too much? Or are you like, the economy is going to economy? Like, what are your thoughts about it? What are the impacts on players of this sort of change? Like, if you have an economic shift like that, is it something you care
Yeah,
about?
too much.
I mean,
Not if it's too.
That's the impression I've got in the past
If
as
that
well.
was
Я не знаю, що вони
30,000
Exile
whatever,
робили. Не думаю,
obviously
зробили,
the
але я не
magnitude
знаю.
matters.
Yeah.
Але що там було
It's,
такого?
you know, not to say it isn't a thing we might want to consider. I'm just
Yeah.
saying like,
Well.
it's not a huge deal for sure.
Ну, так.
Not unless it actually.
В цьому плані
spirals
зробити
out
самому
of
рінг собі
actual
буде
control.
складніше, я думаю.
Yeah, there's this thing with the economy that, like, from your guys' perspective, I get the sense that, like,
Кріт мульті,
this is
типу два
kind of
кріт
like the
мульті на
player's
джавелах
domain a bit more.
синтезайсу
We don't
собі
wanna
усердно.
necessarily influence it
Не
too
знаю,
much
може
all the
все
time.
ще буде, але
Maybe the new de
да,
facto
будеш
currency
корупти
will be
джувели.
chromatic orbs. You never know.
Could you imagine? Oh my
Yeah.
lord.
not I don't know, not to be contradictory or anything, but like I don't personally have much of a horse in the race of the economy part of this, but I really like there being sinks for things because I like things leaving the economy, thus allowing things to retain value over time. You know, it's one of the main reasons that I like personally play hardcore trade over other leagues, because things leave the economy.
Yeah.
So would I want more chaos sinks in the game? Yes.
How is
Do I want
really
them in the
remote
game
synthesis?
because there's a
Yeah, it's nice,
ratio
just-
of chaos to divines that's wrong in some
Можна
way?
було ЕКБ
No,
скараптити
it's
синтез.
just because it's good for the game generally.
Ну, зараз треба дабл
It is,
караптити
it
буде
is
для цього.
sad when the
Раніше треба
Chaos
було,
Orb
що орба
is a
цей
drop
смішний зробити.
now
Як
feels
його?
weak.
Фосілом.
Right? That is sad. That is
That's the
sad.
most compelling argument that I see when I'm thinking about this, because I usually ask people when people think about, like, have you seen the economy ratio? And I'm like, well, why do you think it's a problem? And the answers I get are varied and not always super convincing. But the most convincing one that I hear is that the players who are picking up Chaos Orbs aren't getting that kind of like incremental progression towards their thing. Like that's like that appeals to me. I feel for the normies being one
The
myself.
fewer items that are satisfying to drop,
Yeah.
like if it only becomes here's the only 2 items you care about that drop, that's bad. So yeah, we do have to
Клікати
keep
не хочеться,
as
і
many
грати
drops
взагалі
as
не
possible
хочеться.
feeling satisfying, and that is the main motivation to go, okay, if it is
Та візьмеш
If it's
прекурсор
crossing
емблему
the-
просто да і все.
it's
Я
a
не
grey
знаю.
line, it's like weird.
Будеш
But
прекурсори собі
if it does
крафтити.
cross the line, then, or I mean, I guess it's not even really a line. It's just the more items we can keep satisfying, and thus you can argue,
Валить.
yes, this is something that we should push for fixing for sure.
That
Якщо ти
said,
так
we
хочеш.
have added a
I was gonna say
couple
I'm
of
burying the
new...
lead. Yeah.
Yeah, so we've added 2 new crafts. Andrew did the balance on them, so...
Oh, only the costs. That might be wrong. We'll find out.
There's bench orb crafts for Chaos Orbs now, I saw.
Прекурсор на
They,
плюс 2
they
є.
behave. I mean, if you're familiar with the PoE2 Chaos Orb, where it removes the mod, then adds a mod. There's one that does that, and then there's one that removes 3 mods and adds 3 mods. So you can kind of use these to try and salvage items that have a really good mod that you want, but a bunch of other trash. Potentially.
Interesting. It's hard to tell the impacts or like how much that'll be used, but it's an option there. We'll see how that plays out. But yeah, that's gonna sink a few Chaos Orbs. I saw that one of them was like 8 Chaos or something.
We'll keep an eye on it. I wouldn't want Chaos to become pennies, you know, that's which you could argue they're 1/3 of a penny right now, I guess, depending on what your
You call a
definition
divine a dollar?
depends what your dollar is, I guess. Well, I would argue the divine is somewhat of a dollar, but we'll keep an eye on it as well. But again, the ultimate philosophy is we should be keeping as many
Colour
drops as
craft?
possible
No,
feeling
it's,
satisfying. That's
Якщо спої 2
the goal. So
притащили,
anything that goes away from that is technically in the wrong direction.
буде цікаво клікати.
It's just it can get a little bit away from it without us having to take action, and sometimes there are short-term things that influence. Not to say that that's what's happened here.
Yeah.
And then they just course correct next league, and sometimes there are things that are
Не сказали, що буде.
interesting. I don't have an exact
Що?
answer for it now,
Які
which is why I'm
манами?
kind of being a little bit vague because we need to figure out. We need to discuss and figure out.
При
what we
чому?
actually do.
Що?
Hard to promise things at this point, but yeah.
Well, we've kind of touched on it a little bit a few times, but bestiary is
Сказали,
like had
не
to
буде.
have seen some changes to its beast crafting.
Octavian
You also mentioned,
Не
like,
буде
specific
Аманаму,
beast
але може
dropping
бути
specific
абсолютно якесь
talismans
інше
as
дерьмо.
well.
Октавіан сів і
Side note
всі
on
хебіс
that,
моби просто переробив
is that something
скіли.
you can target farm in some way, since
Абсолютно
they are
нові якісь
specific?
зробив.
Yes, so every
Так що,
single
що там
red
буде,
beast
хрен його
has
знає.
its own specific talisman it drops. So for
Може, якісь
example,
старі
if you
будуть, може,
want
якісь
like
нові
a
будуть, але
Rex talisman, then
що
there
він
is the
сказав,
node on the
переробив,
Atlas tree
хебіс
that
мобів сидів
increases
день.
the chance for like beasts from that specific genus
Скіли
to
саме.
spawn.
That's a cool little buff for
So
those.
yeah, you can.
Birds.
Oh yeah, a Rex just looks like a some sort of
think
mammal
it's a-
to me,
I
but
think
yeah,
it's
it is
a bird.
Okay.
Is it a bird? It's a bird.
I
You
have
can
no
plus
idea.
birds. The more likely for the bird species, I'm pretty sure will increase the rexes. But I didn't actually ever think about how
Він не
clear
дизайнив
the
багато чого, але я не знаю, що вони
correlation between
дизайнив по
the
Е2.
genus and the actual monsters is. So I guess it's fine. Whatever.
Але да,
It was
може бути.
one of you mentioned to me
Щось дуже
that beast
противне.
splitting
Побачимо,
is
що буде,
gone.
що він там
That's
наробив.
obviously a big change for some folks. It's a big crafting thing that was used for some high-end crafting projects or just getting extra value out of certain drops, I suppose, in some cases. So talk us through the removal of the beast splitting.
Well, the main thing is
Split
I
beast
feel
out,
like
or-
historically
Yeah,
beast
from our
splitting was
house,
never
yeah,
really
ладно.
intended for, or has never really been used for its original intention of splitting the mods from one item onto 2 items. It's almost always just been used for I just found the most valuable base type in the game in Heist, and now I have 2 of them.
I mean, it came about because we were looking at the fact that we don't want every simplex amulet to become 2, right? Like that. That was where this came in. We started discussing it, and we were just like, is this even healthy at this point? Like, just ultimately every base type that's of value becomes 2 base
Імпульси
types of
поміров,
value, and
з
I
якого
get
переляку.
that it's just taking away the value, but
7
it also
плюсів по
just
40
honestly
дівайнів.
isn't necessary at that point.
And worth noting, Fractured Fossil has also been changed
Okay. I mean,
because
what way?
that does a similar thing.
It fractures the item now, like the name
Oh, right.
suggests.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it
Фосіл,
just
ось тільки що
doesn't-
сказали, що
doesn't fulfill its
фракчурить
original
він
purpose. I could see people being a bit like,
якийсь
oh, no, but
мод,
I
але ж
liked
фосіл
having
хаос
2 of everything I found.
Yeah,
чи він
but-
буде
But I mean,
просто
there's also
фракчурить,
like,
чи він буде
what
хаос
if you
робити.
just doubled the frequency of them
Буде
appearing and
контракт.
removed it? Not to say we've done
Like,
that,
even
by
if
the
you
way.
don't, it's
Сплітнути
like
не
the
можна,
thing you
але
get now is
блюпринт
worth
буде.
like, you know,
Я вже
1.5
забув
times
звідки,
as
але
much
він
or
буде.
whatever the difference in the cost of
Yeah.
the beast splitting was. Like, it was just priced into the
Чим?
economy of it anyway. Like,
По-моєму,
so it
мод
just
на,
became this kind of like
на
obligationary
атласі
step
буде
that you just have to know about, otherwise you'll
хейст пастер,
you'll
який ти
scam
Yeah,
кликнеш і
yeah,
тобі
yeah.
падають
And
контракти,
in
якщо я не
many ways,
помиляюсь.
the new
Ну, ці
Warframe
блюпринти смішні.
crafting is splitting items
Чи де?
Sure.
Щось вони говорили,
In
я
a-
забув.
Somewhat.
in a sort of
Well, if
way.
you want to
Так
do
що
the
Simplex
original
буде
intent
все
of the
ще
You can only
відносно
get one
дешевий.
closer to the original.
there's a Ducat that's very similar to
Не
that,
буде їх,
which splits it
в
into
два
a bunch
рази
of
дорожчі
ghostly
стане, то
forms
що
that
не
each
буде
have
сплітитися.
some of the item or one of the mods in the original item, and then you pick one.
You can take the mod set you want. That's a cool idea.
Yeah,
That one.
so like that is closer to what the beast was originally intended to do.
Yeah. Okay.
Isolate a strong mod to then craft from.
But noting on the case of bestiary, I know Octavian, you share this as well, but both of us probably. I don't know how you feel about it. It's our top on our top list.
Oh yeah, even
So you're number one. It's my number one for like.
our programmers keep asking me when are we gonna get.
Oh God,
It's a dire rework.
it is a rat's nest, man, on the back end. Like when we added that scarab that added the new beast, the Black Morrigan, like that was just add a unique beast that has a few crafts, and that was like 2 weeks worth of going back to it, fixing a bug, going back to it, fixing a bug, because it's
Sad.
It
It is
it's
the
a bit older, that
number
one.
1 league that's in a dire need of a rework in our eyes.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Monsters are old, the combat's old, the bosses are old, the crafting system has gone through so many different identities and different things to the point where I honestly think it's like kind of lost a bit of its groove.
I mean, what I will say is it's a very strong concept, though.
The house
like
is
going and
marketing.
capturing beasts,
Yeah.
like wild spirit beasts,
Yeah,
is really
that's
cool.
worth
And that's
figuring
kind
that
of
out.
why the very original pitch for this league was like, you know, go back to that theme. So we'd want to keep the strong theme, but
Yeah.
I know that one.
Я теж думаю, що
We
за
all
хаос, якби
agree.
інші
I don't know
фосили
how players
хаосять, але
necessarily feel,
Well,
but
yeah, I mean, I definitely have had questions about that, especially on the quality of life side of things. And since you're already thinking about that, it'd be worth mentioning those now. So people like, particularly like just with hitting the limit of beasts and then like having to empty them out. There has been some improvements there, but it seems like it's still like just a big problem for people that are
honestly,
actually trying to engage with the mechanic.
we've been doing kind of weak level band-aids for a while there,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
because the actual solution is quite a lot of work, and we keep going to do it, and we're like, oh, can we really afford to spend this much time on that instead of? And there's all this like cool content stuff, and every time we're weighing the scales, it's like, it's not quite there. And so this is where I'm like, okay, in order to actually do this, we have to make bestiary the focus. So we have to go, this is the rework, and then we'll be able to do all of
чим
this
від
stuff.
фракчури
But
гай
it's
відрізняється?
surprisingly
Тим, що не
more
з дерева
work
достається.
than
А так, да.
it might seem.
because if you do it in that way, where
да.
you're making it a focus and you're, you know,
Не сильно буде.
revamping a lot of the content as well, then
Цікаво.
you're not having to choose between do I fix these problems or make cool content. You're just fixing the problems while making the
Yeah.
cool content.
Yeah.
Make
yeah.
league good.
Something that I saw kind of like asked
Я не
is like
пам'ятаю,
proposing the
є
idea is like,
якісь
do yellow
спеціальні
beasts
моди,
even
які
really
ще
matter and
способи
need to be a
дають?
thing like they are? Like,
вже забув.
what if they just kind of dropped a life force beast juice or something
Discussed
like
this
that?
recently as well.
Interesting.
Well, this was part of the original spec where we'd basically wanted
Є
to say
один,
that
який
beasts, yellow
есенції
beasts
моди
will
дає
appear
спеціальних
in
цих
maps
Yeah.
as extra
рубчиних.
monsters, but Ironheart doesn't
По-моєму.
capture them. And then all of the
І
recipes
типу
just
можна
require
намагатися
a
його
red beast,
зафракчурити,
Yeah.
якщо
and he'll
хочеться.
spawn some random other beasts alongside
Nice.
when you do
Ну
an
просто
encounter.
Yeah, when I
якось
imagine
чесно.
modernizing past,
Якщо він
that's kind of
просто
what I
буде
imagine.
хаос і
The only
фракчур
problem
нажимати,
is
то я
there's a
не
lot of
впевнений, що це
programmable
прикольно,
language.
чесно
Yeah.
кажучи.
Every solution we came up with was like,
Може, якісь там комбінації гейм-левел є, а він все ще існує. Я думаю, його вже немає. Ну, ладно. Тоді, так, тоді ці спеціальні моди намагаються зафракчурити.
I wonder if that makes it a candidate for more of like a bestiary 2.0, like a more substantial thing, since it is going to be so much work anyway. Just to untangle that. Like,
not necessarily as an active league, though it could
Yeah.
be, but I'd say currently still probability-wise, it's more likely for just a rework, similar to like Abyss and Legion this
Yeah,
time round.
yeah.
It'll be here's the new
Є
league, here's a
ну, є
bestiary
соки, да,
rework,
це правда. Ну, коротше, є,
insert
да.
other things here.
Тоді, якщо є спеціальні
We've got
моди,
some
тоді я
rapid
бачу в
fire
цьому
kind of quality of
нормальний
life and
сенс.
technical questions here.
намагатися їх зразу
EU servers seem to be
зафракчурити.
having some major issues each
То, що
league
просто
launch and
рандомні
maybe
фосили,
beyond
я
that from what I've
не
heard.
сильно цікаво було б,
Any
чесно.
news on
Що там
sources
якийсь
of that
слайд
issue or
натикав чи
potential
дефенс,
improvements on the
і типу,
horizon?
ну да, ну окей.
None of us three know about that, unfortunately. So, Jonathan handles that with our more live ops and sysadmin team, so we just don't know, honestly, what's going on. Like,
I'll ask him about it then.
yeah, that is the better thing to do for sure.
I'll get on it. We talked about the tooltips. Excellent. In-game price checking was added to PoE 2. Is that something you're planning on adding to PoE 1 as well?
Almost all of that. Well, yes.
А урагеми це, по-моєму, просто
don't know
дельве
when.
мод, ні? Який
Same with,
достається
like,
з підлоги на шапці, а не
Price
фосилом.
checker build planner, which I guess is a
Oh,
bigger
of Delphi.
thing.
Planner, yep.
There's some complexities around it, like we are trying to, as from the helper text thing, we
Але
just got
може.
that.
Ну, коротше,
ported
є моди,
over,
але
so
да.
we're slowly
Як мінімум,
porting
без
stuff
сокетів.
over, but often the
cards.
best person to do it is the person that implemented it, right? That makes sense to port it. But those people are working on PoE 2, big upgrades. So we've got to find these like windows where
Yeah,
they're like kind of
fair
between
enough.
tasks where they can migrate it over and make it work. Otherwise, you're having someone who doesn't know that code base at all, trying to maneuver it over, and they don't understand the, parts of it that are lesser important and more important necessarily. And they can figure it out, but it would just take a lot more time. So we try and find these lulls between major tasks for them where they can go and port stuff back.
Yeah.
And we just need to do some of that, really. So.
And those are the sorts of things that work towards the goal of like, you don't really have to install third-party software to play PoE if you're a long-term player. That's ideally the outcome there. And that got me thinking about that. There's two features of Awaken Trade that I would keep me using it even if you had the in-game price checking that was working just as well. And those are /hideout macro, the ability to like return to your hideout quickly. And the second one is the control scroll wheel your stash has without being moused over it, because that exists in game, but you have to mouse over it, which kind of defeats the purpose.
Interesting.
So I'm just wondering if like those are things that could just become core behaviors.
Well, the latter one, I can just go and talk to some UI programmers and see whether we can do that.
Both are fully feasible.
Please do.
The first one I'm less certain of, but
We added it. Well, why not? It's just a chat
I think in PoE 2 there's a return to hideout button if you go to someone's hideout to trade. I don't know if that's in PoE 1 currently, so that might be just like a little gap.
Also,
to fix.
similar to how we bound use town
Yeah.
portal. Like
It could be a
we could
hotkey,
have a
right?
return to hideout.
That would be amazing.
Or just a go to hideout. Obviously it won't always
Awesome.
work. Like if you're in an area where hideout doesn't work,
sure.
it won't work.
Yeah.
But
Awesome.
and maybe then do one for like, / King's March or whatever the one is that brings you to King's March. And
That's kind of the one I use the second most if I'm playing that.
Off your keyboard just teleports you.
Yeah, we've got a lot of hotkeys, but these could be optional ones, I suppose.
There's some are more used than others, right?
Yeah.
So we'll start with those ones before we add a whole ruckus of.
Oh, that'd be amazing. If the control scroll wheel's possible as well, that'd be awesome, because that's just like when you're transferring stuff from your inventory, like you mouse over there, you don't have to mouse over to change tabs and then back and forth. That'd be awesome. Oh, great.
Awakener не робить те, що вони роблять роками.
By surprise, Trial of the Ancestors.
Path of Exile гру називається.
How did that one come about? And just kind of like, just quickly, kind of, what are your thoughts on it? Any useful takeaways? Learn some useful stuff about.
Well, we wanted to just have like a variety of different events we can run, and it was like we don't want to just keep doing the same thing, and so it kind of was like, okay, we've had this and this. Like we even discussed at the time, going, could mercenaries be an event format and
дуже
different options? And then I think there's been a bit of a fear because
нормально
Trial of the
робить,
Ancestors
але
effectively got
Awakened Trade краще був, коли
dismantled
він
after the
колись
league.
користувався, ніж те, що в PoE 2 ще
And it was
було.
like, it's gonna be so much work to bring it back. Turns out, wasn't that much work.
Тобто воно робило і можна користуватися, але те було краще.
Ended up being way quicker than we had expected. So we were like, well, let's just do it, run it as an event. I know people have been craving it, but let's actually see if it's more nostalgia fueled or otherwise. But yeah,
такого не пам'ятаю, але там було незручно трохи було. Воно прописує там level requirement, йому максимальні шмотком твоїм.
I love this. Like, I want them to make it cool. Like, it seems to, some people really fall in love with this mechanic. So, is it something you want to make core at some point?
We're on the. Well, ultimately, we were like, do we keep it as like a kind of event thing, and that way certain people play it because they love it and others won't, or I guess there is still the room to integrate it into core and do a bunch of stuff around that, as long as it's obviously you don't have to do it, right? It's like, if you like that, similar to say Heist. If you are into Heist, there's always a crowd that loves these different things, then you can go do that. And if you don't want to do it, then just ignore it. So as long as it's in that format, because it is quite specialized content.
Super.
Like it's just totem rugby.
The most of anything, I think, the most specialized.
So, you know, it has a place. We just need to talk about it and figure out where we want it to be.
Could we scroll down a little bit, production, just so I can see those questions down there? Do the Ducats increased intangibilities? There's some random chat questions we have here. So
Depends on the Ducat.
Якісь слова.
Yeah, every currency is just, you know, set by, you know, myself as to whether or not it does or doesn't. There are a lot of lower level currencies that you would use at lower levels more frequently don't. So like an alchemy orb doesn't increase intangibility, but things that you're using when you're finishing an item often do. So like an exalted orb, for instance.
Can replica unique mods become vestigial unique mods?
Yep.
Yeah, that seems like it would be legal, unlike the other ones.
Those are legal.
Yeah.
Репліки можна перетягнути моди.
There are some interesting things you can do, because you can take a replica unique, and then it can roll into the non-replica version of the unique, and then it can, in some cases, it can have basically two of the similar mod.
Interesting. That's kind of wild. I imagine you can't create a replica unique though, because they're from a specific piece of content, same as boss drops.
Yeah, we didn't want to do the
you don't want to cheat that.
Getting all the boss drops and no one can
Tangibility – це якийсь стат на шмотці, який тобі треба, щоб крафтити його цим крафтингом оцієї фігні механіки, по-моєму.
Can we get log into hideout or
щось там, декарт якийсь, чи що там було, це ресурс, за який ти крафтиш. Щось, по-моєму, там в такому дусі.
And probably for reasons people won't like, but ultimately, like just to express it, it is ultimately we want the game to feel like a multiplayer game, and we want you to log into a hideout and see other players and be part of this universe where there are other players. And as soon as you can just bypass that, and again, I know people aren't going to like that answer, but that's just where we stand on it.
Пропустив, що там people not gonna like. Ладно.
Say it. I used to say it a lot more, but my answer is kind of deal with it.
Deal with it.
Which, but I know that's not going to be a popular take for sure.
Will we eventually be able to switch out gear in the recently teased Animate Guardian UI?
Вони щось хочуть з бістами потім колись зробити, коли буде настрій, коли буде час. Ну, типа повний реворк, як Легіон, це тільки що зробили в такому дусі. Ну, не повний, а типу.
We sort of just got that in like a week or two ago. So at the moment, it's just very bare bones. It's you can right-click the icon and you can see what items are equipped on your Animate Guardian.
Yeah.
You still have to go through the really jank process of dropping the item on the ground and using the skill on it to actually
не знаю чого, вже
we
вони
do
просто
want to
хочуть так,
actually change that so
але
you can just drag and drop
whatever.
items.
Тобто, твоє два зробили, то вже і тут зробіть, типу, вай. Я б зрозумів, бо якби вони і там не хотіли, типу, я такого би, ну ладно, у вас є ідея, ви не робите, а то там є, а тут нема, типу.
I think that leads to my final question of today, which is ExileCon is fast approaching, and I think in many people's eyes, it's a lot about Path of Exile 2. It's a big event to announce the big stuff for PoE 2, but is there some stuff that PoE 1 fans should be excited about for ExileCon? Is that a focus? Is something happening there?
For sure. It's not PoE 2 Con, it's ExileCon, right? We've got two main games, two titles, right? And of course, ExileCon will have a thing for PoE 1 and for PoE 2. And I actually saw some people, just before the stream was started, I saw a few people going, last PoE 1 patch for the year. And I went, no, it's not. There is a 3.30. It will be before the release.
Я думав, це остання ліга в цьому році, в PoE 1.
It's crazy to think there's that many expansions.
I know, right? I was reading about this with Jonathan earlier. It's like, there's been 30 expansions in...
жовтні буде, получається.
Right? Yes, we will have another PoE 1 expansion. Already cooking up some awesome ideas, and I'm sure we'll release it. I'm sure next Saturday for us.
Мене математика зламалась.
We'll be able to nail it down mostly, but
Получається, ну, по ідеї, в листопаді має бути, але якщо вони в грудні хочуть запускати PoE 2, то я не думаю, що в листопаді ліга буде. То десь в жовтні, кінці, навірно, це буде ліга, це PoE 1.
Absolutely monster of an end of year for
everything
Exile related.
Absolutely. Excellent. That's fantastic news. Exactly what we
want. А вже була думка моя така, якщо це буде так і так, то це типу до прям релізу PoE 2 це буде тільки ресет PoE 2, і вже PoE 1 не буде, типу, і якось, ну, довго трохи, але ну ладно, а тут прям,
It's a banger of a patch.
Absolutely. All right, see you guys later.
See you guys later. Нічого собі, я навіть все весь Q&A подивився. Ну як, подивився. Подивився в лапках. Половину пропустив, половину щось там пролистав. І в такому дусі. Ну-ка, почноти є. Ой, сервер умерли. Окей. Ну, почноти, Свен. Перекажи все, ага. 28.0 Кей почноти. Holy shit. Вейт, скільки тут цих букв було? Сервер maintenance. А? Почноти Вен. Дропси! Пахчам. А, хватить. Я хотів пролистати почноти, подивитися, скільки їх хоча б. Просто їх щось нема. А їх нема. Ну і ладно тоді. Завтра будемо дивитися почноти, йдіть дивитися інші стріми, розкажете мені, що ОП, і чого факінг ГГГ, і чого все погано, як завжди. Іду спадки теж. І там завтра розберемося, коли я проснусь, тоді запущу таке. Почуємося. Ліга, як завжди, цікаво. Де виглядає.